Wow, that's great. All right, look, I know that that's not for me. Welcome to Penguin Live, where we have the best magicians in the entire world. We bring them right here, wherever you happen to be in the world, right into your living room, so that you can learn the best magic in the world. And we're going to learn some stuff beyond just the tricks tonight. Now, I'm your host, Dan Harlan. Thank you so much for supporting Live Magic. The guy that we have with us is a guy who was born to be on stage and screen. He is absolutely perfect every place that you see him. He's got charisma, he's got personality, he's got talent. You might have seen him as a finalist on America's Got Talent. He performed the biggest illusion ever on that show. You probably saw him vanish that steam locomotive. Pretty cool stuff, right? Well, he's also been on lots of other TV shows. You may have seen him on History Channel's Pawn Stars. He's on that as a consultant for them. He's also going to be on CW's Masters of Illusion show and some other stuff coming up. Hallmark Channel's Home and Family. He's going to be on one of my favorite shows, Top Gear USA. That's on Discovery TV. Now, he also has his own live show. He's taking a little time off tonight from his live show in Las Vegas at the new Tropicana Hotel and Casino. So if you get out to Las Vegas, make sure you check out that show. Please join me in welcoming a true magic celebrity, Murray Sawchuck.
Hey, how are you? Good seeing you. Look at the excitement. How you doing? Excellent. I see a lot of you looking at me going, well, if Andy Warhol and Lady Gaga had a baby, this is it. I'm just throwing it out there. So I'm going to teach you like 3 or 4 magic tricks to start out. I think it's the most important thing because I know people love learning tricks. And then after that, I am going to teach you, or at least share with you, my skills of taking an act competitive but making it commercial, because you can be amazing at tricks and sleights, but then there's no commercial value. People don't realize how hard you're working to do the actual tricks you're doing. So that's what's really important. And then my last part is going to be PR and public relations on how to get in a newspaper or on television, which a lot of people like to learn how to do that as well. So you guys want to learn some magic? A little bit of tricks? All right. Now, I know I've vanished trains. I've done some tricks with bears and some big stuff. I could not bring the train in today. I could not bring a bear here today as well. But I brought some close-up stuff that I used that when I did table magic for 6-7 years before I ended up doing the bigger stuff on stage. And I know most people or most magicians do that to make a living. So I wanted to share that stuff with you because that's the stuff you can probably use more than massive illusions, which cost a fortune to tour around. So first trick that I used to do when you walk up to a table. Most people for table magic, you always walk up and go, hi, you want to see a trick? Or, hey, is this behind your ear? And that kind of breaks the ice. But when somebody's eating or having a drink, it's so uneasy to walk up to a table, at least for me, when you're doing walk-around magic. That's the biggest thing. So I actually came up with an idea just for you guys. So you guys want to see it? Yeah. Yes. All right, here we go. Just for you guys. Watch carefully. Now, here's the way I've done things before. And it's one of those things that I like to do. I'm just going to set it up so you guys can actually see it the way it would be done if I'm walking up to a table. Everyone always gets offered a breath mint. So I always have Tic Tacs on me like this. And I always pour the Tic Tacs out on the table. And I go, hey, would you like a breath mint? They're right there. And most people always get offered a mint. That's what friends do when you're sitting around. So I say, yeah, you grab a mint just like so, hold up in the air, and you go, you know what? The Tic Tac is actually the 1.5 calorie breath mint. If you go like this, check it out, 1, 2, 3, it actually saves you money and calories. Cool, right? And now you're into your actual magic trick. You can do a coin trick. You can produce a sponge ball. You can produce a book of matches. You can do whatever you're leading in your trick to. But it's nice because it actually breaks it down. And when you walk up to somebody, you go, hey, would you like a mint? That's a standard thing. Most people ask. You walk up to a table. Most people say yes. Usually when you put it down on the table, nobody will grab it, which is great because that means you can actually do a trick. If they start grabbing it, they're grabbing your props. You guys ready to learn this? Yes. Yeah. All right. So here is the secret to the whole trick, all right? It's just a regular coin, but it's this item right here. Check it out. Half lighter. Hey, yeah, there goes the mystery. No, I'm not Harry Potter. Half a Tic Tac lighter and actually half a lighter. So basically a Tic Tac box and a lighter. That's what it looks like. The original idea I came up with was for smokers, not as a magic trick. For a lighter to have mints and a lighter on it. So when you're out in the public, you can actually have both attached because a lot of smokers like to have that and it gives you fresh breath. And I thought, wait a minute, I think I have a magic trick idea, and that's where it came from. You guys want to learn how to do this and make this? All right. I'm going to teach you how to actually do the trick first. And then I'm going to teach you how to actually make this at home. So it only costs you a couple bucks to actually make. All right? So the way it works is you actually get some flash paper. I'm going to grab some more flash paper to show you. And when you use the flash paper, it obviously comes in sheets like this. All right? What you want to do is rip a small corner off, and you're going to roll it into a small ball like this. All right? It's just a tiny piece. All right? Like that. We'll place that down there. Now, this Tic Tac lighter, which is an idea I came up with like about 15 or 20 years ago. You open it up. It's made so you can see Tic Tacs in it right there, but they're locked in. They're not moving. So it's quiet. All right? So you put 3 or 4 actual Tic Tacs in here, and you'll notice the ones I'm choosing is white. There's a reason for that in a minute. It saves you from flashing and anything like that. So now they're loaded in there. Sound like Tic Tacs? They're right there. It sounds half the battle because now they think it's a full package when you're holding them. So this can go in your right pocket when you're walking around. You have a coin in your left with this little piece of paper, all right, which is obviously flash paper. Now the way this is done, the way I set it up is I do a finger palm with the coin. This happens to be a $1 50-cent piece. You can use anything larger. But like I said, a sponge ball is great because you can hold it tight and it pops out big. Then you can do a sponge ball routine, whatever you want. But I actually palm the coin, finger palm it like so, all right. Also, with my wedding ring, if it flashes, I'm safe because it never hurts to have that on your side as well. And then this little piece, I actually just pinch it between my fingers. All right, and I pinch it low enough so you can't really see it. All right, so it's just there. Now, if they do get a glimpse, once I do the Tic Tac switch, it doesn't matter. It's white. They both match. All right, so now I'm ready. I have a Tic Tac box in my right hand, and I have the coin, which is finger palmed right here, and I also got the little piece of flash paper. So that's the setup. All right. So when I walk up to the table, it's very casual. My hand's bent, and I always, the way this lighter's made is so you can flick it open right here, and it pops open, all right? Now, obviously, you're holding it just like this, so everyone can see. Now, what you do is you take this, and you literally, I pour it onto the table. First of all, for 2 reasons. I pour it onto the table so they don't pick it up and put it in their mouth. Because once it's on the table, people are like, oh, I can't take them in. I'm not. Some people will, but 99%, they're not going to, which is great because you don't need them picking up the prop you're using. You pour it down the table, and they all fall out, all 4 of them. Could be 3 or 4, whatever you want. When you pour them out, you close the lid. That's ready to go. Now, down here, now in a restaurant, it's great because you can take a Tic Tac and run it right off the edge of the table and drop it off the back. This is an angled board I have just for the lecture, and it just drops off here. It saves hitting the floor. But you can palm it, you can drop it off. You want. I just literally pick it up like this, and it falls down right behind here or on the floor. All right, and now I pretend I'm holding it here, all right? And if they do get a glimpse of it, if you really want to be brave, you can flash it a bit if you want, because it's just a white piece of flash paper. They're still going to believe it. And that's why I always use white Tic Tacs. So now I've got this here, and I've got the lighter and the Tic Tac box here. Now the move is I use the 1.5 calorie breath mint, so it's like burning calories, and it saves you money. It's a cute little line. You can do whatever you want. But the move is when you come down, you move your hand down like this, you bend your fingers in, and it literally spins. Like that. That's how easy it is. It just balances on itself. So it's right there. You spin it right around. Obviously, you don't do it that way because there's no magic, is there? And you do it like that. So in that movement, you come down, come back up, light it, all right? And then you come to here, you light the flash paper, and then push, of course, the coin forward into that. And there you are, clean. So there you go. Is there any questions with the handling that we have here at all? Before I go on to teach you how to make the actual lighter, which is so important because that's the trick. But is there any questions on handling?
There's one question coming in on the Twitter feed here.
Yes, go for it.
That, let's see, Steve wants to know where you can find a good source for flash paper.
Sure. You can find flash paper in usually any magic store, or also you can actually go to a pyrotechnic shop that sells electronic matches or flash pots. They have flash paper as well because that's what ignites a lot of the fireworks or big explosions you see on stage for rock and roll concerts or anything. PRG Scenery has some, a lot of companies. But most of the time, your local magic shop will carry it, depending on the state. I know in California it's a lot harder because they have a lot of laws on pyrotechnics, and this is obviously called pyrotechnics. So, yeah. Mm-hmm. Good. Cool. All right, any questions in here for this yet, the handling? Everyone's kind of got it, right? Okay, so I'm going to teach you how to make this. You guys want to learn how to make it? All right, here we go. All right, let me get my supplies, which I brought right here. Look at that. All right. So this is basically how it works. I also use a hot glue gun, which I have here. Never travel or leave home without this. And,
and that's a great tip, because you don't know how many times I've been out on the road and had to buy another one.
You're so right. Isn't that the truth, though? Honest to God, people think
Yeah.
it's a joke. With gaff tape and a glue gun, you could rebuild the Taj Mahal, right? Am I serious? Honest to God, it's true, right?
Yeah.
And people laugh, but everywhere you go, if anyone's ever worked with me, since I was a kid when I did an act with CDs and compact discs, and some of you know that I started in the business that way, some of you don't, but you can always Google it. You always know I arrived in the dressing room, because the first thing I would do is plug in my glue gun. It doesn't matter what country. I'd have transformers for every single country, because I needed it. And not only does a glue gun help you with your actual props, that if something breaks, you can fix quickly. Trust me, you pop a button off, or you put your pants and blow through your cuff in your actual pants, you can actually glue the hem of your pant together, or glue a button on quickly, because these are all sewn on. Well, if you got to go on stage in 30 seconds, guess what? Glue will work just as fine. And it's not going to ruin it that much, and you'll still look proper. So I've used it for everything, glue gun. So, anyways, that's plugged in. So the way it works is I'm going to sit down so I can show you this a little bit. And here's what you want to do when you make this lighter. All right. I used to sell these, and now I just teach you how to make them, because with a little bit of effort, it's really not hard to make these. So first of all, you go shopping, and you want to buy a pack of Tic Tacs. You can buy these anywhere. You can buy them. If you want to use colors, you can. The nice thing with white is when you go to pick that up, it's the same color as flash paper. You can try to color your flash paper as well. Sometimes, if you do it lightly, it'll still ignite the same. It'll ignite fine. But if you overcolor it, it'll take away obviously the substance that it has on it to burn quickly. So, but if you want to use it, they come in yellow and orange and green and everything. So, take this. You empty out all your Tic Tacs, like so. Get them out of the pack. All right. What's kind of nice about this is, and they also save these, because when you're doing walk around, you can leave the Tic Tacs on the table. It saves you taking them and running around. Just leave them on the table and go to the next table. Just have your pocket full of Tic Tacs, and you can reload this, and you're good to go again. Flash paper one pocket, coin, and then you have a ton of Tic Tacs in the other, and load 2 or 3 in here, all right? Now here, if you notice, there's a label in the front that says Tic Tac, obviously, and then the back label is basically the ingredients and barcode of the container. What you do is, if you notice how this is made, most of the time, the back sticker is actually longer than the front. So go off the back versus the front when you're making this, all right? Take a hacksaw. This is the one I have, just a single blade hacksaw. And what you do is, now you want to buy a few boxes of Tic Tacs, because you may crack the plastic when you actually do this, but it actually lines it up right here where the sticker is. That's where you want to cut. That's your line. So it's pretty simple, all right? So you'll put this on the ground or on your cutting block or wherever you want to do it. It's probably not on your good dining room table. And you cut straight down, and you'll cut right through. Now you want to start an edge, and when you do this, don't push too hard, because once you start getting through, you'll start pulling the actual plastic, and it'll actually crack, okay? So you do this, and that takes, it should take you a couple of minutes to get through this. You want to take your time. If you crack it, chuck it out, and get another one. And what it'll end up looking like is this right here. The bottom will be cut off nice and clean, all right? Now, once you have this, open up the lid. This is important, because I've made this myself a few times in a hurry, and I've made it backwards, and then you got to chuck the whole thing in the garbage. So, get a lighter. You can buy these lighters anywhere. Back in the day, they didn't have the child safety lock on the lighters. Now they do. So when the lock's usually right underneath this lip right there. So what you'll do is you'll get a piece of pliers or get scissors, and you can actually pop the lock out and just break it right off. So now, when you do this, it'll light every time. Because without that lock being in there, you can light it fine, but if the lock's there, you'll never get the flame quick enough, and it'll look ridiculous. So make sure you break that off. Or the other option is to find electronic lighters, the little electronic thing that hits and it lights. But the ones I'm using right now are these. Fairly thin, all right, squared kind of off in the bottom. So now, when you look at this, there's the flap, and there's the igniter, all right? So the flap opens up this way, and then there's obviously a gap here. And then there's obviously the igniter right there, all right? So you want this igniter to obviously go into the Tic Tac box, just like so, okay? Now, obviously, when you put that in there, you can see the lighter's still there, and that doesn't look like any Tic Tac at all. So what you want to do is you want to camouflage that. So get some tin foil, or you can get some painter's tape, which is actually aluminum foil tape, used for painting and masking stuff. It's a lot more expensive. This is the cheap way to do it. And you get a pair of scissors, and you want to cut. Now here's what's important. You want to take the lighter, stick it inside the box. See the white rim of the actual Tic Tac? insert, the top. You want to stick this in there, and you want to kind of go to the edge of that. You don't want to go any higher because you need the room for the Tic Tacs that you're going to drop out of it. So you kind of measure it up to that point. You can mark a line or just use your finger. All right. So that's how much of tin foil I need on the bottom of that actual lighter. All right. So you take this, you measure how far down you need, which is about 1.5 inches. It's all speculation because it doesn't need to be exact. Cut yourself enough tin foil, just like so. Like I said, you can use the aluminum tape, which is a lot faster because it's already sticky, but it's a lot more expensive. So now you take this, take some hot glue. Be careful with this because if you get it on your skin right away, it hurts. So you go around this pretty quickly because it dries really fast. Just a little bit, like so. Take this, you wrap this around the edge, just like that, okay? And try to just do one round. You don't need to go around any more than that because you don't want to make it any thicker than you need to. So you rip that like that. Poke the top down so it'll cover the actual bottom. So you want, when you wrap, you want to go a little higher than that. So there you go. All right, so now you get the silver portion. Go back to the box you cut. Remember, the flap's open and the actual igniter you want facing towards the flap. So you'll put that inside there. Notice how that just disappears in the box now? It's just gone. So now when you're actually doing the trick, it looks like, you know, you can't obviously see a lighter stuck in there, and when you have the Tic Tacs in there, you just think it's white Tic Tacs. Nobody really pays any attention. Now, if you've overdone this too much, you can always take your fingernail, you can go around the edge and bring it up. This really isn't that important because you're not going to show that much of the actual lighter. All right? So now we have this made, and now you have to stick that inside here. All right? And the way to do this, same thing with hot glue. Make sure you got the right thing. The roller of the igniter is this way. Because if not, once it's in there, you have to start again from the beginning. So take this, take a little bit of hot glue on the outside of this now. And now here's the deal. When you put this in, be generous, because when you flip this over to light the actual lighter, when you do the trick, you're putting a lot of pressure down on this. So you'll slide that right in there like this. You press both sides and press that in. And then, I don't advise doing this, but with your finger you can take the hot glue off like that. Now it's the beginning of your actual trick. All right? Now, like I said, you can use a knife or scissors, and you can bring this down here and bring your tin foil down a bit more if you want, okay? And then also this here, you can take this sticker off if you want, okay, if you don't want that there. Or you can color it, or usually most people take it off with an X-Acto knife and peel it off like this. Let me get one X-Acto knife. You can do it pretty quickly as well, just like so. Just go back and forth with it. And there's also stuff you can use like Goo Gone, you can use turpentine, paint thinner, anything like that. So there you go. All right, there's that. Cool. So now you have both sides like this. This is glued in. This is dried by now. Now, here's what you want to do. You have a hole right here at the bottom of it. All right? Now, there's other ways you can probably put something in there to fill it if you had more time. All I do, and this takes time, you take hot glue, and you literally pour it inside the actual hole. All right? So what I do is I actually put it in the edge here. I'll turn towards the camera in just a second so everyone can see. But I pour this in here, okay? It's a bit of a waiting game because it'll actually melt the plastic. But you can hold it like this, and you go back and forth, just like this. And it'll actually start to dry as you go back and forth and start sealing that off. And it takes a bit of a minute, but it'll actually make that completely solid. All right, so this takes about 3 or 4 minutes. You go back and forth, and the hole gets smaller and smaller. And you actually see it probably dripping from each side, which is great. And it actually just makes the bottom itself. And it makes it clear, makes it easy, just like so. All right? This is about as exciting as watching glue dry. Just throwing it out there. You can use the line. I'm going to actually wait for this to dry a bit because I want to show you how to put the actual Tic Tacs on the inside. Because I can jump back over to the one I actually have pre-made, but I kind of really want you to understand how to make this because you do have to wait for this glue dry. It doesn't take long at all. If you want to do it dry quicker, open your fridge for a second or freezer and just stick it in there. It'll dry a lot quicker. So. You also, when you buy glue sticks, you can get fast setting or slow setting glue. I'd advise probably fast setting glue for this. It doesn't take long. Just make sure when you put it in there, don't have it drop on your fingers and have it over something So if it does drop on, it doesn't ruin whatever you're doing it over, like a close-up mat or anything. So you see how it's filling in the bottom? Become all solid. So once again, you can put another plastic piece there and probably seal it up quicker. This is just easier for me because it's all one. It's just one more piece that's not going to fall off the thing when you do the trick over and over. So, and it makes it more rigid as well and solid, which you kind of want. So, all right. So there we go. Okay. So now, also the tricks the next 2 or 3 tricks I'm going to show you as well. Every trick that I'm showing you is something that just takes magic a little outside the realm of a card trick or just a production trick. I'm a big believer in making a statement. It may not be as hard to do or to learn technically, but the impact to the audience is what I try to go for always. I'll teach, and I'll show this to you a little bit later, but it's the 3 R's. And it's being remembered, getting rebooked, and it equals revenue. And you can do the hardest trick that you've worked on for years, get no reaction. Our industry knows how hard it is to do. They applaud you. And then you go work at your restaurant and you don't get a tip or nothing because they have no idea that you had to rehearse for 2 years of your life for the one effect. Yet you can do something as simple as this. And they go, oh my God, this guy walked up with a Tic Tac thing, lit it on fire as Tic Tac, and it turned into a coin. And it just takes things, it saves you, using a matchbook with a flash paper and then a coin. It just adds something extra and makes it. And everyone's seen Tic Tac probably. They've been around since the 50s, so a long time. So, all right, that's pretty dry now. So here's what you want to do. You want to find 2 or 3 Tic Tacs. You get out. And now inside here, and you can even do this while this is almost dry, you take the Tic Tacs and you drop the Tic Tacs down into here. Just like so. All right. So if you notice this one that I have made, there's a couple that are just stuck down there. All right. The red ones I decided to use. I was doing something with sponge balls. So I had red ones, and then when it catches on fire, I produced a red sponge ball. Kind of made sense. So I drop a bunch of these down here. All right. And you kind of load it up, whatever you want. You can load as many as you want down there, because you want to load it up solid, because you only want 2 or 3 Tic Tacs to drop out. Because first of all, you don't need a whole box up there. And nobody ever questions why you didn't drop a whole. They just think you only had 2 or 3 left in the box. Now, once that's in there, here's what's interesting. When they're in here, you want to take the hot glue again. Why? Because it's your best friend. Take this and you load. Now, don't let the gun hit the edge of this, because if it does, it won't clamp shut. You'll melt the actual clicky part right off the thing. Why? Because I've done it. So kind of hold it above. Try not to hit your skin, all right? And if there's any kids under 18 doing this, have parent supervision so I don't get sued. And this goes down here like this. You just kind of drop it in like icing or syrup on pancakes. You just kind of let a little bit in, and you're doing the same thing as before. All right, so now it's kind of just setting down there. And also, it doesn't hurt, get the end of a pointy thing. Just kind of push them down, because you want these ones just to be solid in there. You don't want them rattling around at all. So if they rattle, when you spin the lighter around from here to here, you're going to hear them shake. All right? And so basically, say there's 1 Tic Tac in there. Okay? So now every time I do a move, it's like I'm in Cuba, you know what I mean? So that's the, you know what I mean? So you want to make sure they're all out of there, or the ones you have glued in there are glued in, because they'll rattle, all right? And so that's the idea, because if you do this move, now you got sound effects, which isn't the plan. So that's why you want to make sure they're all out. And the ones you're gluing in for the fake front, because that looks pretty full, doesn't it? See, if you look on the side of it, looks like a full, right? And it's kind of cool, because people are thinking, well, if it is full, how do you turn it? We should hear. I mean, if people really get, because there's a lot of people watch you that are really detail-oriented, going, well, if it's a full pack of Tic Tacs, how wouldn't we hear them disappearing? So it's another way to fool them. So those are in there, pretty tight. And also, when they're in there, you kind of want to shake them yourself, because you hear that there's a bit of a noise. So just take something like this and press down. I'm not going to overdo it, because the bottom isn't 100% solid. And I want to teach my other tricks to you guys. So that's in there pretty tight. So that's kind of, now you seal it. And when that stays down, you know you didn't melt the latch off. And now you've made your Tic Tac lighter. Okay, so that's how you make it. And now there should be enough room for 2 or 3 loose Tic Tacs that go just inside that lip, and it kind of goes right on top of the lighter. Okay, so you might be able to see in there if I angle it, but it'll go right in that space, right there, which you can see on the camera. So you have, it looks like it's full here, but right in there is enough. So You drop your 2 or 3 Tic Tacs. Hopefully I won't stick to the glue just to show you guys. So there it is there. You have your thing. Your little lid open. Turn that over. They should fall out. Like so. Yeah, I just glued them all in. But they all come out like so. Now, one thing you want to make sure as well when you do this, if they get stuck like this, right, then you've made it a little too close. So all you want to do then, they should all come out like this. You don't want one loose in there smacking around. So what you want to do is maybe then, if you've made it, you just leave one in there. So when you do the trick, you pop it open, you drop the Tic Tac out on the table, like so, there's one. You grab the one, vanish it, do the spin like this, light your lighter, and there it goes. So, cool? Cool. Everyone like that? So now, just to show you, I mean, don't forget, we just made this, so the glue's a little loose, but that's pretty solid in the end. I mean, that's already tight, and now it's moving around a bit because you want to push these down more, drop a little more hot glue on it. But what I mean by the pressure is when you do the move, you're here, right? You come down, you spin it, right? Like this. Now, when you light this, just so you know to light it, you come here, you do your move, you spin it, and then right here, I keep this on that little lip of my pinky, and I push down. And I push down really hard on that because that's really all I'm using. The pressure's here, not up here. Because if you do this, obviously you're going to flash the actual bottom. You want to keep your fingers close together. So when you flip it, that's where the pressure is. So you want to make sure that's glued really good because there's a lot of pressure. And if you don't have enough glue on that, it's going to rip the actual box apart. So there you go. Any questions from anybody on making this, on how to do it, on any other ideas doing this actual trick? No? Okay. Didn't take long to make either, right?
Yeah.
Right here, I made it for us.
Great.
Great.
Yep.
All right. Let me clean this up for 1 second, and I'm going to show you the next trick.
Cool.
Yeah.
Now, while you're cleaning up, I'm just going to say
Sure.
that I might be crazy, and you'll probably agree with me. but I would actually take the time to figure out how to make a thing where the lighter can then come out of that, like removable.
Actually come right so you can, so you can switch, yes.
Yeah, which would take a little bit more time, be a little bit more complicated.
Yes.
But you could then replace the lighter, and also after you change it, after you light it,
yes,
you could easily steal off the
I
gimmick,
agree with you. And you can toss the gimmick.
Yeah, right.
I agree
right.
100%.
Yeah, but it would take a little bit more construction time.
Sure, because you'd have to build an actual sleeve for it.
Yep.
And go from there, which isn't a problem, because now the other option too, and you're 100% right with that, the other option to make this trick, if you want to switch it out and give the lighter to somebody to use for something else, you just have a double in your pocket.
Sure, you can just do
you
a
top
transfer.
it the actual lighter gimmick, and then you're free to go. Or have a second one, because once again, they're all here about the coin. And at the coin, you can hand the coin off to somebody. You ditch this in your pocket, and then you can even do an easy switch. Go, oh, sorry, you want to see the lighter, and you just grab the other lighter and hand it back to them, because people, So it's a very easy switch.
Yeah,
so,
we did have one question come in about
Yes.
handling. Do you do? This is from our friend Nick Papa, who is tuning in from Canton.
Yep.
He's normally here in the audience.
Okay.
But I think it's a school night.
Nice. Excellent.
So he just said, do you do the change under misdirection, or do you do it like right in front of him?
The actual lighter switch?
Yeah, when you're doing the
Yeah, let me get the lighter, 'cause
You
I'll
kind
show
of to me it seemed like you're doing it a little bit under misdirection.
Doing it under misdirection, but I'm also doing it in front of your face. So
Yeah.
I steal the Tic Tac off here, drop it on the floor with the flash paper. I'm holding it here. Okay. There's no reason why they wouldn't think this is a full box, because it's in my hand. I poured out Tic Tacs. Why wouldn't you think of it? All right. Now, there's Tic Tacs in here right now, so that's why you're hearing it. But the move is basically when you have the Tic Tac here, you come forward with that, and then at this moment, you literally come down and up like that and light it. So in that move, it's almost like when you vanish a proper card, when you're coming down and up, when you back palm, it should be at the bottom of the wave. So when you come back up, it's gone. You don't do it in the middle or before. You come down, that's where it happens, because that's the eyes are moving. And when the eyes move, you can get away with murder. So, but with this same thing, you have it here, you can come down and back up, and there it is right there. And you kind of want to light it right away because it looks cool, and people know it's a lighter. Because if it's just this, they go, what the hell's a plastic? So you want to come from here, you come straight down, back up. So that's it. And keep your fingers, closed, because obviously you don't want, to be doing this move, where they can see, that. And now it's just a great invention.
And that's always down at the bottom when you start that.
This is at the bottom, or this? This is when I start, it's starting like this, all right? like so, and that's where I'm holding it like that. All right. Now, generally, I don't come out holding Tic Tacs like this because it looks like, hey, you want a Tic Tac? You know, it's like, hey, I'm acting the part of a mannequin today. Yeah. So you want to kind of hold it with your arms, and it's done like that because you can cover it. Because most times you'd hold a box of Tic Tacs like that. You know, I have a box right here, which we were cutting. You know, and if you're going to hold a regular box, and as you know, with any trick, like a lot of people do the vanishing champagne bottle or the vanishing beer bottle, the biggest mistake I see with when people do that is you should pick up a real beer that's full. Pick one up and pick it up 100 times. Pick it up, so you know how to pick up a bottle of beer that's full. Same with the champagne bottle that vanishes. When you pick up the bottle, those bottles are pretty heavy. And if you're going to talk for a while, naturally, most people will pick up the bottle and they either hold it at an angle because the weight shifted, or they'll hold it against their hip because it's a bottle of champagne. And if it's full, that's what you do. So every time I pick up my bottle of champagne, I actually rest on my hip because it just adds going that it's heavy. So when I'm talking to the audience, that's just kind of, so I think learning, you have a Tic Tac box, and actually just hold it like you normally hold a Tic Tac box. And that's how you normally hold it. You know, if I'm going to offer somebody a mint, I just pop it open. And usually it's a one-handed thing. No, most people don't do the whole, they kind of just pop it open like a Zippo lighter. So with that in mind, you're back to this now. You pop it open, like so. And that's the greatest thing with this thing. You can do it in one hand. There's this little tab. That's why I say when you make the lighter, don't burn that thing off, because now, if it's the only one, you got to put tape on it, and now you got tape, and now you got to use two hands, and it's just a mess. It's not worth the hassle. So you pop that, you pour them out, and then you hold it, and then for the move, you're here. So the lighter is at the bottom. You come down like this as you come up. That's the move, just like that. So it takes a couple of minutes, but it's really not. This is a fulcrum. You just leave your finger there. It'll actually just swing right around. It's actually kind of built in with that. So when you come down, it's here, spin, and it gives you enough time to get your fingers together. The hardest thing with this is when you do come from here and you come back down to spin it and keeping your fingers together. It's the idea of, you know, when you're first learning magic, you have something in this hand and that hand. You want to keep looking at it to make sure it's not flashing. Well, the minute you look down, you've given it away. So that's the hardest thing with this move that you want to practice in front of a mirror is when you do come down with this, keep those fingers really close together. And then when you light it like that, you can loosen up a little bit. So that's it. Cool. All right. All right. So I love tricks that are simple, but are really impactful, that people really go away with, and they go, wow, that's really outside of the box. A lot of stuff I do. When I invented my CD act, it was when CDs first came in when was it, 1992, 93, and I was working in a department store, a place in Canada called the Hudson's Bay Company, because I'm originally from Vancouver, Canada, but now Las Vegas. And they had tapes and CDs, and they had some broken CDs. My original act was I rode horses for 20 years of my life, and it was in the rodeo. And if you look at me like this, you go, no way, you can't even hold a hammer. But I've actually rode horses. So, but if you notice the bend of a horseshoe is kind of the same way as the CD. Well, I had this whole act of design producing horseshoes. I made a folding horseshoe on springs, a saddle that would fit around here, my waist you couldn't see that I could produce, and all this stuff. And I thought when I had enough money, because remember I was only a teenager then, I could produce a horse, and it could be this whole horse theme. Nobody had that, no one was doing it. And I thought, I could do festivals and fairs and all that. And then it occurred to me 3-4 months in there, I realized that's all I would be doing is festivals and fairs. I'm thinking, I don't know if I'd ever see that act in Vegas or at the Lido. It's a cool idea, and it was part of my life, but I just thought, so I built this really cool folding horseshoe, and then I was working at the department store, and some old CDs came in that people returned because they were not working or skipping, and I just grabbed them one day and came down and did a Tenkai palm move with the thing, and I fooled the guy I was working with. He was blown away. I said, you've got to be kidding me. You can't see this massive record behind my hand? And he didn't, and that's what changed everything for me, and I love the fact that when I designed my CD act, which you can find online, basically it's moves that you do with a coin act or a card act. But when I came out with this act, it was like the newest invention. Everyone's like, oh my God, I can't believe what a brilliant idea. Well, I just changed the product in my hands. The moves were pretty simple. I had to change some of the handling, but you go through Bobo's coin book or any of the great coin books, those moves were in there. I just took jumbo coin moves and learned how to do them with CDs. So a lot of the stuff I'm showing you now is just skewing things a little to the left. So people go, my God, it's brilliant. And it's really not much more brilliant than the trick it came from. It's just a little bit different. And I've always been that way. So this next trick is a card trick. And very simple. I'm going to have someone help me. Can you help me? Yeah, come on up. You're going to stand here, and regular deck of cards, all right? And usually I have a pack where we can actually undo the pack and, you know, you can buy it sealed in. Pretty normal look, right? I'm going to have you select any card. Say stop whenever you want.
Stop.
Great. Take the card. Have a look at it. Show the viewers at home. Also show everyone here inside. All right. Do me a favor. Between your hands, put the card and rub it back and forth. Make the card warm. Don't bend the card, but just rub it back and forth. Yeah, go for it. Yeah. Okay. All right. And then I want you to put the card anywhere you would like in the pack. Put them together, and then shuffle the cards up for me. All right.
Can do.
Mix them up really good. Nice. And put them back in the box for me. That's the hardest part usually.
This is the sobriety part of the test. Right?
Yeah, exactly. It is the sobriety part of the test.
Sobriety
Nice.
test.
So here's what I got, all right? I got some heat-sensitive paper, all right? And have a look at the paper. Hold up to the light. Make sure you can't see anything on there. Because a lot of people think if you write in milk, you know, you've done this trick? You write in milk, you iron it, and you can see something come through and all that. There's nothing pre-written on there. Like, you can't see any other. It's just, that's it. All right. Take the pack of cards, hold them up. Rub, now this is heat-sensitive paper, all right? So rub this back and forth on the back of the pack, back and forth. All right? Now, as you're doing that, what's going to happen is your card, your selected card, is actually going to appear on that paper. Just keep rubbing. Nice. Hold up to the light. There she is. You see it? No? Rub some more. No, rub, I got 3 hours. Go on. Yeah, people at home are like, we don't. All right. Have another look. Nothing?
No,
All right, let me see this. Hold on. I'm going to add a little bit more heat to it with this lighter. You look really carefully.
Oh, shit.
Your card? Check it out.
Yeah.
Yeah? Perfect.
That's excellent.
All right, you can keep that after once I show everybody. So there you go. All right. So now, once again, I love this trick because I can learn a magic card move that takes me 6 months. It's phenomenal. And at the end of the day, and this is what I mean, I'm going to talk a lot more about this after I teach the tricks, is making your act commercial yet competitive. Now, if I entered a magic competition with this trick, I wouldn't get scored very high. For originality, I might, because it's a card inside a clear ball, not that common. But for my moves, I'm not going to get awarded much at all. Maybe my personality, maybe the way I look, but not for the actual technical skill of it. I'll probably get 0 or 1. It's pretty simple. But the way I make my mortgage payments and the way I pay my bills is from the commercial world, from Microsoft hiring me, from the Tropicana Hotel hiring me, from all this stuff. I do this to an executive, and they think it's the greatest thing. Because the minute you take out a deck of cards is the minute they go, oh, he's going to have me pick a card, I'm going to find it. That's the trick. Every trick you do, you're going to pick a card, and guess what? Somehow, it may be under a glass, it may be in a shoe, you're going to find the card. That's it. That's the trick. I don't care how many moves you know, that's the bit. Everyone knows it. Every commercial person, as soon as they see deck cards, always going to pick a card, you're going to find it. So when you see something in a ball like that, it throws people. Some people think, oh my God, he actually got my card in a ball and shrunk it. Some people will go, oh, I know he didn't put the card inside the ball, but how could he know that was my card? Because he doesn't have 52 balls on him. Be very popular, just saying. That would be the midnight lecture, not the 7 o'clock. So my point is, it's one of those things that takes it so far away from the card trick, it makes it unique. It makes it a miracle. It's like, oh my God, it's phenomenal. How did this guy ever do this? And it's actually one of the easiest tricks to ever do. And the great thing with this is, well, I'll tell you that after I show you how the trick is done. These balls are available. I have hundreds of them. I know Penguin Magic might be having some of these if there's an interest, but you can source these out online with card and clear ball to make them, or contact me through my website or contact Penguin Magic if you're really interested. We have a bunch of them. You can buy 4 or 5 and you can just keep using different cards. What the great thing with this is, and I'll share it with you now because I want to, you can actually get these made. If you go to a sports company, an awards company, you can get clear balls with a card made. Now say Microsoft hires you, say Oracle hires you, say KB Toys, any company hires you to do walk around. What you do is you put it in your budget to go, look, I can do a great trick, or I can actually give the trick away. You give this to somebody, and when I give this to you, you'll probably put it on your desk or on your mantelpiece, and everybody will walk by and go, what's with the card and the ball? So now, if you're a layman, you're going to be like, you're not going to believe this. This guy had me pick this card. You know, most magicians find a card. Well, you actually put it inside a ball. That's the one, that's the card I picked. And the myth goes on and on. It actually becomes a better trick as the years go along. That the guy vanished and didn't know anything, and he pulled this ball out of nothing, and he made this ball in front of me. It became really become a massive, cool trick. So basically, it's a giveaway if you can do that. And now here's a company that, for Microsoft, you're giving away everything. It has their logo, has their website in the back, and they get to keep something. And it costs them 50 or 60 cents a ball if you buy in them by the thousand, And you can charge it back to the client because it's their product. And here's this really cool trick you're doing. And the nice thing is, I say, it's a giveaway, so somebody can actually go home with it. Now, yourself, you don't really need to. You can bounce it, show somebody, and then go on to the next. And have 3 or 4 balls in you, so you can have an ace of diamonds or a 9 of spades. And so it's not the same card everyone has to pick throughout the whole night, because after a while, it's going to catch up with you. So the way the trick works is a lighter, a normal lighter, and this card in ball, clear ball, all right? And a deck of cards. Preferably the ones I use is B. These aren't B. These are like a knockoff of B. They're just cheap playing cards, but it has a similar pattern to the one on the ball. This isn't necessary, but if you really are picky on detail, it is, because now they really think it's the card inside. But by this point, they're past that. They're like, I can't even believe you found the card and it's in a ball, and it's not even, and they even know, well, if even in the pack, how do you know that would be the one I've chosen? So I'm going to get some flash paper, because obviously we use that again. And the way this works is I'm using the 8 of diamonds, all right? And then you find the 8 of diamonds in your own pack of cards. So you stack the deck. You put the 8 of diamonds. I know for a lot of card workers this is 101, but for people that don't know, take your 8 of diamonds placed on top of the pack, load it back into the deck, all right? And then have your lighter, and you have your flash paper, all right? And then your ball. So the ball and the flash paper I put in my right pocket, all right? The lighter I put in my left, so there's something on both sides. Then, of course, I have the deck cards. I take the cards out. Usually what the great thing is you can actually use a sealed deck, because you just open up the sealed deck, take it open, have a look at it, and you can load your card into the top or whatever you want. So it looks, it's an unsealed pack, and it even makes it more amazing. So basically what you do here is you take this, you show the audience the card, you can show them, whatever they want to do, and you show them they're all mixed up. You have a volunteer come up like you did. You have them select a card, all right, and basically I just steal it off the top. For those of you who don't know how this works, you just rifle through like this. Your card's obviously on top. You say stop, and when you pull it out like this, that top card slides and stays right on top, which is the card they then select, which is the 8 of diamonds, all right? So basically, if you're doing it this way, you say stop whenever you want, you pull it out, and that's the move. And that's how it works. So they get the card. There's many forces you can use. I just use that one. Forcing the 8 of diamonds. They have a look at it, show the audience. All right, then you have them put it between their hands and warm it up. So it makes it scientific now. They warm up the card, they put it anywhere in the pack. It doesn't matter. Once they pick the card, the trick's done. It's all showmanship now. It's all about presentation now. Have them shuffle it, put them back in the pack. As they're shuffling it, though, and doing this, that's when you reach in your pocket, you grab the ball and the piece of paper in your hand. So the ball's here, finger palm, or you can palm it in a regular palm or a finger palm, whatever you'd like. I choose the finger palm because I can keep my hands curled, and it just looks natural, and I have a piece of paper here. And then I reach over here and I pull out my lighter, which is a normal lighter. And if you still do the tic-tac thing, you can have a similar one that matches, or like Dan mentioned, you can have one that switches out with a sleeve, which wouldn't be that hard to make. So now you have this and a piece of paper, all right? So now I say it's heat-sensitive paper. I hand it to the guy or the girl to look at. They take this. I usually switch my lighter to this right hand. That way, now there's still a reason for my hand to be curled with this ball in it. That way, even if I flash it, you're not even going to think there's a ball there, because first of all, no one's thinking if they're thinking there's a ball in your hand, you've gone, hello. Let's do a trick. And that is a problem. But I always like giving myself safeguards, because I don't, I've had people around me, but because they're so focused from the neck up with your talking, you could literally bring in an elephant sometimes. And it's really true that way. So I'm a little lazy with that, but I always like to protect myself. So when you have this, now you're set. So you have your paper, they're looking at it, they rub the back of it, and you do the back and forth thing and how much time you got and all that. Nothing appears on it. Great. And then I go, I'm going to heat it up a little bit more since it's heat-sensitive paper. So now the lighter goes to my left hand. This goes to my right. I scramble up the ball like this. And then at this point you light. And I believe Michael Marr does something like this with the flash paper to the ball. And the way it works is, I'll do it this way so you can probably see it. So my hand's here with the ball. And I light this, and then as soon as that lights, I drop it, and it bounces back up. And here's a pointer when you light the flash paper, don't look at your own trick because you'll blind yourself and you will not catch the ball. You'll look like the bad juggler at a convention because you look at it and you can't. It normally should come right up under it, but when you light that, just look away for a second because the ball's going to come right back. No matter what, the ball will come straight back up. It just all depends on the surface. This is a close-up pad, so it doesn't come up as much. Now, if you are on carpet and there's nothing else, be aware of that. Before you do your walk around to your show, go over there and bounce it off the floor to see how far this thing will come up. Because here, you notice, it won't even return itself on a pad, all right? So it'll work the same way on a carpet, okay? And that's the way it does. You just release this, drop the ball, and it looks like the flash paper turned right into the ball. And then as you're coming up, really important, as you're coming up from this, now you're looking at which way the card is. So you finish here and you go, boom, is that your card? And then you turn a little bit, and then you hand it to the person. Now the greatest thing is, for when you're doing this in a restaurant, and I love it, because most restaurant tables are against a wall, and there's 4 people or 6 sitting this way, or in the middle, but generally. What I always do with this trick is I always pick the person against the wall. So I'm standing here at the table, and the person's against the wall. I go, can you help me for a second? Great. Say stop. They say stop. I go, here, take the card. They take the card, show the table. They show the whole table. So do me a favor, here's the pack. Take the pack, shuffle it, rub between your hands, make it warm, put it back in the pack, and then put the pack back in the box. And then I hand them the flash paper. Now, once again, all the heat's over there, so I could even sit here and hold the ball almost like this. Nobody's looking at me. It's all about the guy over there against the wall. Don't do that, but that's a thought. So he's over there mixing around with the flash paper and the deck of cards. Nothing happens, nothing happens. I go, great, do me a favor, give me the flash paper. I take it back to here. I do this, light it, it hits the ground. And the great thing with this is, I'm going to grab a little more flash paper. And this table isn't as long, but if you can see the table this way, and pretend they're sitting over here, it's really cool because you light this here, you have it come back up like this, and then you roll it all the way to the guy. And as it's rolling, it's the funniest reactions. Everybody it's going by, they're going, oh my God, is that the... And then he grabs it, and he goes, oh my God, that's amazing. And it's really cool because it actually rolls right past everybody. And so you get this chain reaction. So it's all about the detail to me about all the tricks on the small things. And once again, it takes it out of that regular card trick. So when you're, the 100th magician, they've hired a restaurant to do tricks, you come with something like this, that, because most times 4 aces or a card trick or I found it here or everyone picks a card and you find them all, which are amazing tricks and they're awesome. This totally takes it out that nobody's ever seen this, and it just takes it out of the premise of a normal, here's your card, I found a trick. So there you go. Any questions? Nothing? All right, there you go. That's that one. All right. This trick I came up with years ago because I was known for CDs and magic and doing stuff with CDs. So I decided to come up with as a close-up bit. And it's a classic, but then it's turned into something a little bit different. So I got a CD here, if we're going to see it. I've cut into 4 little corners. It's actually a DVD and a CD. And I've always found that technology is kind of cool because you can take this CD or DVD, you load it into an actual player, and you can send it all over the world. Within an email, you can send it to England, to Europe, across the world. And so it's kind of shows you the different areas that we can send technology to from here to there. This is kind of how I came up with the idea. 4 different cards. I got an ace of spades, king of diamonds, a jack of spades, and of course a 5 of hearts. All right. 4 different cards. I'm going to cover up the pieces just like so. All right. Just like that. Just like this. And then just like that. Okay. And I love the fact that when you use the internet or use technology, things can fly everywhere just with a click of a button or when you're hitting enter on the computer. So this is, like I said, how I came up with. If I snap my fingers, you can take this piece right here. It jumps to there. It's kind of cool. You go over here and you cover that up. And if you watch really carefully, you take this piece and it jumps over there. Take this. Now, of course, we know these 2 are non-existent because they're already gone. And this is the one that's the hardest. It's gone like so, like that. You look really carefully. There they all are, just like that. There you go. Kind of cool, right? Now, the cool thing is, what I love doing is you take all 4 pieces like this, and you put them together, all right? If you watch very carefully, watch this. 1, 2, and 3. There's your CD right there. So I call that the CD or DVD matrix. As it's gotten older, I'm calling it the DVD matrix because CDs are almost out of date. So to keep it current. So you guys want to learn how to do that? Yeah. Of course you do. That's why I'm lecturing. So here's what's going to happen, all right? I'll show you how it works. You have a CD that's solid, all right? You have 4 pieces that are not solid, and you have 4 cards, okay? I love this trick because I've been doing this for so long. And once again, it takes it out of the realm. This, in the business, for those who are experienced, is a coin matrix. You have 4 coins, and you keep adding more. And we've seen matrices in our business for years where you move all 4 to the side. They've done the ones where you use the hands, you don't use any cards, or ones where you make 4 times the amount of coins appear by the end of it, all right? And I've always liked that, but I always thought it'd be cool to have 4 coins and then join them as a jumbo coin, or 4 pieces of something. So it's a matrix where things move around, but then it restores without even going that route, all right? And the cool thing with this as well is you can always go to Walmart, you can always go somewhere and you buy a bunch of DVDs for like $1 each, or the ones that are just, you know, they got too many of, you just buy a bunch and buy doubles, all right? Because the cool thing is, and I'll show you how to make it in a second, is to break this one well before the actual trick. So this is pre-broken and pre-cut. But it is cool when you can take a CD, solid originally, you break it, and then you do the thing, and then it restores if you really want to make the full circle of it. So I don't, just because they both match, and it's just easier to do it this way. But if you have the time, you can actually go through a lot of CDs that way, but it's handy to have. Now this is hidden under here. Now there's 2 ways to do it. I have this angled pad where I actually have a little sleeve. And it's just a piece of wood with dowel, higher at one end, lower at the other, so it's on an angle. First of all, so you can see it well. And second of all, I can actually get underneath it. Okay, so that sits right there. That's where it slides out. All right. Now, if you don't want to use an angled actual board and you just want to use the close-up pad, here's what you do. You take gaff tape along with hot glue. Those 2 things, you can live your life in the business. Put gaff tape on the back of this, because this is rubber. All right, every close-up pad is usually rubber. If you take this surface and rubber, you're not going to get that out for nothing. It won't slide from underneath this at all. It'll be stuck. You'll have it here, and you'll be grabbing this, and you'll be doing a close-up pad production, not a CD production. So what you do is if you put this here, it just slides right out. It just goes against it. So you can have this and just take the actual gaff tape and put it along here, and you can just set this underneath. If you're doing restaurant magic, you can load it underneath the edge of the actual apron of the actual table. You know, if they come to the edges, before you get to the restaurant you're working, you can do that. Or if they have placemats, you can actually load under a placemat. I mean, there's other ways to load this in. But this I'm showing you so it can be self-contained. So using the angle board, we have the CD, which is, do we lose it? There it is. Is in here. I always have it face up, so the printing's face up, like so. This is over this way. So that's right to the edge, right on the edge there. All right. And the way this works is if you already have it pre-cut like I showed you, I always put it together so people can see that it's really a full CD. It's not random pieces of other CDs. That way, at the very end, when it restores, because people usually grab it at that point, they can go, wow, it's really back together. So, all right. So there's this, and then I have the 4 cards. Now, the cool thing with this is if you don't want to use 4 cards, you can change this into any routine you want. You can use, I actually brought these for another idea. You can do something with the mail, like the post office, saying how things fly around and travel around the world and come back together. You can use these things as your covers. And they're just, Priority Mail Express covers, and they work the same. Anything. And the great thing is by using this, now it takes it away from even being a card trick. It's to most people, it's completely different. And it's not. It's just a different premise, all right? And so you take these, you separate them apart. If there's something that stands out a little more, I don't put it in this corner. I'll shovel it down this way, because this is the first one in this corner that's going to move ahead of time, all right? For those who don't do matrix, then this will be really new to you. Those who do, it'll be a little slow. So you've got the 4 pieces. I'm going to use these just show you can work with anything. 4 different express envelopes, and you talk about sending stuff all over the world. You can say this is Bangladesh, and this is England, this is Canada, and the United States. When you come down and put it on this one, of course, you pick up this piece right here underneath here. You clip it, all right, as you put this down at the same time. And I turn it this way, so there's some distance, all right? Then you come over here, still holding onto the piece. You drop this down. There's that. And, of course, you still have the piece here. And that's when you release the piece with this 3rd one. So now you've transferred that 1 piece over here. And then, of course, you leave that there. So now there's no piece here, which is going to be, of course, our last one. With a CD, just so you know, I want to show you this. I made sure the round part's up towards me. That way it's easier to pick up. It's not necessary, but when you clip it for the next move, it's easier. So I make sure all the round pieces are facing up. When I grab this one, I go, it's going to disappear. I do a little snap. You slide this forward. You clip the edge of it like that. All right, so basically it's there. I just push it until I feel it against my thumb and then pick it up. You go 1, 2, 3, and it looks like it jumps, which is actually that piece we put over there. Now you load the third piece down. Of course, there's nothing here, we know. We go over to here and go 1, 2, 3. It jumps, so it looks like this piece jumped. And you load the fourth piece down. So now that part of the trick's over. So we know it's not here. You come over here and you go, this is the hardest piece. So first of all, I take these two up, show that there's nothing there. And I drop them here. I drop them there purposely because I need these here to steal the final CD from the bottom. Then I grab this, and as I grab this right here, I swing it up like this. It disappears, and I drop that just like so, kind of haphazardly, and I go, and there they are right there. And that's when people go, oh my God, they're clapping, and that's when I steal all of this together. And I just grab it as a whole. Whatever you're grabbing, just grab everything. Hang on to it for your life, and then sort it out when you have a second, okay? Because there's a lot of stuff here, but it's easy to hide because these pieces are so big. So now you've got this. And you go, yeah, there it is. And now I toss one away, and I toss another away. So now I've got control, okay? So I've got two. This is what you want. You want two pieces vertical going from you to the board, and then there's your CD, okay? So now we've done the dirty work. They think it's over. This is the greatest part. You could really be sloppy with this, and nobody's even really looking unless you really flash the CD, and then that's probably going to be an issue. But so you put this together here. You put this right in the middle, stack them up. And the more stacked, the easier they are like that, just because it's easier to grab when you do this, all right? So here's what happens. You're going to push this down on top of it. So this CD, you're pushing right on top of the pieces, okay? And when you do this, what I do is I push this right down, okay? And then with my left hand, I actually grab all the pieces, if you can see that, okay? I know it's hard to see with the shine, but there's all the pieces stuck underneath, all right? So when I come down, I push the whole thing, so you can see down, and I swing my hand. I'm going to do it without that for a second. So I push them down here, and I literally get underneath there, so now I've got it as one unit. That way I can control them, okay? Because if you don't have them and you drop a piece, it's game over. So here we are here. We have the CD under here. We've already done this move over here. We have the full CD loaded here. I bring this over to here. I come down, push down, and I load all those underneath there. I got it tight. And now what I do is I grab all those pieces with my fingers and get them over to here. So now I've got the pieces. Those are all in my hand. I'm set. And now I'm here. Now with the CD, when you produce it, you want to let that CD go more to, I want the CD to pop off this one more than this one, because that's where all the pieces are and that's where all the dirty work is. So I'd rather send it as much as I can like that, all right? So when you're here, you actually hold the paper and this. So you come right to there, and just when you think it's about half, then you can pull both apart like that, and then flip it like that. And then your pieces are here. If you want to keep it clean, you can ditch them off the table onto your lap if you're sitting. You can top at them. You can turn to the right and drop them in your pocket and toss those over that way and drop them here. Or you just hang on to them, walk away, and drop them off backstage. So there you go. Now with this trick, this is the beginning of something I think could be a really cool trick. I mean, for a close-up bit. I've never extended it any more than I need to, but there's a bit where you can do a bunch of pieces. You can have a lot of these pieces appear by stealing more and more underneath the mat or from your jacket or whatever you want, and keep appearing them, and you have a bunch of pieces. You can actually produce the one, or you can produce like 6 CDs. Remember, they stack, so you can actually steal a load of 3 or 4 underneath here. And then when you grab the pieces, you switch them, now you got a fan of CDs. And then you can do a prediction with the CDs or something. You know, you can have 4 CDs, say it's 4 different movies, have an envelope hanging behind you, and go, well, since we got the 4 CDs, I got an idea. Now you go right into your next routine, and you have the movie called, you know, The Mask, and you have something, you know, whatever movie, Batman and everything else. And you go, do me a favor, pick any random CD you want, or whatever the case is, and it's the one matches. So you can go on further with this into a prediction. Or you can go into producing more CDs, you know, or anything else. But this has a lot of potential to go a lot further than what I've developed to. But that's up to you and for you to go further with. So. Is there any questions with this routine, or how it works, or what can be done with it? Anything else?
There was a question on
yes.
you know, about ending clean, and you touched on that.
Yes.
You know. Do you think it's essential that you clean up at the end, or do you think that surprise is enough? You know. For me, cleaning up at the end, I think it's important, but
I think it's more important in our world of magicians because they're always looking for, let me see his hand, and when they flip it over, it's not there. Like, you got me. Most people are already on to the next thing in a commercial world, in my point. Yeah, you can clean up, but when you're here and you've restored these, okay, or you've not restored, you put them here, and you've stolen the CD from here and you're standing there, they think it's over. So to them, the trick's done. They're like, oh my God, I can't believe it's moved all over to here. Then you put these here and go, here, let me just, and the way I do a lot of my magic is very nonchalant. I'm very casual, but I go, let me try something. Let me just see if I do this. And if I just did this, and I rub these two cards together, yeah, that's what I thought, it'd come back together. And that's it. They think, they're past that because they didn't see this. This is so far from the actual trick that I was even doing. That is the ending to them. They don't even, they may think 30 seconds later, well, at this point, I've dropped these down, and I'm clean, which is easy, because you can just grab those up like this, drop them down, or you just palm these off like that, and now I've got the pieces all here, and, drop them in your pocket, or go to grab a pen, drop them in your pocket, whatever you want. So, yeah, cleanup is important. I am a big believer in it, but also there's times where it's not needed because you are going on to the next trick. If you're building like a 9-minute routine, it's all done to music, yeah, because you've got your hands full. So you're going to have to top it, ditch it, drop it on the floor, or hide it behind a table or a chair and move on with something else. With these close-up effects, the nice thing is when you're doing table magic, sometimes you're only doing 1 or 2 bits. So you do this right here and you go, hey, I got something else for you. And you basically take everything, stick it in your pocket, and you've ditched it. And that's your cleanup. So, yeah.
And we have a question here in the studio.
Do you cut the CD with scissors?
I'm going to show you. It's funny you mentioned that. I'm going to actually show you how to cut a CD because if you don't know how to cut a CD, it's shocking if you were to just break one because it doesn't work out so well. So I'll show you. All right. So here's the way it works. This is a regular CD, one that you can burn. All right. The way to do that is you get an X-Acto knife, fairly sharp. All right. And you get a straight edge. I can use a card. You can use a ruler. All right. So here's what you want to do. Usually where the printing is about the middle. You come down here and you want to score it. You want to put quite a bit of pressure on that, okay? And do it on the front side. So if there's a movie, what I mean by the front side is if there's a movie printed on the front, that would be the front side, okay? Wherever the printing is, because they only print on one side of CDs or DVDs, okay? See it. You do that. You can see the cross marks pretty well. Just like so. All right, you can see that there. And then you can do it this way, just like so. Just like this. And just be careful when you're doing this because you're pushing really hard on it. And if it slips over that edge, you might be doing a finger matrix. Putting your finger back together. So, all right. You want to slide in there really good. And the idea is to get a really good groove going. And then what you want to do is, here's the cool thing. When you make scars in the front of the CD, well, because it's a clear CD, they come right to the back, okay? So now all you do is you can find where they are and just go back over them on the back side, okay? You don't have to be super accurate. You can just be pretty darn close to it, and it'll be enough. But make sure when you score it from the very edge all the way across, because if not, when you break them, it'll break on a little bit of an angle, and you have a bit of a corner to deal with, okay? There's that. And this. Okay, so now you should have scored enough to break it. And then, now here's one other thing too. Say you start your act with it like this. So here's how you score. So say you've gotten 2 DVDs, and the DVDs are, Batman Returns, okay? And you got them for $1 at Walmart. So you have 2. You loaded the CD that's going to be restored on the right side, and you've got this, the one you're going to use. The cool way to do this routine also, just to show you, is have that like so, have your cards here, and you're ready to go. And you go, hey, I got a CD. Now, these slices already are weird because you're like, that's kind of weird. So what you should do is take this and make it all match. Just do this with it. And these are just for decoration. So you only need to do 1 stroke on each one, okay? So there you go. And now if you have another CD, which I happen to have here, because I'm prepared, you do this again. I'm going to do it a little bit quicker. But so this is your CD you're going to produce. Now if you're doing this on television. You may want to be really accurate about this because people nowadays, as you know, can slow down, replay, all that. Yeah. And ironically, we're kind of doing it on TV right now, aren't we? People are like, wow, he really is blonde. All right. So basically, there's my second, right? So now I slide that into my pocket, right? Or put it underneath the pad, all right? And then there's the one I'm going to use. So we start like this now, right? And once again, we go back to, if you want to brand this, I'm all about branding, and I'm going to share that later in the lecture with you, is say you're doing a gig with Oracle or Microsoft, or the list goes on, well, you get CDs made with their logo on it. And if it's not burned, you can get printing on these done for $1,000 for a really cheap price. You include it in your pitch with the client. And when you're at the booth, these trade show booths that you stand at, now it's the Microsoft logo or the Oracle. And at the very end, when you restore it, boom, they can go home with it. Now they're going home with another thing to go home with. And if you printed 2,000, you just pull out another one and load it in, and away you go again. You know, so all this stuff that I'm showing you is all tied into branding a little bit. If you notice the theme of the thing, because I'm all about getting your name out there and making it work. Because if it works for Ronald McDonald, it should work for you. So there's the cards again. We have this. You go, oh, I got a CD. And now you can actually break it. You break the CD, go back and forth like this, and it'll snap. Okay. Now that, because I scored it more, it snapped on the off. So now, if that happens, have a backup CD, take another one out and break, because this isn't going to work with the actual trick. Okay. But it could. It doesn't really matter, because the pieces could be all over the place. So you have 1, 2, and then you actually have this one where you break it here. Okay. And then you break it here. Okay. And that's how it breaks. You got to cut it on either side. Okay. So now you can have these pieces like so. And if you want, you can have 2 and 1. It doesn't really matter. Now, if I was actually performing, I'd actually keep that there because I'd have to. I'd be in trouble, but I'd go with it. So now you have all these pieces, these random pieces. And you can even put that there with that one since it matches it, okay? So now you're ready to do the same trick I showed you, all right? So you come down here, all right? Now, I wouldn't advise this one to be the one you're picking up and moving. I'd switch that and leave that there so you don't have to touch it again, all right, if you're in this situation. Because if I was actually performing, you got to deal with this. That happens, all right? You can't just say, hey, come back in 20 minutes while I recut a CD. So you come over here, you do your move, you grab the CD right there, right? You move it over to here, and now we're dropping it over here, right? So now that's set, and you drop this one here, okay? And then we want to make them jump, so you make them jump like I showed you. Make this one jump over here, it's gone, back to here. Now we know those two are gone, like so. Drop this here and go, here we go, 1, 2, 3. There's that. Now you drop this here because now you're set, right? Come over here. There's all the pieces just like so, okay? And they love it. You grab this and take these away. You can take that and just chuck that over there. Now you put all the pieces together like that. You come down like this and watch really carefully. You come across. You go, I don't need that. You swing this around like this and you go, watch very carefully. Like that. And now it's back together. And now you can give the person a CD. And it's even more amazing because you just broke the thing. Now it's 360. A lot of times I don't do it because you don't have a bunch of CDs to keep redoing it. But if you're in that position, it's a one-time show or a TV thing, yeah, go for it. Break the CD. But just make sure you score it all the way around so when it's restored again, or the other option is restore it with the 4 score marks in it. So when it's back, they go, oh my God, it's back to score. And then they think it's glued or whatever. But I always try to make it match like that. So there you go. Any questions? Any other questions? You had one, I think you...
I have a comment on
yes.
it that just occurs to me because
yes.
especially if you're branding it,
yes.
What you can do with it is that you can score it so it's just got the cross on it.
Correct.
And then burnish it. You know about burnishing at all?
No, go for it.
Okay, burnishing is where you take a solid object and you rub onto a cut
yes.
and it smooths it down.
Oh, so it levels it again.
It'll level it down.
That's great.
And you burnish it on the top side and then stomper it.
So it comes back to looking solid.
You would take the paper labels and
yes.
stomp those right
That's
over
right. Right over top, so it'll snap right across it. That's a great idea.
Yeah. And I would do that with the company's logo
sure.
and all that kind of stuff and charge them my labor and
of course.
And the burning of the DVD,
of course.
Which would of course have not just company products on it, but also a little bit of my performance on
everything.
That everybody gets one of those at the trade show. Yeah, it would be great.
I agree.
It'd be absolutely great.
Oh yeah. Yep. So, and when you score a CD, though, make sure you score it on both sides. Because, here's a quick thing as well, just to show you, because most people have never done it or seen it. I'm going to show you. You take a CD like this, because I've done it for years. And when you take a CD and you break a CD like this is what happens. Watch.
Yeah, it's hard.
It's hard. It actually bends, and it doesn't. And every CD is different, but it never bends right where you need it. It's always off a little. So now you have this, and now it's off. You know what I mean? With scoring, it's much better. And sometimes, depending on what the coating is on the outside, they'll shatter. They'll go as well. So that's something you want to really try to be accurate with. And with an X-Acto knife, you can get a really accurate cut on it, and it really works out well. So there you go. Any other questions with this trick? For anybody? No? Nothing at all? No? Okay. So there's a trick. People always ask me to do stuff with my CD act. There's a move that I used to use called the flip over move, and I'll show you. I'd produce a CD generally like this. Just happen to have that there. And the move would be this, like that. So, like it? So it's called a flip over move. And before I was doing all the bigger illusions, I would, do a lot of sleight of hand. I lived on it. That's how I made my money, with going restaurant to restaurant, doing exactly the stuff I'm showing you. I did sleight of hand all the time. But obviously with bigger illusions, you can't do it as easily because they're big tricks. So the flip over move, you guys want to learn this? All right, 2 CDs, obviously. It's a really cool utility move. And the easiest way to learn this is just do it in front of the mirror so you can watch your angles a bit. I use bright colors so you can really see it. This would be the worst color to ever use because you flash a little, you're done. I mean, the whole world sees it, and your neighbors and the neighbors' neighbors. So with this, this CD I happen to pick up is shiny on one side and it's pink on the other. So if that's the case and you want to see it change, like grow like I made it, be aware of which way you're going to put it in your hand. If it's the same on both sides, it doesn't matter. And you can do this with anything. I just happen to use CDs right now, and then I'll share it with other stuff. For this little bit of a routine, I put the pink side down in my hand in a palm like that. Okay? So that's the way it's sitting there. Okay? Now, if you have a hard time putting a CD in your hand like this, take a file or an X-Acto knife, and be careful when you do this, but just edge the edge of the CD to make it grip easier. And if you just draw lines in the actual edge of it with an actual X-Acto knife, it'll give you some grip. So when it's in your hand, it'll sit like this. Okay? So now there it is right there. That's what you're seeing right there. So you can't really see the... Now don't forget, this will stick out a little more. So, and I do have bigger hands, but just angle your body. So there it is there. So the more you turn your body, watch. Now it's gone. Okay? Because I've angled it this way. All right? So if you have to, versus hanging onto it like this, which obviously you can see it, you want to turn a bit more this way. All right? So this other little CD that I have is a mini CD. These used to be singles back in the day. They don't even make these hardly anymore. But you can get a CD or a cutter, and you can cut a CD this size if you want. Or the great idea, what I use this for, is you can take a matchbook and turn it into a coaster at a bar. That's what I do if I'm out, because it's right there, and I can just take the stuff, stick it in my pocket, and go for it. But this is where the exact idea came from. So I have this, and I have this palmed in my left hand here. Now in my act, this would be something I would take off my jacket. I would steal from inside my actual jacket from here or below underneath here. But just for the sake of sharing the move with you, I'm just going to keep them in my hands like this. So they're down on my side. When you do anything with something that's large in your hand, at least what I do is it's almost like a robot where you come from here and you come up to here. It's almost a vertical move. If you swing out a little, it'll flash, if you can see that. So when you come up, it's here. So that's already there. And it's the act of surprise again. It's the fact of, hey, I'd like to show you a trick. Oh, hang on. And I literally load it into my mouth. And believe it or not, that actually fits in my mouth. So, again, for the midnight show. But, so, I literally, when I come up to, if you want to see how this is done, I'm turned to the side so you can, I'm not going to have that in my hand because you'll see it. So you'll come up like this, and when it's in, I literally put it back out. So, it's like the sponge ball routine people do where you put one in your mouth, you pull another one out. As you pull that one out, you're actually pulling the one out of your hand, and then you're keeping the one in your mouth. So, the nice thing with this is if you do something a little ahead of time, then people are caught off guard. So, so with this, you could produce it from behind someone's ear if you're at a bar, if it's a matchbook you're using, whatever the case is. So you pull it out of your mouth. As that happens, this comes up to here. Okay, so I've got this here. All right. Now the way I've got this is I have the actual colored side facing down. Now, once again, there's no need. You might as well color both sides of this. It just happens to be the one I picked up when I came here as 2 sides because it was a part of my act. So I'm holding this here, all right? This is on top, okay? So there's the bit I put in there. And I always make sure when I get into the move, I'm here, I come up and I load it right in. So it looks pretty casual. And then the move is coming here. I like karate chop the top of it. And I literally drag it over the front of my hand. And literally as I drag it over, I pull this CD up into it like that. and that's hidden behind it. And there's that. Now, once again, if you want to be clean about it, you take this, lift it out of here, throw it, and then drop your hand to the left, and you can drop it, either turn your body, so this would not be the way you'd turn to the audience, but you'd turn this way with it, but you'd turn to your body, just drop it into your pocket like that, or drop it into a top it inside your jacket, or off the edge of the table, whatever, to keep it clean, and now you've got the CD to do whatever you want to do with. But this flip-over move I've used in my act for years. I used it to change this into a ball. I did another move I'm going to show you is one that I used to vanish a ball in my act as well. It was a reverse flip-over move. And when it's done in time, it just looks like that, and then you can throw it up like that. And if you're really good at it, you can flip it right over like this. You catch it, and you can catch it like that in your hand. All right. So, and it even makes it look cleaner. But once again, it's a lot of practicing. Throw it up, and then you catch it like that. So there you go. Any questions on this?
Can you paint your own CDs? How did you do it?
For this, what you want to do is you can paint the CDs. When you paint them, though, they put a matte finish on them, so it makes them rough. It isn't bad, but if you need to peel more than one off, they don't slide at all. What I use is I go to a sign store, and this is sign sticker paper. 3M makes it in all different colors, and then using the X-Acto knife to cut the middle out and the outside of it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Did you get that paper from like Office Max?
Yeah, sometimes they might have that. Or what I would do is just Google or go to a sign shop in your area that makes banners and signs. Go to them, have a chat with them, and go, look, I'm doing this thing. Can I buy just 2 feet of sticker paper? I need it in a bright blue. And they have Astro Bright colors, all these colors on rolls. It's because they use them to cut with their computer cutters now, and they can lay it on a banner or anything they need. You buy a couple of feet for $4 or $5, take it home, it lasts you a long time. But that's the way I've always gotten this paper. Or you go to 3M or some sign company and just go in, look, I don't want to sign. I want some, can I buy, a foot of your stuff? I'm a magician working on a new project. So,
Back to your size anyway.
Exactly, a foot or two or whatever. If you only need a little bit, I usually buy enough of it so I can practice with it, when I was buying it.
That's all I do.
Is that what you do? Signs or that? Or you? Yeah. Oh, you know the business then. So you know. So I'm right, am I?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
If for beginners, just spray the CD wet and put
Yes.
it on there get the cheapest material you can get.
Sure. Yeah. Exactly.
And then it's easy to go.
Yeah. It's a way to do it. And with the flip over move, like I said, you can change things from anything into anything. I mean, you can take. Let me try a deck of cards even with a CD. You can have this where you have the CD, flip it over, boom, deck of cards.
Hey, that was cool.
You know what I mean? Yeah, that's why I'm here. No, yeah, not just a lot of peroxide in a blue suit.
Waiting for another CD.
Yeah, exactly, right? So this move, you can do it anything. I mean, like I said, it doesn't matter what you use it with. You can, and it's something you can practice at home. And once you get the hang of it, you know what I mean? So you have the tic-tac lighter, and you can come up like this, and there's your lighter, and any which way. What I like doing is things that are in common, meaning I don't have it with me, but you have the bar have coasters, square or circle coasters, the ones beer go on, and a book of matches. Well, you load say this is the coaster, right? And this is the book of matches. So you load the coaster into your right hand or left, depending. I'm right hand dominant, so I load my right hand. So I've got the coaster here. And then I pick up the matches off the bar. Don't forget, the great thing is no one's expecting it. And then you have your matches there and go, hey, can I get a beer to go with this coaster? Oop, I'm going to juggle now. To go like this. Can I get a beer to go with this coaster? And there it is. And then the guy's like, what? And then you drop that down and go here. Here's your matches back. And you reach in here and pull out your matches, which is still in your left hand. You know what I mean? So you can do whatever you want to do. The move's the same. You come over here, you hit the top of it, drag it over your fist like that, and you pull right up. And the beautiful thing is, even if this is showing a little bit, this is always larger than the item going, generally. That's what I like to, because it's bigger and it hides easier. But as soon as that halfway gone, and the minute you start getting this in view, the focus is right there. So it gives you that extra half a second to readjust your palm in this hand. Even if you're a little sloppy with it, it's a little forgiving, you know what I mean? So you can do the move. And then usually I do this to get the heat off it and catch it with this hand and then move it. Or you can catch it in this hand if you're really good with it. And I only use 2 fingers, and then you catch it right here and you go, and that's it. And they go, wow, and they don't, and for some reason, when you catch something with the hand you have a load in, people always think you have nothing in it because people always think people catch things like that. And it works. And you can get, so that's one of the moves. Now, the other flip over move, which is a reverse flip over move, is when I used to do in the act with a ball. Now, you can still do the move like this with a ball, too. You can come forward like this and boom, there's the ball, and then go from there. But the move I did in my act is I do the ball trick, where I'd usually turn into a CD. I'd roll it like this, come around here, and then it'd be like this, like so, and then I'd do that. Be gone. That's the move. And then I'd produce it again over here. So the move would be right here. Anyone see over this way? Yeah, like this. And then boom, it's gone. It looks like you just wipe it away. And basically the way that move is, I'll do it again slower, but you're here. You come around here. It's gone. And basically it's here. And as you come over here, you come over this way, and you palm it right there on the back of your wrist, and that's when you come across. So it looks very confusing, and it is. But I'm going to do it slow again so people can follow it. But it's here. You're going to roll it behind your hand. It's now behind the hand. You turn everything. So now both palms are to the back. You lock the ball in there, and then you drag your hand off it. And when it's done in time, it looks really cool. Does it not? Yeah, it does, right? Yeah. And the reason I came up with both these moves is because I dropped a prop. I dropped it, and I was videotaping myself at home, and I caught myself, and I was like, oh, that's going to look like crap. So I go back to play it again, and I fooled myself. I was like, that's really cool. And then I went back to figure out how I dropped it, because it was literally I was trying to do some move like the standard move we do with all these balls, and somehow I came around and I caught the ball as it came off the back of my hand. And then I went to replay it again. I went, man, that looks pretty cool. So then I figured out exactly how I did it. But it's the greatest thing is there's so many moves. It looks so fluid. It looks like it just vanishes. And then you can drop your hand here. You can load it off. Or you can come back to here, do that. And then you can do one of your washes if you want. And then bring it back to there. And then vanish it again. So, cool?
Yeah, very cool.
Good.
Yeah.
So, and just for everybody, just so you know, I'm going to do it to the side in case anyone's at home trying to figure this out. So you come here, and the audience is obviously that way. So you're here, coming around. And that's the way it is. Once again, that's it. There you go. You're welcome.
Yep.
Any questions at all on the move or anything?
We had basically a comment, coming in about the flip over move. It was more of a question, but I'm rephrasing it into a comment that it's not really angle proof. Obviously
No.
you've got to be aware of the angles. But
Yes.
honestly, I'm watching it from the extreme right.
Sure.
And after the change, because the smaller object is the one that's going away,
Correct.
you can't see anything at all.
Yes.
So I think it's mostly before the change. You've got to protect the
Yeah,
left
of course.
side, right?
When you steal the actual item out, like anything,
Yeah.
if you have this in your right pocket, say, the one you're going to change something into, and you have, say, the lighter. Let me just use the actual CDs because it'll be a lot easier. But say you have the CD here, and it's in your pocket. And this is the item you have that they see. So whatever you've done, say you're over here and you're producing the CD. Okay, so I'm stealing the big CD out of my pocket here. All right, so it's coming into my hand here, which I wouldn't recommend taking out of your pocket. I'd have clips on your jacket and all this other stuff. But your CD's here, you're going to produce it. So you produce the CD here. You've stolen the CD. It's in your hand already here, okay? So when it's beside you, the audience is obviously where they are now. The CD's here, you show the CD, you produce it, boom. As you produce it, you pull it into view. Now when you do that, everything happens. So now I'm here. I've got the CD here now. So obviously it's all about misdirection as well, but you're here, put this in your palm, come forward, produce the CD, you come up to here, and now you're loaded. And now that's when you're clean. Now, if people are right here, they're going to see it. And if you're in a venue, I played the Showboat in Atlantic City, and any magician that's played there, it was literally 180 degrees and a little bit extra. And unfortunately, 80% of the audience was amazed. And 20, it was show and tell. But I had no choice. The bandstand was here. I couldn't go back any further, and there was tables against the wall. But my opinion, this is strictly my opinion, is if you're worried about fooling the 20% beside you, you're probably going to mess the trick up for the 80% that you're going to fool. Because you're so worried about them seeing it, and but you know what? It's just the way it is. Unfortunately, some venues, you got a gig, and you got to do it, and you know, or you say no, you can't do the gig. Well, if you say no, you're not working. You know what I mean? And sometimes you just got to go with it, and don't worry about those 20% that can see. Even if after the show they walk up and they go, "Hey, I saw you how you did that," and you go, "Yeah, so did I," and you let it go. You just go, "Yeah, you're right, so did I," and they go, and there's no argument. You're like, "Oh, okay, you know, great, thanks," you know. So that's the idea, and obviously I'm right-handed, so anything to the right, I'm completely clear because you're not going to see this way. But obviously, if you're this way, you're going to see that. But that's something to be aware of. And so now you're here, and then once you do that move, now you're clean to here, and there you go. So yeah, but yeah, anything when you're stealing it or bringing it into the view, you really got to be aware of obviously your angles, where you're coming in from with stuff, especially when it's this big. But that goes for anything. If you're, you know, it's bigger than a coin because most of the stuff coins you can actually finger palm. So.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we had another question,
Yep.
kind of a general thing from Jim. He wants to know if you use any products for your hands for palming, anything like that, or.
I don't use any products for my hands or palming or anything.
Yeah.
I never have. I know at times when I was working with Norm Nielsen, we were in Mexico, and he'd plug a kettle in. Because if it's too cold, that is a problem. When your hands are too cold. I know when I did the act, I produced over 150 CDs in the act, and everything was manipulation. And if my hands are too cold, I'd have a really, really hard time doing all the manipulations that I did with my CDs. So what I would do is either go in the bathroom, run lukewarm water, and just run them literally until it was 10 minutes before going on stage, and then I dry them off. Because some theaters are just cold, you know. What Norm Nielsen would do is he'd plug in a kettle, you know, and he'd heat them over the steam. You know, obviously steam's really hot, but keep your hands far enough away. It keeps them limber and moist, because when they're cold, boy, they just don't react. You just can't react as quickly. They just don't move that well. And some venues, I'm telling you, the theater's warm, but you're in this backstage area, and it's an added-on theater. And when it's added on, you're stuck. You know what I mean? So,
Yeah.
so
Like
yeah.
they don't, you know, they don't take the time to run all the heating ducts
They
and
don't.
everything back
Yeah,
to
exactly.
the backstage. Yeah.
You're right. So,
Nicholas may have missed this. He's asking if it's better to paint both sides of the CD or just one
Yes.
side. Certainly
Paint-
depends on what you're doing, but
Yeah.
better both sides if you don't.
Yeah, paint both sides. I mean, what I would do is now with this CD again, because I don't teach my act at all. I never have. This is the first time ever I've actually taught one miniature section of my CD act. And it's also going to be the first time today I'm going to share some of my PR secrets to getting in the paper, which is kind of cool. So this is the first time ever I've shared this actual move from my act. Because I'm the type, I have no interest in sharing the stuff from my act, but I really wanted to share this because the great thing about it is you can do this move with anything. So I think it's not just for CDs. And with this, the reason this CD is like this, what I'd normally do is I'd probably do in this type of an act is with my CDs, some were silver and some were colored. And just as easy as this, you can throw a CD in the air, do this, do this, do this, and literally it changes color. Not that magical, because you already knew. But when you're doing an act, by that amazing reaction, but when you're doing an act, and it's a 12-minute act like my CD act was, normally I'd produce all these in silver. You know what I mean? I'd drop 3 in the bin or something like that. And then in my box or whatever the case is, and I'd take 2 more and throw it away, and then I'd do this with it, and then I'd literally do that, and you get an applause. Because it is instant. They're not thinking it's on the other side. And then this, now sometimes it would go the other way, which rarely it would, because it's a lot harder to do this, you know, and produce a smaller item, you know what I mean? I wouldn't recommend it. It's not as comfortable, and it looks weird. But I'd switch it out for another colored CD of that, and then I'd produce maybe 20 of these, and they'd be colored on both sides. So I'd be flipping them off my hands, so they'd rotate like that. But that one, the one that I decided to bring to the lecture, was one that I'd probably just throw in the air and switch out quickly. And the thing is, when you do an act that technical, like I did for 15 years, you can throw in a couple of easy things. Because you've already got people going, oh my God, he produced a disco ball, he produced 50 CDs, and then you do one little move like that, they're already on that amazing feel. And they're like, oh, that's amazing. It's like a perfect example is when you do a coin trick, and most of you may know this and may not, but you have a pocket full of change, and you know this, Dan. You do a couple of coin tricks, and they're like, oh, it's amazing, and it appears in the back of your hand, and here, and behind your ear, and it falls off your head and lands in your hand. You go, here, I got another one for you. And you reach in your pocket with a bunch of coins, you take out one coin, put the rest back, and you go, check this out just for you. And they're like, oh my God, that's phenomenal. And you didn't even pick up the coin in the first place because you got them on this great track going, oh, everything he does is phenomenal, phenomenal. Now you can sneak in a really, really dumbed down trick and you pretend to pick out a coin. You're like, yeah, you want to see something else? Yeah, here we go. You know, and they're like, And because they're already seen all this other stuff that you really have done well, you can get away with something as simple as, showing this and then doing one of those and like, holy cow, he's genius. No. I was just too lazy to put both sides of the CD. So that's really what it was. Or I grabbed the different, But that's the really truth. So you can do that. You can sneak in the odd one that makes people go, oh my God, he's brilliant. And you're like, that was the easiest trick I got in my... And how many times have you done that? You do a show for 45 minutes, right? Stuff you've slaved over with. 2 years you worked on a trick going, finally I figured it out, and you do all this stuff. And then, people are walking out the door going, oh, yeah, that where you have the card stuck to your forehead. They love that trick. I'm like, my God, I worked 20 years of my life on that. Nobody mentioned it. And they're talking about some stupid thing I got a card stuck to my forehead about. I'm like, really? So that happens a lot. So. Mm-hmm. Yeah. All right. Any other questions on any of the tricks? Yes? What type of clips work well for CDs? Yeah, the best clips for CDs are, in my opinion, are paper clips. You can go to Office Max and you can design all sorts of clips. I mean, they have the cross clips, which are like triangles that come across. They have the big jumbo ones. You can use any of those. They work pretty well. That's what I use. And a lot of people use them not just for CDs. They use them for playing cards. You know what I mean? With different angles and heights and that. So I can sit on this, right? It's not gonna go? Okay. Yeah. And he's on his ass. So I brought notes with me as well because I want to talk to you and talk to everybody about making your act commercial yet competitive. To me, this is where I'm really passionate about because all of us can learn tricks. We probably have enough tricks to last a lifetime. I don't know if most people need any more tricks, but we love them. We go to magic conventions, we go online, we buy tricks. We love that. I love it, And we get the tricks, we learn how they're done, and then we put them away. We don't go the extra mile to make them you. We get the trick, or sometimes we even copy the pattern from the magician we're buying it from. And that sometimes, unfortunately, makes the difference between you becoming a star or someone really well known in the business, in your town, community, the world, when you just got to shift it a little. I mean, everything I showed you in my 4 tricks I just showed you is stuff that really isn't far off other tricks. First trick with the Tic Tac lighter. Most people could actually take a pack of Tic Tacs and switch them to a lighter, but that device is just easier than doing that. And whenever I did close-up magic, I was a pretty shy person and a teenager growing up. So when I walked to a table, I dreaded every table that I walked up to going, hey, do you want to see a magic trick? Or here's a sponge ball behind your ear. And because I'm thinking, man, if they don't want it, it's the worst feeling. And I did it for 5, 6, 7 years. So I thought if I walk up and go, hey, do you want a mint? Because I realized everyone asks, if you're out, hey, you want a mint? If somebody has a pack of gum, you go, hey, you want a piece? Everyone does it. And I thought, well, that's common. So that's when I came up with the Tic Tac idea with the lighter. And now when you walk up to the table, hey, guys, how you doing? You guys want a mint? Go, no, we're good. We're just about ready to eat. It's like, oh, okay. Well, do you mind if I... And then you can get into it. Do you mind if I show you something? Or, and then you can get into it. It's just a nice way to shake their hand verbally to walk into a bit. And it's no different than having a piece of flash paper and lighting it and producing a coin. But instead of just producing a coin, go, hey, it's magic time, it's a nice, slow way to get people into you and liking you, and it's different. They'll remember it. Same with the card and ball. It's just a card trick. It's a simple card trick. But when they see that in their hand, they go, it goes so farther past just a normal card trick, they can't even comprehend. Did he have all those balls on him? And how did he know my one card? Did he carry that one ball around all night to hopefully one guy was going to say the 8 of diamonds or 9 diamonds? So, but it takes it just out far enough that they'll go home and talk about you. Same with the CD matrix. It's the coin matrix. We've been doing coin matrices for years. But once again, and I've done CDs all my life, but now you do it to DVDs because CDs are on their way out. Everyone's downloading music and that. But DVDs are still around, so make it a DVD, It's a coin trick. That's what it is. But now you just stretch it just a little bit and it looks completely different. And now when you leave again, people are talking about you. The number one thing I try to share with any entertainer or magician is leave them talking about you. Because here's the deal. What you want is when somebody calls you, you want them to go, I want to hire Murray, not a magician. They go, I want to hire a magician. Well, they open up the book and now you're in the yellow pages or you're online and now there's tons of magicians. You type magician in, now you got competition. But you want to become the Ronald McDonald of magic. If you want Ronald McDonald, guess what? You're going to McDonald's. You're not going to Arby's. You're not going to A&W. You're not going to Burger King. You're going to McDonald's because you want the guy with the red hair and that yellow suit, and it's never changed since it was invented. Never. Same with Mickey Mouse in Disneyland. So that's what you want to become. You want to start branding yourself so people can only hire you. They want to see a bit. They want to see that personality. It's like me when I walk in a room. When I perform live, I always wear the ridiculous blue suit and the hair's combed up and the glasses. Now, yeah, I do need glasses to see. I do need them for distance, but I decided to make them a part of my character because I need them. You know, back in the day when I did do the CD act, I never did the act with glasses on. It didn't suit the act. It didn't look right with what I was wearing. But now I've went into comedy so much more and stand-up magic, the glasses work and it becomes a branding thing. So when you're creating an act, I always say, what are you selling? Like when we first started out, email's been around for 20 years now. When it first came out, you could easily write a letter. Go buy pens, go buy note paper pad, an envelope, write a letter. Worked out great. And all of a sudden, this thing called email came around, and now you can literally sit at home any time of the day, write a letter, almost pick what kind of paper you're going to have, put your logo on it, hit enter in the middle of the night while you're sitting in your robe at home, looking like crap, and you can send it professionally to someone else. The same thing you do with a handwritten letter. What a cool concept. And all of a sudden, people started switching over to email, and that's what we live on. I mean, for someone to get less than 10 emails a day is rare. Nowadays, that's how we communicate. So what I'm saying to you as an act is create something that people will want and will go to. You know, it's great to do the vanishing candle. It's great to do the sponge balls. Make the sponge balls interesting or unique. Make them little sponge Christmas trees for Christmas. Make them Easter eggs for Easter if you're doing an Easter show. It's still a sponge ball trick, but the minute you change it by that little bit, it's a new trick. You know, and it isn't. We know it isn't. But when you're putting it out there to the world, it is different. You know what I mean? So it's like I did something for the Hallmark Channel a year ago, and I produced a grizzly bear. And you can find it online. It was a 950-pound grizzly bear. Never did it in my life. I think it was one of the first times a grizzly bear ever been used on television, except in circuses they used them, but not for a magic trick. And I sold the idea to Hallmark about this idea. The producer said, hey, we want something new. We've seen you vanish train on America's Got Talent. We've seen you do tiger tricks. We've seen you do all this stuff. We want something just for our show. Now, I realize I'm sitting there talking to the producer. He's the guy that makes all the decisions. And I realized this is my time to pitch him an idea, because you never get to meet that guy, because he's the guy that signs the checks. And I said, well, I got a great idea. And my buddy has a grizzly bear, and he really does. I know it sounds random that your friend has a grizzly bear. But he really does, yeah, because he is one of the top Hollywood animal trainers. So he has like 7 tigers, he has 2 raccoons, he has 3 grizzly bears. So he does. That's his job. That's what he does. So if you've seen the movie Gladiator, that tiger that was in the Gladiator was the tiger I used on America's Got Talent. It was trained, and it was trained from a cub. And they're not, and they have a better life than most of us. They come in an air-conditioned NASCAR trailer with hay and steaks, and they leave right away, and they have this 35-acre ranch. So they've been bred in captivity. So it's like we just caught one and let's use it, So, because I know I love animals, and I'm all about treating them right. So I want to say that for those of you out there wondering. So, but with the grizzly bear, I said, yeah, I got a great idea, grizzly bear. It's a home and family show. It's a home show. So I said, great, we're going to have an outhouse with a half moon in it. I'm going to open it up, and you'll see the toilet seat there and the little painting on the wall with a half moon like we've all seen in the movies. And we're going to close it, and I'm going to go, before we had indoor plumbing, this is how most people would, use the facilities. And they'd get up sometimes in the middle of the night, and you get out there, and you never know who you'd meet. And the minute I'd say who you'd meet, all 4 sides would fall down. Boom, grizzly bear. He's like, oh my God, I love it. Let's do it. And he walked off. I said, oh, shit. So,
yeah, right.
And I really did say that.
Now you're like, okay.
Yeah. Well, I thought, oh, my God, are you kidding me? I just pitched a great idea, because I thought it was amazing. I had no clue how to do it. This goes for the train trick and the tiger trick on America's Got Talent. Everyone's seen that. Same idea. I pitched them before I knew how to do it. But I was so driven, and I still am to this day, driven by the idea to be different. I'll figure out the method later. That'll come. But I wanted to be different, and that's what's going to keep you working as a professional. And I don't care if you're just want to stay in your small town and be known, or you want to go further. But anything you do, I really think you should just skew it to the left or right a little, because that way you'll actually be different. So he went off and said, great, throw us a proposal, how much is it going to cost?
I hate to interrupt you right now. Don't lose your train of thought, but I think we need to switch your mic out. And while we're having this technical difficulty, you remember exactly where you were. I want to figure out, Jim is out there tweeting in, and he's actually asking me a question. Is it okay if I just take a question from me while we do the technical issue? So Jim, you asked me if I remember doing something with a goldfish cookie during a master class, and I don't. So just seriously, I have no idea what you're talking about. Maybe you could write in and clarify it or something like that. And I'm sorry. Let's get back to the.
But if you do think of it,
you think that's
jump back.
weird. Now we're just going to go back to the grizzly bear in the outhouse.
Perfect.
As if that's perfectly normal.
Speaking of animals, exactly, right? So I said yes. I phoned my buddy Randy Miller, who owns Predators in Action, and I said, hey, do you want to use a grizzly bear? I'd love to. Great. Let's do it. Excellent. So I said, do you think we can train the bear? I was like, I don't know. He's like, I'm not sure if we can. I said, okay, well, will he hang out in one compartment and then hopefully move to the other? Can you get him to move a little bit? And yeah, great. When does he want it? And I said, they want it done in 9 weeks. He says, all right, 9 weeks. And this was in December, and they wanted it at the beginning of February to go on TV last year. So I said, great, here we go. So then we realized an outhouse is too small for a bear. To make one appear, okay, magically it's a cool idea. But in reality, the bear is 5 times. You don't realize a grizzly bear until you actually are beside one, which doesn't happen often, thank God. But they're massive. And you realize I'd have to build the outhouse the size of like an outhouse for 6 people. So now the prop doesn't even look real. So now it looks staged and doesn't work. So somebody else threw me an idea and said, why don't you do a tool shed? And I said, great, tool shed works. That's great, because you have that out in the backyard. So we switched it for a tool shed. Built the thing, brought it up to Big Bear, California, which is about 4 hours from Vegas, up in the mountains where the bears are. We keep training with this bear. I signed my life away, literally, with a death waiver, saying that if it attacks me, he's not liable. Because these bears, if they want to get you or go after you, they will. There's you don't even have a thought. When they get moving, that's it. And there was no cage. Not in a cage. The bear was going to be produced out of the shed, and then it was me and the bear. Just hanging out. Like this, like Dan, that's how far it was. For at least 7 to 8 seconds.
Bear, you said, did you say 950 pound bear?
950
Yeah,
pounds.
that's
Yes.
Twice as heavy as the tiger.
Yes. Oh yeah.
Right?
Oh yeah. And faster almost.
And it's got to be like 6 times your weight.
Oh, definitely. Oh yeah, definitely.
Right?
And no cage. See, the tiger had a cage, so we were safe.
Yeah.
But with a bear and no cage, all we had was a hot wire, they call it, and it goes around the set. Hot wire is like an electric fence that you'd have on a farm, and the bear knows if it gets close, it'll get zapped. It won't kill, it's just a little zap like we'd get on a farm if you touched a wire fence for horses or cows or cows. But it knows, it's trained. This little thin wire, I'm thinking, really? If it only knew that it could jump over. So, but long as I was on that side, then I'm free. But for those 6 to 8 seconds when I open the door and I'm hanging out with a bear, if he decides to go for it, he's right there. He's no farther than Danny away from me. So we did the whole thing, staged it, and then it went off great. We had security. It was at Universal Studios in L.A., and they had to have security because if that thing got loose on that set, who knows where it would go? It was, Universal Studios there is built in the forest, and it's So I thought, oh my goodness. So he comes in a day early. We got the bear. Everyone's like, "Are you ready for this?" Like, yeah, no problem. And I am nervous. I am scared because if it's bear's having a bad day, it wins. It wins. So. They spent all this money for it, and I've said it's going to be an amazing trick. And the executive producer is Woody Frazier. Woody Frazier invented and created a show back in the 80s called That's Incredible. Some of you may remember it, some of you won't. And now Home and Family on Hallmark is his show. And then he also does the Huckabee Report on Fox News. So he produces a lot of shows. He's been around forever. So I thought, man, I don't want to pee him off because he's worked with everybody. He's worked with Harry Blackstone Jr., he's worked with Doug Henning. Some real great people. So we get there, we load it out, we clear the set, we put hot wires up and everything, and we did the thing, and it worked great. My point is, though, if you look at the trick online, it's a great trick, and it's lovely. The way it worked is I opened a shed, I had a lawnmower, a weed whacker, all my tools up. I pulled the lawnmower out, I pulled the weed whackers out, I gave them to the hosts. They walked away with them, and I closed the door. It was a barn door, so it kind of slid like this. I had a magic wand, I tapped it, and then I opened the door, and boom, the bear was there. And basically I said, oh, I forgot to take one more thing out. And then I opened it, and boom, the bear was there. You look at the production, and it was okay. It's not that phenomenal. But the myth and the story of having a bear and you doing magic with a bear, which never been done before, live on a morning show, which was to this day is the largest trick ever done on a morning show, which I'm not worried about those accolades. It's kind of nice. It's cool to have. But my fact is me doing something with a bear. That's the headlines. And that's how you get rebooked. And that trick, yeah, is there better tricks producing a dove? Yes. Is there better tricks producing a chicken? Yes. But the point is, It had never been done before, and I decided to go off skew a little, and now it's now it's locked in the TV world forever, and it makes something different. So that's what I mean. Go really think outside the box. If somebody has a camel that and they really happen to have a camel, why not use a camel instead of a horse? Because a horse is a little more common, or a cow. Use a camel. That's funny. You know what I mean? So that's what I mean, just by going off script a little. I've always used this, and so that's kind of it's one of those things where I always tell people, really figure out what you're selling, because when you're trying to sell something, you have to go, I want to get booked, right? And we all think we're amazing. We've won an award here or there, or you've gone to a magic competition at a local thing, and we all get our accolades, and we love that. I mean, I was very fortunate. I did a lot of competitions. But then you got to sit back and go, I'm a booker. I own a venue, I own a theater, and I want to book an act. Who are you going to book? You want to book someone that's original, that's different, that's never been seen before. And the biggest mistake magicians don't do is they don't think like a producer, and they don't think like a director. They think like a magician. The biggest mistake on America's Got Talent every magician makes is, what people don't realize is, I did 4 tricks on America's Got Talent. I did the bow staff, where you put a girl in a box, vanish her, and she comes back. I produced a Ferrari. I turned a girl into a tiger, and then I vanished a big 1920s steam train, 1930s steam train on stage. Those 4 tricks I had never done in my life before until we went to air. That was the first time I ever did those. I lasted the finals, top 12. And the only reason I lasted on that show to be the top 12 is because I didn't think like a magician. I thought like a producer. And when you think like a producer, you sit there and go, if I wanted to hire a magician, now try to clear your minds and think this. I want to be a magician, and I wanted to hire a magician for my show that I need to sell tickets to and sell food and drinks to. What do I want? I want a magician that produces an elephant. I want a magician that produces a car. I want a magician that cuts himself in half and one half walks that way. That's what you want, right? That's good TV. But we all go, all right, I got a TV show to do. What do I have in my closet? Oh, we got sponge ball, square circle, pom-pom stick. Pom-pom stick might be good. That's not going to keep you on TV. Funny, anyone not watching this as a magician goes, what did he just say? So it's so funny, though, but it's true, right? But what would be cool is to have 4 humans on a big bar that looks like a pom-pom stick, and you lift this one human up, and this human goes up, and this human goes up on strings, and they're holding onto ropes, and maybe it's Cirque du Soleil people holding ropes on a big bar, and you do the same trick, but you make it, now, same trick, but you've changed it to using humans and acrobats on the same big bar and the same idea. And that's all you got to do is think just outside the box a bit. Now you've got this really cool trick. People go, oh my God, you're so original. No, I'm not. I just took an old premise and I changed it by a little bit. And I don't mean by getting a zigzag box and going, you know what, I'm going to paint it pink and green. That's different. That's not different. That's the same trick. What I mean is taking that same premise, or where you hide somebody in a base, and using that and stretching it out a little bit better. So that's what I really mean. And that's why magicians don't really think outside the box much. They're happy with what they get to, What I mean by being different is it turns into the 3 R's, like I mentioned before. It turns into being remembered. That's the number one thing. When you walk out of a room, at the beginning, most people, when I started out looking this ridiculous, I would do a trick and walk out, and when people would talk to another magician, we all do it. You're working in a restaurant, you go, hey, I know this guy in somewhere, he has crazy blonde hair, with a blue suit, does CDs. Oh, that must be Murray. I got Alaska band stuff. Oh, that must be Dan. Whatever it is. We all have that brand thing. And before they know your name as a star or whatever, or a local star or a big star, most people go, oh, it's that guy with the crazy blonde hair and that he does something with. That's what they remember you by. Or the guy that did the thing with the bear, or the guy that did that thing with the bar and 4 humans that went up and down. Those are things that people talk about because they're out of the box. But it doesn't take that much to be that far out of the box. Now, you can also go too far, and now you're unmarketable. And that's what I mean by with this. When you do this, you want to be commercial, but you want to be competitive. With my CD act, what I mean by that is originally I was just competitive. I would produce 150 CDs. I would do back palms, front palms, show there's nothing in my hand. Oh, there's something in my hand. I did that for 9.5 minutes. Produce CDs, vanish CDs, and I wasn't winning competitions, especially People's Choice in competitions. I wouldn't win because magicians knew how technical it was. But even magicians didn't even know because nobody had done a CD act before. With cards or a cane or birds, you can judge because you know how that works. And you kind of go, oh, that was really good. But with CDs, nobody had ever done CDs, so nobody knew how to judge it. They didn't even know if they were paper CDs, they real ones. And at the time, and still to this day, every CD I used in my act was a real CD. The only ones that weren't were ones that shot out of my box, and they were paper CDs, so they would fly out bigger. It was just a flourish at the end of one of my bits. And they were paper, so they'd stay in the air longer, because if it's hard plastic, they don't go anywhere. They don't even get in the air. So, so it's very important. It's one of those things where you want to be remembered. So I came up with the look and the hair and that, because when I left the room, I knew people wouldn't remember my name, but I knew they'd remember what I was doing or what I looked like. So at least when they're trying to book me again, they go, no, it's this guy. So when they're going, and this is before internet, but when they're going through brochures or saw me somewhere else, they'd go, my God, that's the guy we saw a week ago at the restaurant. So that's really important, because if you're remembered, guess what? You'll be rebooked. So that means the client likes you. Their clients like you. A restaurant hires you. People start talking about you. You're going to come back. That's the key. The owner of the restaurant might not be able to stand or hate your guts, but if the restaurant people that are buying food and they're loving you, they'll want you back because their customers are happy. That's the bottom line. They don't need to love you to bring you back, but if the customers like you, they're going to come. They're going to want you back, and then of course that equals revenue. So it's being remembered, being rebooked, and then it equals revenue. I've used the 3 R's all my life, and it's not always the best or most technical trick. That's fun to do when we're sitting around as magicians and we can just have a good time and say, have you seen this move? Because we all love doing that. But at the end of the day, when you got to pay your mortgage, live by the 3 R's, because that will always keep money on your plate all the time. And what I mean by that is when you're trying to look for original ideas, I go to Toys R Us. I go to Home Depot. Those are my two favorite places. I love Home Depot. You walk up and down the aisles. Look at random stuff. Look at random tools. Go to Toys R Us. Every 6 months, you get new toys in, and walk around. An idea I've had for years, and no one's done the act yet, and it's out there for anybody who wants to do it, is your table is a set of black stairs with silver edges. That's your table. Stands about this high, and that's your table. And you walk out like my CD act or like a Norm Nielsen act with coins and flutes and violins. Same idea. But all of a sudden you start producing slinkies. And if you have a slinky and you put a weight on one end and you produce it, it'll hang. And when you produce this slinky that's this big in your hand, once you release it, that weight hangs down. Now the slinky's this big. And you start producing those that quickly, believe it or not, it looks phenomenal. And then what you do is you set them on the stairs. And guess what? They start going down the stairs. So you're producing slinkies, and now you've got this really cool waterfall of slinkies going down the stairs. And then you can even do a costume change with a big slinky. And you can do all this. Nobody's ever taken that idea. It's out there. And maybe it's too much work, but anything that's too much work, not many people are going to do. When I first started the CD Act, everyone came up to me and said, you're producing mirrors. It'll never work. And that was the quote that got me to do the act. When you said it would never work, now I'm going to make it work. And then after a while, I realized when you produce something silver on stage or a mirror like a CD, when the spotlight hits it, it reflects back exactly what it's seeing. The problem is when it hits light, light will only reflect back the part that it's reflecting, not the whole CD. So here I'm producing these massive silver CDs, but I realized when it's opaque or a color, it'll be seen better. And I'm going to get one just to show you, because I'm talking about it. And I know we don't have a spotlight here for this, but the point is, there's what I produce. Now, if I angle that in the wrong angle, it looks really thin. It just doesn't, if I catch that light right, it just doesn't look right. But the instantly you do this, boom, it's solid. Doesn't matter what angle or where you're sitting in that theater, you're seeing the whole thing. So here I'm doing all this work to hide the darn thing that's massive behind my hand, and then I produce this. As the spotlight hits it, it looks like I'm holding a coin.
Yeah, like right there, it looks, because it's blue on blue.
That's right, you can't see it. Exactly, but as soon as you do it that way, boom. Yep. So in my act, by the very end of the last 5 to 6 years I was doing my act, I'd produce 6 of these silver CDs, because I needed the audience to go, oh, that's a CD. I needed them to relate. And then I would change one CD, obviously like this, into a color like that. And then I would do the whole act in colored CDs, blues, greens, pinks, and all that. And the only reason I did that is not, it was a cool color, but it was so the audience can actually see them. You know what I mean? So it's very important. So what I mean by making your tricks different is I've explained a little bit of that with the tricks I do here on this table that I shared with you. But what I mean by a standard trick and making it different, it's this simple. You're doing a kid's show, and you bring out Donald Duck. It's a summer show, kid's birthday party. Donald Duck has a T-shirt on, a little Hawaiian silk T-shirt. And you have the Donald Duck, you show the kids Donald Duck, Donald Duck's going to do a trick. Could be a bear, could be anything, I'm just using Donald Duck. You take the little shirt off Donald Duck. He's going to go swimming. You take the little shirt, you have the Donald Duck here. You stick the shirt in your hand, just like so. You go like this, and now you've vanished Donald Duck's shirt. Everyone claps. You snap your fingers back here, cover him, pull a cloth off. He's got his shirt back on. Brand new trick. No, it isn't. It's the vanishing silk in a thumb tip. It's the red little silk in a thumb tip. And we all do this. We've all done it. Either put it in your hand, and then you reach in your own mouth and pull it out, or you reach behind the kid's ear, or you stick it inside an apple or an orange or whatever and pull it out of that way. But now, this takes it out of that whole completely realm of a shirt. It's not even a handkerchief. And it is a handkerchief. It's just a silk little shirt. You can go to a seamstress. You can even make it yourself if you have the time. Just get a little shirt and, and make it out of handkerchief. Make it out of silk, because the only way it's going to fit into a thumb tip is silk. And you don't even need to make the back on it. You know what I mean? You can make the front, because you just got to figure out what's going to fit in a thumb tip. And that's what I mean by changing the premise of something. It's a vanishing silk. And now how you make it appear back on the Donald Duck, that's up to you. I have no idea how. But I actually do, but I'm going to let you think about that, because it's not that hard, Have a second duck, switch it out.
Rabbits is how you do it.
Exactly, right?
Exactly.
You're right. You just do the trick.
do.
Exactly.
Turn it around.
Yep, and that's it. You're right.
Yep.
So it's very simple, you know what I mean? So Mahid, he's going to do it right now. Look at him go. He's that excited. He's that excited. So that's my idea with something that simple, So it's a vanishing handkerchief in silk, but you just, once again, skew your thinking just to the right a little and go, okay, I'm using cards. What can I use? I can use coasters. I can use CDs. I can use anything flat. What else is flat? Brochures. With handkerchiefs. What's handkerchief? Little shirts on a stuffed toy. Why not do it that way? Now it's a whole brand new trick. And now the kids are going away talking about, oh my God, I made Donald Duck's shirt disappear and come back. Instead of something going, oh, the old magician trick, we take a silk and make it disappear. And we've all done it. We all do it to this day. And it wouldn't take that much to change. So that's what I mean by make what you do different, because it's not that hard to be different. You know what I mean? So that's that. What's important is I always say, where's the magic with people? And what I mean by magic is you can make a routine. And I can speak on the professional level, meaning if you have a 9-minute act, this goes for the same as if you're doing kids' birthday parties or you're doing walk-around magic. Make your magic flow. You can make your individual tricks flow without putting them away, and then here's my next set of tricks. And what I mean by that is, say you do Professor's Nightmare, which is a standard trick we all know. Short rope, medium rope, long rope. You bring them all up, you pull them, and they're all the same size, and you put them all back together again, okay? And there's amazing rope tricks out there. And then we put them away, don't we? We put them away, and then we go on to the next thing. Well, it's as simple as this. In your right pocket, like the pink ball I showed you before, put a white ball in your right pocket. That's all you gotta do. Just put it in your right pocket, or put it on a clip under your jacket. You can buy clips for any type of balls or multiplying balls. So you do your rope trick. So you do your rope, da-da-da. Everyone's like, yes. Same thing as like the CD Matrix. Right when they're not expecting it, that's when you got so much time, and they're down. They're not thinking about the trick coming. But you take all those 3 pieces of rope, roll them into a little ball, like so. As you're rolling with the ball, you turn to your right, put the white ball in your right hand. You literally switch it over, and you bounce the ropes on the floor, and it comes back as a white ball. And literally you palmed off the ones in your left, and you put it in your right. Nobody's even thinking, because nobody would ever expect you're going another direction. You could be sloppy about it, because they're really not paying attention at that point, because they're like, oh my God, that was really good. And then boom, you did that. You're like, damn it, I missed it. And you palm off the ropes into a white. You bounce it, turn to your left, drop the ropes in your left pocket, or just chuck it behind your table. And now you're into your ball trick. And maybe you want to do multiplying balls for the kids, or it doesn't even have to be that. It could be roll the rope into a ball and then switch it for a deck of cards. It's just that's what I mean by, are you doing tricks or are you doing magic? Because if you're a magician, you should be able to just, everything you touch just changes and works. So that way it really keeps your table routine or your close-up routine or your kid's birthday party really flowing. Because with kids, man, they're as bad as adults in the sense of you don't have something right away, they're off thinking about something else. And when you're doing a kid's birthday party, because I know a lot of people do them, I did them for like 6-7 years. I do 5 to 8 a week. If you're not right there and you go behind your table and you're messing around with something else, they're already, got their finger in someone else's ear and they're doing a cartwheel and you're like, oh my God, and you gotta. So if you can have something, and the great thing is you produce a handkerchief and you put it on top of your table and go, okay, kids, what color is that? And then you're in your kit grabbing something. You go, great. Next, doesn't even have anything to do with the trick. Great, at least I kept their attention. Or you can use it. But the idea is to keep the flow with kids, at least. I've known. And some adults are like that too. In Vegas, you still got to keep it moving. You can't, do a trick that takes forever. Adults want as much attention, and interest as kids do, So that's something to really be concerned about, at least for me. Also, I always tell people when you're building an act, you're building a routine, the best thing you can ever do is build it as like a book. When you read a book, You never read a book and go, oh, I'm going to read chapter 1 and then 9, and then I'll read chapter 3, and then I'm going to finish up with chapter 17. That's going to be great. I'll really get a good hang of the book. No, you're going to know who's dead before they were even alive. And when they die, you're not going to be that emotional about it because you never knew them before they died. So what kind of mystery is that? So in an act, think of the way you build your act or your routine just like reading a book. Chapter 1, Chapter 2, Chapter 3, maybe the opening preface, and then the ending with a conclusion. That's how every act's built. And I don't mean, it doesn't have to be a musical act. It could be your table set when you're going around for 15 minutes table to table, or your kids' show set. Build it the same way. That way, your act will have this flow to it. And it'll, like perfect ideas. Say to the Professor's Nightmare, you do this, you roll the ropes into one hand, and you flip it over into a ball. So you do a couple of ball vanishes, swing the ball, and then for that, you steal a pack of cards in your right hand, and you can do the flip over move that I taught you into a pack of cards. And now you're into your card routine. Do your card routine, whatever you want to do. Now take one joker out, because that's the ones you don't use a lot, or maybe you do for your routine, but a card that you don't use a lot. Put the pack away in your pocket, leave the one card out. And now you take the card and you rip it in half, and you rip it in half against, you have a quarter of it, you bend the corners in, and you hold it like this, and you come across, and now you've changed that piece into a coin. And now you can do your coin trick. And you steal a coin when you put the deck cards back in your pocket. Everything's not that hard. And what I'm sharing with you guys, anyone can do. I mean, if I can do it, anyone can do it. It's one of those things where I'm not trying to show you something that you really have to practice a lot for. These are easy switch out. Reach in your jacket, drop the cards, find that darn coin in there, and pull it out. And then with that little piece of cardboard you fold it up, just switch it out with the coin move. You know what I mean? So that's a nice way to keep the attention always on you and going. That way, if you're doing table magic and you want to only do a 12-minute set or 9 minutes, because you want to keep it pretty quick at these tables so you get a tip and you can move on, it keeps their interest. Here's a card. Hang on to the card for a second. All right, rip it in half for me. Okay, rip it again. Let me see that one piece of it. You fold it and go, there's a coin. Did you know that? And like, oh my God, and the card trick's already gone. They didn't even know you put the cards away, and now you're onto the coin trick. So that's how I really like the script routines. And like I said, it could be a kid show routine. With the Donald Luck idea, it could be a really full-blown act that you take around the world as a cabaret act like I did with CDs, or it could be a kid's birthday party. I think you can think the same way, So, also with anything you do as an act, I always say, if you're using music, I know some people use music, some people don't. They use music in a close-up setting or they use it on stage. The biggest mistake I see people using all the time in music is they hear a song they love, their favorite song, and that's the song they use. And if you notice, most modern music now has no crescendo. And a crescendo is what tells your audience to clap. If you do all this work, I see it even in Vegas shows right now. I can't even explain to you how often I see this in Vegas shows. Huge trick, massive trick. You produce 7 girls, or you cut somebody in half, and I see somebody stand there, 3 people clap. Because the music's still going, it didn't crescendo, or they didn't end on the right note. And audiences are like children. You need to tell them when to stand up, when to clap, when to do everything. And I don't mean verbally. One of my biggest pet peeves is when a performer tells the audience to clap. Come on, guys, that was really good. I really don't like that. It's a huge pet peeve of mine. Because if it's good, they'll clap. If it's not, they're not going to clap, Unless they're really bad and you really got to get them going, yes. But generally, if it's part of your rapport, I just don't like doing it. It's not needed. If you're good, they'll clap. Elton John sings Rocket Man, he ends. Guess what? If not clapping, write a different song. So far, he's done pretty well. So that's my point. If you've done that good of a trick, they're going to clap. So, but they also got to know when to clap. I've seen so many acts, they run over the next beat. They do this great thing, and boom, and all the cards turn to red when they used to be black, and they go boom, and they already flipped the cards over again, and they've missed that moment. And you got to flip on, they go all of red, and you go like this, and then you stand, put your hands out, hold it for a second. They will clap, but just give it that extra second because they need that moment. You knew what was going to happen, they didn't. Same with music. Whatever music you use, it has to crescendo. I mean, lots of great music that does that is Yanni, John Tesh. I know you laugh because I said John Tesh, but his music is phenomenal for that. Cirque du Soleil music, you know what I mean? And I know there's much more modern ones as well, but look for a song because a song's built, so it goes up and down, and then when it really finishes, watch Pavarotti, watch any of these people. They hit that high note, and then boom, and you're like, holy crow, and you stand up, because they're telling you, this is it. I'm going to sing that last note, and that's it, boom. And that's why every song's designed like that. If you go to a club and you use house music, well, that's different. House music just bounces along, and I see so many acts use that because they like the song. Well, it's great to like a great country song or a great house song, but if it doesn't crescendo, it's not telling your audience it's time to clap. And it's so easy to fix that one little thing. And also, when you're using music in an act, this is just quick because I know a lot of you don't do music in your acts, but don't use words unless you're doing one trick or one illusion, and the music and the words go for the illusion. If it's a love ballad and you're doing a floating rose, or you're doing a bit where, like an artist's dream, where there's a painting and the girl appears and comes back, and if it's a love story in the song, that's great, because it's one trick and it's one song and they're singing about it. But if you're doing it in a act where you are doing multiplication of balls and CDs or cards or whatever, things are happening so quickly. If there's words in a song, all of a sudden you'll be doing this and your audience will be like off to the distance because like, oh my God, I broke up with my girlfriend with that song, or oh my God, I followed my wife with that song, or whatever. And people are off thinking about what happened, and it's nothing to do with you. And you're the star, it should be about you, right? So that's the idea. So if your song that you choose doesn't go with what you're doing, if you're doing a 70s trick with a twister with 70s outfit, then you can use a 70s song. It's one trick in 3 minutes. They can focus. But if you're doing a manipulation, a lot of things happening, try to cut the vocals out and just have it as music. You know what I mean? It really makes a big difference. So.
Just
Yep.
quick
Go on.
interjection.
Of course.
You did the CD act for 15 years or more, or something like that.
Yeah.
You said it was up to what was the running length on it?
It would start at 12 and a half minutes, and then I'd have a version that was 9 and a half. Yeah.
So you had to have a lot of music.
Of course. I had over 28 edits.
Yeah, that's what I was going to
Yes.
ask. How much stuff did you use,
Yes.
and how long did it take you to put it all together, and
Yeah.
did it evolve over those 15 years into what it was?
Yeah.
When you started out, what were
Well,
you using?
when I started out, I mean, one of the acts I did look at when I started was Juliana Chen with her card act, because we were friends back in Vancouver. She did this act with cards. She produced 300 cards out of nowhere. I thought it was phenomenal. And this is when I learned making an act commercial and competitive. I realized with an act similar to that, where you produce one of many, and it's 6 to 8 minutes. So a producer looks at that and goes, now we look at it and go, oh, there's this back palm, stole these cards here, did that. We think it's phenomenal. But to a producer who's looking for something that needs to be interesting for 6 minutes, if you said, hey, I got an act, what do they do for 6 minutes? They produce cards. Oh, what else do they do? They produce cards, and then after that, they produce more cards. And then at the end, they produce cards. So what do they do? They produce cards for 6.5 minutes? That's it? No bears, tigers, no rabbits, no. Because this is a producer thinking, not a magician. In our world, we'll sit there and we'll give an award for that. And I agree, because that's our world, and that's something pretty cool. But in a producer's world that are booking talent, you need to make it interesting. We want a lot. If we're paying good money for 6 minutes or 8, got to be interesting. It's got to be, So I started out with my act just producing CDs. So I thought, it's great. But I realized I wasn't getting booked. They were like, well, do you have anything else? Just the CDs is nice for a couple minutes, but do you have anything else? And then the big turning point for me was in my early 20s. Marvin Roy, Mr. Electric, a lot of you may know. If you don't Google the name, he's one of the greatest acts of the 1940s, 50s, 60s. He lit light bulbs for a living. His name was Mr. Electric, and Carol, his wife. And he was my mentor. And they taught me a lot of what I'm sharing with you. They taught me to be different, go the extra mile. And I remember they booked me at the Lawrence Welk Resort in San Diego. I was living in Canada, I was Canadian. So this is my first major American show. And for Lawrence Welk, I mean, I grew up on Lawrence Welk years ago, but he's no longer around. His wife was at the time. I thought, wow, Lawrence Welk Theater, this is pretty cool. It's America, and I'm in the States, I'm in California working. This is really cool. And I'm doing my CD act, and I get booked, and I go down there. I say, oh, Marv, Carol, you got to come down and see the act. I'm thrilled. I mean, people are starting, there's a bit of a buzz in the industry about me. People think I'm really great, and I'm thinking, oh, I must be really great, because it's a new idea, and I'm produced, and all I did was produce these CDs. That's all I did, CDs, and then more CDs. So they come to see it. They stay overnight, come and see me, and then we're sitting back at the bar. He's having his martini, and she's having a glass of red wine, and we're sitting there. Hey, Marv, Carol, lay it on me. What do you think? And I'm expecting, I've arrived. This is it. These are my mentors. I've been working on the act now for about 6 years. This is, it's amazing. And Marv goes, well, my boy, let me see. Says, it's a good idea. This is your act. It's a good idea. And I'm like, and I'm waiting for more. He's like, that's a great, you got a great idea. It has potential. I'm like, oh my God, 6 years and it has potential? And everyone thought this is phenomenal. Like, yeah, but it's good, but you need miracles. Like at the end, you vanish your whole table and your radio and all that, and that's really good. And I said, okay. He's like, well, that should be the beginning of your act. I said, well, what the hell am I going to end with? I said, that's the problem. Figure it out. Whatever you end your act with, make it the beginning. And then make a new ending. And then when you got that, put that ending to the beginning and make a new ending. And now if you did an act with 5 endings, now you got an act. Now you're creating miracles. And that's Marvin Roy. That's not me. That's what I learned. And then I looked at my act and went, oh my God, my act sucks. I have 1 miracle after 12 minutes. That's a really, it's a boring act, you know? So that's when I started adding the costume change. I added me producing a big disco ball. I produced a CD castle. I produced laser discs in the show. I vanished the whole table and everything. So now I did exactly what he said. And I rearranged the whole act. And that next year I went and competed with it, and I ended up winning 7 awards in 1 year, all top awards. And that was when I knew. But I had that moment to go, it's good, not a bad idea. I had potential to, now I got a brand. And now I got an act that's viable. And after that I toured the world for 10 years with it. And been all over the world, you know, and it was phenomenal. It was but I listened, and I listened to somebody that it worked for. And so that's the difference. You can be really, really competitive, which my act was. I had all the moves and all this. And here's a perfect example. I produced glasses in the show that were pink, round glasses like Elton John. Put them, because I didn't wear glasses with the act. I'd put the glasses on, one lens would pop out, and then I'd multiply the lens, 5 in this hand, drop one, another one would come out, and I'd produce 5 here. And that took me 6-8 months to learn, to get that into. And one thing to learn, it's another thing to do it every night accurately. And I did all this, da-da-da-da. No applause. 8 months of my life, no applause. But, so I did that, and then I produced a rubber ball, bounced it, and I threw the rubber ball out, and it turned into it was a pink rubber ball, that one, and it turned into a 36-inch beautiful pink silk. Huge ripple action. Because people commercially could see it was a rubber ball, and now it turned into a massive handkerchief. To them, that was magic. Me multiplying something like this, in our business we know it's really hard. To them, they didn't see the magic in that. In our business, they thought it was great. I won a lot of awards doing that, because judges go, wow, that took them a long time. That's what I mean by making your act commercial yet competitive. There's a very fine line. So I took it out. After that, after 3 years of doing that bit, I took the lenses out and I kept in something much more commercial, because it worked. And that's a big thing. That's really important with a lot of acts. So I changed my whole act to be much more commercial, producing the CD castle, which wasn't that technical. It was just a prop that when I pulled it, it worked. You know, and disco ball, well, it was just a big ball I had hidden, and I produced it. And then I do my technical stuff with CDs, so I had a bit of both. So it pleased magicians when I did competitions, and it also pleased buyers and bookers going, my God, he produced this massive disco ball. I'm thinking, oh my God, I just pulled it out of my ass. It's not that hard. You know what I mean? It's not that hard. And here's a darn CD thing I was working on since I was 16, you know? So that's the reality of it, you know? And it's very important to be honest with yourself, you know what I mean? Go for reactions. If they don't clap or they're not amazed, get rid of it. It's like a joke. Most magicians think they're funny. You're not. Be funny. Go do stand-up. Go do open mics. You know, I was going to the Comedy Store, Improv, Laugh Factory on Sunset Strip, just doing comedy, no magic. And I'm not that funny, but I learned how to be funny. No magic tricks either. If something went south, and I'm honest, I do 10 jokes. Ones I'd written myself, 9 of them bombed. I fell flat on my ass, but 1 would be funny. And that's the one I'd bring back to my show, put it in, and do it. And I'd go back with another 10 jokes, and I'd bomb 9, and I mean terribly bomb, like you'd hear crickets, but 1 would be great. And that's how you start building yourself. Take the risk. Go the extra mile. Because you're going to have to fail to be successful. Because when you fail, you've learned something. If you don't fail, then you knew it all along. Well, you're not learning. If everything works for you every time, that's not going to help you. You know what I mean? You already know it. You know? When you, people always ask about image, you know, and the blue suit and everything that I wear when I do magic and that, I built it because it allowed for me to be a bit of a personality in the sense of when I walk in the room, I'm Ronald McDonald. I mean, usually when I come into any place, I'm wearing jeans, a hat, nice jacket, something trendy. And then before any TV show or anything I do, I put the blue suit on, I puff the hair out, put the glasses on, and every time when I walk in the room, there's always a reaction. Oh my God, that's the guy we hired. That's the guy in the posters. And that's the same with Elton John, same with Howard Stern, same with Phyllis Diller, same with Liberace. You see what I'm thinking? All these people are famous. It worked for them. You know what I mean? And very well. And when you see Elton John, back in the day, Elton John really dressed up. He went ridiculous with costumes, but now he doesn't need to. He still dresses cool. He has, you know, and his glasses were his thing as well. But that's all about branding. And do I get tired of wearing the electric blue suit? Yes. You know, is it fashionable? No. Is it unfashionable? No. It's kind of a thing. And the only reason I chose the blue, because it worked with my hair and my size and everything. It just kind of worked. Originally, I had a red suit and a blue, and I tried them out in Japan for 6 months. And the blue suit started to catch on. I thought, I want to be different. And then I built the costume change into what I wanted to do. And so I would go from a black suit into the blue, and it was a really strong contrast. And it became branding. Worked with the blonde hair, and that's kind of how that all began. And finding your brand or finding your costume, and I see this so often. This is so, so important. I get really ticked off when this happens. Everyone can dress great. I don't care who you are. I love shopping at TJ Maxx or Ross. That is my I love those stores. Because you can buy a crap load for $100, and I love it. Now, this suit isn't from Ross. It's custom made and it's tailored. But I love going to those stores. I love going to thrift stores. I love going all those places. I'm not saying you have to go get a custom suit, because a suit like this is between $1,000 to $2,200 to get made, custom made. If you go to Hong Kong, you're lucky enough to go over there, you can get them made for like $200 a piece, same suits, because that's what they do over there, and they can bang them out in no time. But it's important when you walk on stage, you are judged. You are judged for your size, your hair color, if you're funny, if you walk funny, the way you walk, everything. You're judged on everything, because that's what we do, whether you like it or not. If you're thin, you come out looking thin. If you're fat, you're judged being fat. It's the way it works in this industry. That's what we do. When you walk on stage, it is so easy for us to look good on stage. It's not that hard. I mean, if you're a bigger person, wear something that accommodates your weight. If you're skinnier, make yourself look a bit bigger. All my suits are made a little bit bigger, so my shoulders stand out more. And the backs are always curved in, so I look a little bigger, because I'm really skinny and scrawny. But and my pants are always wide at the bottoms. Never skinny, because it's not going to make me look any good. But I do this purposely, because it's what I want, and it makes my hair look a little bigger and everything, so I look a little funnier when I walk on stage. So that's really important. And get your suits tailored. I mean, when you get your suits washed, my biggest pet peeve is when a guy wears black pants and a black jacket, and the blacks don't match. That drives me nuts. The reason why is because they obviously wear their pants more than their jacket, and they get the pants dry cleaned more than the jacket. Number one rule, if you get a suit dry cleaned, whether you've worn the jacket or the pants more, get them both dry cleaned together. That way they will fade and wear the same. It's super simple, but it's one of my biggest and I've seen major stars. Because when that white light hits, man, you can, in a dark room or a club, you can get away with it. But when you're on stage and those lights hit, there's no lying. Even a dark blue and a darker blue really look off. You know, and I was just thinking in Vegas recently, and somebody did that, a really big star. I'm not going to mention the name, but I was like, are you kidding me? Are you kidding? You know? But that's not hard to fix. You know what I mean? When you wear your pants, make sure the pants touch the tip of your shoes. Make sure the pants fit, that you're not wearing. Don't be cheap, or take the bottoms out of them. You know what I mean? If you can't afford to get someone to hem your pants, undo the seam at the bottom. Just take a little knife to cut the thread out. Re-iron your pants, and then duct tape the inside of them. Duct tape. Again, we're back to duct tape. If you can't afford it, you know what I mean? You can drop it off a seamstress, $15, $20, they'll do it at the dry cleaners. Don't be lazy, because when you walk on, before you even do a trick, they're judging you. And the only way to become a brand or a star is you. You're it. Nobody is you. I don't care who it is. No one's you, no one's you, no one's you. You're who you are. And that's the best thing you can ever have. I can't be you. There's no way I could be you. You know what I mean? There's no way I could be you or you. It's impossible. I'm not. So always ride on your strengths and your characteristics, because nobody can steal them. It's you. So when you walk, get a suit made right. If you want to look cornier, get a bigger suit made. Whatever it is. Phyllis Diller, people don't know this, or maybe they do. It was such a great brand that she had. She messed up the hair originally, and then she started wearing wigs because it was just easier. And what a lot of people don't know is she'd buy a beautiful gown. And she was a very attractive woman. She was stunning. And if you don't know who Phyllis Diller is, Google her, you'll see her. Female comedian, famous for 40, 50 years, crazy hair like mine, and wore little dresses that were just above the knee with short sleeves here and little boots that always went out like this. And a cigarette with a long extension that held a cigarette holder with a cigarette. What most people don't know is she'd ever smoked. That cigarette was actually a white pencil crayon in the end, with a little red dot at the end. And she never smoked. It was just a prop, because she wanted this old lady kind of hag look. You know, this wife it was her hook. Her hook was just this housewife that had this husband named Fang, and it was a fictitious husband. There was no Fang. But in her real life, she'd use that a lot. And with a cigarette, it's like she just bitched and complained. That's what she did. She was the first Roseanne Barr. I mean, her and Joan Rivers were the first ones that bitched about being wives, and that's a fact. And she was the first one to ever come out publicly in jokes about her own facelifts and plastic surgery. She was the first one that made it an okay thing. She was like, I'm old. Yeah, this is right here. This is my belly button. You know, she's the first one to do all those jokes because it was funny, and we laughed and went, great. She admitted it. Now, the more they admit it, the funnier and more real you are. You go, oh my God, I love her. She's real. You know. With her dresses, she'd buy gowns, and when she'd get the gown, she'd get them taken in and get the dress short, so it was just above her knee. And then she'd get the sleeves that were really nice. She'd get them cut off right here. And then her boots, she'd always get the boots made up a little bit halfway up her calf and blown out. So it'd make her look shorter and make her look like a little jester, like from a little castle. And it would make her funny. So when she walked out, she had this look. Now, if she wanted to wear a gorgeous gown and comb her hair, you can go back and find amazing pictures of her. She was absolutely stunning. So that's how she created that brand. And it worked to a charm. And we all bought into it for years. And she never changed. She never changed. I started the Magic Castle about 7 years ago. She passed away a couple of years ago. And she walked out there and she did an hour and a half stand-up. Standing up for 45 minutes. And there was a chair like these for her to sit in. And she didn't want to sit down. She's like, it makes me feel old. And at that time, she was like 90. And so they got a bar stool from the back of the bar downstairs in the Peller Theater, and she kind of leaned up against the bar stool because she wanted to still be in that presence. And she was old. I mean, she was cutting edge, very funny. But she still had the brand, the cigarette and the hair and the dress and the whole, because that's what people buy, and that's what we all bought. And you look at Howard Stern on the radio, you may like the guy or hate the guy, but he always has the long black hair, a little bit shorter, always black glasses, always wearing black and thin, and that was always his look. Some aren't as extreme as Phyllis Diller. You look at Liberace, we all came to see a show at Liberace's. He was a great piano player, but it was the glamour, it was the Rolls Royce covered in mirrors, it was the fur coats, it was the diamond rings, because he wasn't, and the funny thing is people don't realize, he really wasn't the best piano player at all. He was a good piano player, but he wasn't that great. It was you went to see him. And that's what I mean when you're a magician. You want people to go see you, not a magician. That's the key. If you got people going to see a magician, they're not coming to see you. You want them to go see, I got to go see this guy. He's the guy. And that's how you start. You start by branding, by making tricks that are just you, by making your look a little bit you. Most times I get photos with people. It's not because they love my magic tricks. It's because I look so ridiculous. Like, I got to get a picture of this guy because I've seen him on TV. Or I've seen him here because you look at Carrot Top. He's never changed his look for 50 years. He's a dear friend of mine. Any of those people. Dean Martin, he always came on stage with a cigarette and a brandy or a scotch in his glass. And usually it was apple juice, but sometimes he'd drink. But that was his safety net. If you notice something modern, Ron White, everyone thinks he's original. No, he's Dean Martin. Right? Identical. Me, I'm not different. I'm Andy Warhol. I mean, this isn't my look. I mean, I copied this look actually from Rod Stewart. I saw him do an MTV show in his early 40s. Oh, Christ, he's old at 40, because I was young. He's not, 40 isn't so old anymore. And he basically walked on looking trendy. But that hairstyle never goes out. It's not in, not out. It's him. And he toned it down over the years. In the 70s, it was massive and ridiculous. And I went, that's it, because there was no magician in the business that had this look. And the only blonde magician that was famous was Siegfried, you know what I mean? So I thought, you know what, that's a really cool look. So that's when I went with it. And I started messing it slowly, more and more. And then the suit came with it. And I saw the movie Mask. And I thought, oh, I love Jim Carrey's yellow suit. And I got one identically made for my CD act that had tails. I needed a top and I needed that look. And that's where that blue suit came from. Because I knew yellow wasn't going to work. And I tried red and blue. And red just was too much. And blue just worked with me with that blonde hair and everything. And the CDs and everything I did. And then the glasses were the last part to come in. I mean, CDs were a branding thing for me as well for years, but I really wanted to start to bring it into me so I could do anything. So now I could do Professor's Nightmare because it's not about the trick so much now with me, it's about the brand and what I'm trying to sell. So then the glasses came, and I needed glasses, so I wore normal glasses, and somebody had a black rim pair and said, you probably look good in these. So I'd always wear them off stage, because I realized when you wear glasses, you're much more approachable. Siegfried and Roy, a lot of people don't know this, but Roy never wore glasses on stage. Looked phenomenal, very physique, flying around on ropes and that, but off stage, when you met him off stage, he'd always put his glasses on to greet you, and his jackets, and very nice. And when he put the glasses on, for some reason, because on stage he looked untouchable, because he was just a superhero, and he's just on the lions, on the elephants. And then off stage, he'd be in his robe or his jacket and meet you. Siegfried would still be Siegfried, you know, same look as ever. But Roy would come down, he'd put the glasses on. The minute he put the glasses on, you wanted to meet him. He just had this friendly vibe about him, just down to earth. He was off stage, and he looked like the guy you could sit in the corner and have coffee with. And I didn't notice he did that. I don't know if he did that purposely or not, but every time you met him, he had his glasses on. So I was doing that after my shows, because with the CD act, I never wore glasses. But now it's become a brand because people said you should try it, and it caught on. And now, now my trademark's the hair and the glasses. So that's kind of how, but it evolves. But take risks. Anyone who wants to have a brand, take a risk. Color your hair purple and wear pink shoes and look like Willy Wonka if you think. You can go back to this. You can always go back to what you're wearing now. You know what I mean? You can just try it. The greatest thing about taking a risk is you can always go back to what you had. That's pretty easy. You can go back to, you know what I mean? But if you don't take a risk, then you'll never know. And the longer you wait to take a risk, the longer you're going to be trying to better yourself. Just go for it. You know what I mean? Jump in the cold water. If it's cold, guess what? When you get out, put a towel on. Don't do it again. But if you liked it, jump a higher diving board, jump another diving board, you know what I mean? And if you don't like it and you're scared of heights, now you know. You stay on the ground, you know what I mean? So with suits and that, get them tailored, make sure the pants, look in the mirror, be honest with yourself. And here's the greatest thing, try this. I know we don't have time necessarily to do this here now, because it is a process. If I were to take, I don't know any of you really, all right? Me and Dan know each other, and I know a few of the guys here, but what I mean is I really don't know you. This is perfect. If I were to have, and I did this in acting class, this is something you should take as well if me and Dan were talking off camera about this, take ballet lessons. I know it sounds hilarious, but take ballet lessons. You're probably never going to dance ballet, but it's going to teach you how to walk, it's going to teach you how to be graceful on stage, and it's going to teach you how to have posture. If you have posture, that is half the battle to getting a job. I don't care whether you're a lawyer, a doctor, a teacher. When you walk in a room, if you walk in with confidence, that is half of your interview, even before you show them your resume or you start talking. And if you want to read a fun book, read Fred Astaire's book. He was trained in ballet, and that's why if you ever see him in a movie walk in and off screen, he never danced really ballet. He danced a little bit with his sister back in the day, but he danced ballroom and everything. But if you watch him, he was so graceful. It's because he was trained in ballet. It shows you how to walk and present yourself. And I know you don't want to worry about being a poofter, or you don't want to be this or that, or whatever it is. You don't want to be light on your toes or Tinkerbell. That's fine. Nobody even needs to know you're taking ballet lessons. Just go take them, you know what I mean? And then go have a big beer later and make yourself feel manly. You know what I mean? But the point is, it teaches you how to walk and present yourself. And it's amazing. I've seen some of the smartest, most intelligent people walking with their shoulders hunched in and walk in. And they could be Einstein, and I have no interest because I'm like, wow, they don't even believe in themselves. But you could walk in like this. That's all it is. You know what I mean? So take acting lessons. Take an improv class. You know, everyone always thinks, if I learn how to do this move, I'm a good magician. That is 30%, if you're lucky, of who you are. I've always told people in my line of work, I am 90% PR and 10% talent. And there's probably most people who believe that. But it's true, you know what I mean? Because at the end of the day, we probably already know enough magic to set ourselves forever working. What we don't know enough is who we are on stage, what we are, and what we can pull off, and how we can make people believe that. That's the part none of us work on. And the people that do, and I go back to Liberace's and Phyllis Diller's, and Phyllis Diller, she could have stolen all of her material. It didn't matter. I was going to see The Cigarette and The Bitching Housewife. I love that. Same with Roseanne Barr. That was her hook, you know what I mean? It wasn't new, but it was new then because there was such a lapse between, and she was a massive female comedian that really changed it all for a lot of female women, and sitcoms, and them leading their own sitcoms, and she was phenomenal. But she had the do-rag around the head, and she bitched about her husband and doing dishes and all, and it was a great premise. But she had her own look, and she was overweight, and she was somewhat attractive in that way, not in a normal way. So that's what I say, and look in the mirror and beyond. Now, my point was, if I were to bring all of you up here, every single one of you, and I put you in front of this room, and this is an exercise I did in acting class, and I learned so much by this. First day of acting class in LA, you get in like this. And I know some of you know each other, but acting class, usually everyone's random. Everyone's from everywhere trying to be a star in Hollywood. So we're all sitting there, go, hey guys, this is literally, the teacher walks in and goes, all right, sit down, here's what we're doing. Every single one of you are going to stand in the front of the class, look at the rest of the class, and all of us are going to yell out what we think you are. Are you rich? Are you poor? Are you fat? Are you thin? If you had an occupation, what would you be? That's it. Everyone's going to be judged. Don't say a word to anybody and don't talk to anybody. Let's go. That was it. And everyone stood up here. And some people were like, oh, you're a teacher, you're a booker, you live in an RV park, you're poor. Some people were like, you're overweight, you probably eat a lot of hamburgers, you probably do this, you probably couch potato. Everyone was wrong. Everybody was wrong. But it was what we were standing there representing. It doesn't matter if you're rich and you own 1,000 acres and you're a farmer. If you dressed up there, you know what I mean, like a farmer, you probably are a farmer, you know what I mean? But if you dressed in a pinstripe suit and shaved and stood there, nobody would believe you're a farmer. And I know a lot of people. You know, a lot of people. It's funny because I'm here in Ohio, and of course I've traveled to Michigan, Indiana, all these places, and I'm back in LA, and we sit around. And people go, we're talking about money. You know, I said, do you realize how much money is in the Midwest? I said, do you know what it takes to own land and a farm? I said, most of the richest people are wearing trucker boots, suspenders, and don't shave. I said, that's a fact. But you never think that. If you live in New York and LA, you never think that. You think of Mercedes, you think of that, and none of them own the goddamn cars. You know what I mean? It's just all on loan. But people don't think that way. And some of the farmers are more intelligent than the people that are on Wall Street. But they don't care because we got our world. But in entertainment, people do care. You know, when I walk in wearing this suit and the hair, my opening line is, and I'm always like this, and I usually, it's a bit, the first bit is obviously my opening joke that I used here, or if it's an older crowd, I use it differently, but I go, hey, I know most of you are looking at me, and I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, well, Phyllis Diller and Dean Martin had a baby, this is it. And I have different people for that joke. It's a stock joke, but you just change the people. And I go, I know what the rest of you are thinking. I can answer the question, no, I'm not gay. The suit is, I'm not. Because I know you're thinking that when I walk in the room. Nobody thinks I could lift a hammer, and I love landscaping. I build a lot of things. I was in the rodeo for 20 years, but I don't want people to know that. Because I really am that. And I love vintage cars. I drive a 73 Stingray, and I got old-fashioned cars, and I work on them every weekend. I don't want that, because that's not funny. I can't sell it on stage. This I can sell. Look, I'm a walking Q-tip. But that's what I am. I know that. You know what I mean? So I want people leaving to go, is he gay? Is he straight? Is he metrosexual? And I leave that. You know what I mean? And people don't realize, well, I am married and I got a beautiful wife and she's in the show. And I don't introduce her that way because I want everyone to stand on their own. I don't need to, patronize that I'm married to somebody in the show and give them more applause. None of that. We're all on our own, So it's very important that you look in the mirror and you go, here's who I look like. And I can go around the room and I can look at all of you and judge you. We all could, you know what I mean? And we do that. So you got to be honest with that. So when you walk in front of the mirror and you look there and you go, what is somebody going to judge me? Now, I've seen, how many people have you seen that are overweight, the pants are short, right, and their hair's not combed right or cut right, and they're trying to be, David Copperfield, being slick, and they're doing this, and you're like, oh my God, you look like a Teletubby. You know what I mean? And they do. Okay, we all want to be cool and hip. We all do, all right? Everyone loves being that way or being trendy or whatever. Got it. But be honest with yourself. Walk out there and go, you know what, that's probably not just me, but I still can be cool, but in a different way. I don't need to be pointing my toe and waving my arms because that never looks good on certain people. Certain people it does, you know what I mean? So now if you can get past that, which most magicians can't, you're halfway there. That is such a huge, and embrace who you are. It's the first 30 seconds I walk in a room when I do my show, I make jokes of the suit I'm wearing, whether I'm straight or gay, and what I'm going to be doing. And all of a sudden, the white elephant's out of the room. And now you go, oh my God, the guy gets it. Okay, he gets it. He's not, oh my God, because he looks so goddamn cheesy. But once you take that out of the next hour is great. But if you don't, then people are always in their heads, if you make such a conscious decision. So that's important. Really look in the mirror and figure out who you are. You know what I mean? So that's kind of the way it works. Like if you walked up to me like we're in the Army outfit, I'd go, maybe you're a veteran, if you stood here, with wearing the Army gear and all that. I don't know, you know what I mean? And I'd go that route. If I had to put money down, I'd go that way. Because you're wearing Army fatigue, you obviously like it, it looks good on you. But maybe you're not. Maybe you're the furthest thing away from it. You know what I mean? I don't know, But I would think that. And if you didn't open your mouth yet, you could be from Netherlands. I don't know that. I might be from here. You know what I mean? So that's what and it's true. I look at you with the glasses, you look like a teacher. You know what I mean? You look like you're from Stanford. You know what I mean? Am I right? If you look at, he's, with the glasses, you dress well. But we all do that. And I'm just being loose on my judgments just because I want you to understand that we all do it. You know what I mean? So I think it's very important that you look in the mirror and look at yourself and go, if I want to play a trucker in my show or a guy, I'm going to wear the Mac shirt, the plaid shirt with the suspenders, jeans, wear the big trucking boots or whatever, Dayton's or whatever you want to wear, and a John Deere hat. Yeah, whatever. And that's great because when you walk on stage, well, look at, the cable guy, get her done. You realize that's not his accent. If you ever heard him talk real, that's all a gimmick. The whole thing's a complete gimmick. And he's made millions. And we love it because it gives him such an array of material to make fun of. And he won't go on TV without the whole bit. You know what I mean? That's because of kind of his thing. Same with Phyllis Diller. The hair's up, everything's on. So there you go. So that's a bit about branding. But really think about that and be honest with yourself in the mirror. And take risks. Go for it. You know what I mean? It really works. It really helps. You know what I mean? So that's about my ideas on famous icons and things like that. People always ask when you walk into a venue, how do I pack? And I always suggest pack small and play big. You work a lot more, and it's great doing big illusions and big stuff like that. But you can pack small and play big, boy. That's the best. And nowadays with video technology, you can do a close-up trick on a big screen. If you're booking yourself and it's 500 people, and they don't have a big enough budget for you to bring in a big trick or produce a president, just say, look, can you get a video camera and a big screen? I'll still do some really cool things because with a big screen, you can be large as life. You can do a vanishing coin trick. You can do a coin and bottle. You can do a coin matrix or card and forehead or whatever you want. Still get the gig. Still play big. And or even if they say, oh, we can't do that, it's like, well, what if I put it into my budget? So you spend the $500 extra. Say they only got $2,500 to do 500 people in a corporate thing, which is pretty low, for a corporate thing. But if that's all I got, take the gig. It's $2,000 in your pocket. Don't be stupid. You know what I mean? Take the money. Everyone's like, oh, I don't work for $15,000 or $10,000. Well, forget it. You're not going to work because it's not in real life scenarios. There are a few of those gigs, but There's a lot of gigs for $2,000 to $3,000. And that's a lot of money. So now are your time. How many people are making that kind of money? Not even doctors make $1,000 an hour. So my point is, so you say, look, what's your budget? $2,500. You can't afford a camera and a screen. I'll bring the camera and screen. I'll get the guys. So you take $500 because you don't have the money to buy the illusions or rent them. So you go, look, I'll do some of my intimate close-up. I'll bring the camera crew in. Don't worry about that. Just have a space for the screen. You know what? Well, we'll book you for that. That's cool. So now you spend $500 of your $2,500 that they've given you. Bring in the camera, bring the screen, and you can do some of your close-up stuff. So you can pack small and still play big. So there's always ways around it. But just go the extra mile. Don't be like, oh, I'm not going to spend that money for if they're not going to buy it, I'm not going to buy it. Well, then you're not going to get the gig. Somebody else will. Somebody else will figure it out. And I'm not saying you have to get the video equipment and that they should. All I'm saying is sometimes people don't think like that who organize things because they're not entertainers. They're board members. They're executives, you know. So think outside the box, you know. Also, rent an illusion. Don't buy illusions. There are so many magicians and props out there right now that are sitting in warehouses that if you were to call the people up and go, hey, I got $500. Can I borrow it with you for 2 days? $500 for 2 days and doing nothing? Yeah, take the trick. You know what I mean? And most people are buying all these tricks and storing them. It's great. My feeling on this is if you have 13 illusions and you're storing them in a warehouse for a year, if those illusions aren't generating an income, get rid of the tricks, get rid of the housing. Because you're going to be blowing so much money. You could be buying these illusions every year, brand new. I got friends who have had illusions in their warehouse for 10 years. They've done 3 major illusion shows. They've had this warehouse for 10 years. 10 years. They could put a down payment for a house at this point. And there's so many people out of work now, magicians who aren't working or switch gears. You can phone them up and say, look, I got, you know, and you book the client. The client wants you for, say, $1,500, and they want you to do 2 tricks. You phone your friend up and go, hey, can I rent your sawing and hat box and your cube zag or whatever you have for $250 or $500? So yeah, great. So $500 goes to your friend. You got 2 illusions, means you can do the gig that they want big tricks for. And you got $1,000 in your pocket, or you got to rent an assistant. Great, $200, $250 to the assistant. Now you're still making $750. But if you didn't have the big tricks, you couldn't do the gig. So it's $750 that you're making that you would have normally said no to. So really think outside the box. You know, like when America's Got Talent said, "Can you do big tricks?" I said, "Yeah, I do a tiger trick." "You can do that?" "Oh yeah." Hung up the phone. I went, "Oh my God, I've never done one." You know, but I figured out how. So you make it work for yourself. Really figure out the business because that's how you're going to work.
Just to interject,
yes,
because it came up and I was going to ask you when it did.
Sure.
Somebody did tweet in here and wanted to know.
Yes.
What was your, just in general, your
Yep.
out-of-pocket cost?
Yes.
For AGT, for America's Got Talent, over the
Yep.
whole run of everything you did, because that,
Yes.
that was huge stuff, you know.
Sure it was.
And the producers weren't putting up all the money for that.
Not at all.
Yeah.
Not
So
at all.
what was your out-of-pocket?
So my out-of-pocket, believe it or not, at the end of the America's Got Talent, I actually made $1,500. Believe it or not, I actually made $1,500. Here's how it worked. The first trick I did was a bow staff. I borrowed that off a friend. He said, you can use it for free. So I had him fly in with me. So he got a 3-day vacation with me. We shot it in Dallas, Texas. He flew in. We took care of his hotel. They took care of the hotel, took care of him in the sense of per diem, because he was my stage tech, which he did help me. He let me use the prop for free. I had to buy 2 blinds to make it the theme I wanted, do a costume for my assistant. And then they shipped it back and they shipped it there. That's one down. Second thing, I used a Ferrari. I went to a Ferrari dealership in Las Vegas. I said, it's going to be on a show that 22 million people are going to see. If you want, I'd like to use your car, and I'll pay for it if I have to. But if you want, once this airs, I'll be able to click in that I use it from your dealership. I'll put it on my website. You can put it on your website. It'll be the video. You can use that. This car was used on America's Got Talent. Between 8 and 22 million people are going to see it. My God, great, we'll do it. Where's the truck? AGT sent the truck. The car went there. I used it for free. They even cut the gas lines, because anytime you use a real vehicle inside, you got to cut the gas lines, so for fire or just for legal reasons, so you can't start up. We pushed it on stage. I rented the gates. Those big gates were Lance Burton's gates through Bill Smith. I rented them for like $600. He was nice enough to give me a good break because he knew I wasn't making money. So I did it. Boom, did the trick. Practiced out in the lane because I had nowhere to rehearse this thing. Never did a trick before. Did that. Put that back. Next thing was a tiger trick. So I pitched the idea. I said, I can do this trick you've never had. You've never had a tiger in your show. It's 5 years you've had the show. You never had anything this big in the history of the show. I can do it for you, but I can't afford it, so it's up to you guys. Well, when it gets to the Hollywood round, they're allowed to put some money into you because it's fair for everybody. They're putting money into all acts. Lighting, backup singers, costuming, everything. They said, all right, here's the budget. And they threw a budget of $3,000 or $4,000 to me. I phoned someone I could rent the illusion off of who had it in Vegas. I called my animal guy. I said, how much is it going to cost? I sent them the bill. I said, here's how much for the tiger. If you want to do it, this is the tiger. I can't afford it. So if you want a Tiger, that's the Tiger cost. I'll deal with the illusion. So I included in the Tiger rental the illusion rental all in one. They said, great, we'll do it. So that was paid for. And the shipping and transportation is always paid for you on AGT. Unless you're 200 miles away from it, they got a clause in there until it gets the bigger rounds. And the last thing was the train thing. And the train thing, they said, hey, can you, what else can you do? And my buddy, who's actually lefty in my show, he's the one that suggests you should manage a train because my family's in the railway for 150 years. And it's never been done on stage, an actual steam engine. And I said, sure, I can do this. And I pitched them the idea. And it was my dad's train and everything. They said, great, we love it. I said, yeah, but it's expensive to ship a train in here. So they gave me a budget. And they said, we can give you approximately $4,500 for a train and for the trick. So I found an old yard that had an old train that was gutted. We redesigned the train, because a train, if you know, a train's very heavy. So we had to take out all the insides of it and make it light, because a train alone is like 4 tons. It's ridiculous. So we got the train there, and so I had to put about I had to put about $2,000 of my own money into the train trick because of the materials, and I had to have somebody build, and they were only going to give me a certain budget for it. So I paid the extra. It was $2,000. It was nothing, and we did the actual trick. It worked great, and they paid the drivers and everybody to make it. And then when it got back there, it sat outside on industrial at the builder's shop for 3 weeks. The train, and it's a massive train, so it's huge, 28 feet long, 15 feet tall. You can see it. It's just a train right there by the road. Well, somebody drove by who was one of the coaches for a team in Las Vegas, football team called the Las Vegas Locomotives. Not even kidding. So this train, I'm like, I'm done with it. Do whatever you want to. Scrap metal it. I'm not going to, because once again, it goes back to, if I store this train, what, I'm going to keep it for 5 years until I do it again? Rent a warehouse? For what? I just rebuild it again. Because I'll charge the client and we'll do what we do. So sure enough, I get the phone call. They say, yeah, how much would you sell the train for? Meanwhile, I'm thinking, well, it only cost me $2,000 over. I got to make some money. I'll throw some money back to the guy who's storing it for a few weeks. So I told them $5,000 or $6,000 for the train. They thought it was amazing because the train was worth $10,000 or $15,000. They said, great, done. Cut me a check. I paid back the $2,000 that I cost me out of my bank account for getting the thing there, and I paid the guy who built it, and I ended up making $1,500 profit after all the other small expenses. They took the train, put it on the back of a flatbed trailer, painted the whole thing red. They put a smoke machine and a CO2 pump in the actual smokestack, so every time the team kicks a field goal and it goes over, the smoke blows. And that's it, and that's where it is right now. And nobody knows that until now. But it's stuck at the Las Vegas Locomotive. That's the train I use on AGT, and they haul it out every game. It's their mascot, yeah.
That's great.
So this is great, because I'm like, what are the chances? I'm like, what are I going to do with a train? I mean, so that's the story.
Yeah,
so, yeah.
Terrific.
Yeah, so I always say pack small, play big when you can, and practice. People always ask, how do you practice? Well, I'm a big fan of having it handy. If it's there, you're going to do it. Like if you have a deck of cards by the phone and somebody calls, you're going to start doing one-handed shuffles. You'll start fanning them. You'll start back palming them. You have them there. Get a big salad bowl if you're into card tricks, and empty like 6 packs of cards in that bowl. You know what I mean? And so when you're sitting there, just like you're watching a movie, eating popcorn, you grab some cards, back palm them, or hold 4 or 5 and split them so you can hold them between your fingers. Just start working. But if they're there, you're going to grab them because they're there. If they're in your magic box in the closet down in the second bedroom, well, that means you got to get up and you got to find them. You got to be inspired. By the time you open the closet and find them, you're not inspired anymore. The phone rings and you're texting somebody and it's over. But if they're there, it's handy. If you're doing some ball manipulation, leave the rubber balls handy around the house. So when you're sitting there, you can just kind of talk to somebody. Any of that stuff, leave it handy. If you're rehearsing your illusion and you're doing big stuff, take the cars out of your garage and leave the illusion set up in your garage so you can't park your cars in the garage or in your living room. So every time you see the thing, oh God, I got to practice that thing. I better do it now. And it's there. But if it's in cases and everything, oh, I should get around to that because we got that charity show coming up or we got that Boy Scout show coming up or whatever, then the chance you're doing it is going to be rare because you got to take it out of the case, you have something to build it. It's just not handy. So leave it handy. You'll practice a lot more and it'll benefit you. And also I always tell people with theater etiquette, I always say, when you come into the theater, because people who don't know, come into a theater and really be aware of your space. You know what I mean? Especially if you're doing a variety show with 7, 8, 10 other acts. Have your little area. I always whenever I competed or whenever I'm doing a variety show, I make sure I'm the first one there. I love getting there first, and I love getting my little spot. Not that I want the best spot. I just want my own little area. Hang up my jacket, and then make sure you keep your stuff in your area because everyone's, you're all there to create a great show. No one's better than anyone else, One greatest thing that Marvin Roy always taught me, he says, I don't care how good or how big you get, always open. I said, what do you mean? Because the closing act is the big star. She said, always open. The best thing about opening is, guess what? When you're there, it doesn't matter. You're getting paid the same. Whatever you agreed to make, you're making the same. It doesn't matter. You're the first one. So it doesn't matter. You're the best. You're the best in the show because you're the only one they've seen. You got no one to compete against. And by the time the show's over, you're packed up, it's in your car, and you're out in the theater watching the rest of the show or having a drink. It's done. That's the best position you can ever be in because everything works for you. You look the best because you're first out, and you're packed up, and you're sitting around, and most people, I got to close, well, I'm telling you right now, if you do close, and you're not the best act in the show, you'll know. And a lot of us aren't as good as we think we are. And second of all, if the show goes for 2 hours, because some event organizers don't know how to put on a show that should be an hour and a half, guess what? By 2.5 hours in, you're exhausted, Probably just like now you at home with my lecture, but I'm almost done. So, but my point is, somebody yaps for a long time, you start dozing off. If you see me do this, it's because I'm even tired of myself. But that's the truth, right? So that's kind of another thing. And so I always tell people these kind of things that if you are at the end, not a bad place if the show's timed right. But if it goes 2.5 hours, sometimes half the audience is gone already. They're just ready to get the hell out of there. So now you don't even get your maximum audience. So opening is a great thing. But always when you set up, you make sure, and if you're doing a card act or an act with confetti, and there's dancers in the show, be aware of that. Talk to the producer, talk to somebody so you can lay out a canvas that you can perform on. When you're done with your cards and that, if they need to do a quick changeover, they move your table and they literally fold up the canvas. It can be black, same color as the floor, or tan, or whatever it is. You can go to Home Depot and buy these canvases, $20, $30, paint them, spray paint them, and you roll up all the stuff and it's taken off. So now, even by showing respect to your other acts and to the stage manager and to the producer, you'll work more because they're like, oh my God, his ego's in check. He gets it. He's not just, or she is not just part of the whole show. Everyone's a team effort. And you get a lot more respect, and you go a long way with that. So that's very important. So is there any questions before I go on to the second part of how to get on TV and how to, get in the newspapers? Any questions you guys have? Go. I'm going to grab my notes for something else, but
Go.
Any other questions? Nothing? Nobody?
This might get you kick-started on that.
Sure.
Somebody did write in and wanted to know about, they asked specifically about the poster that you had for your CD act.
Yes.
And how eye-catching it was, And,
Okay.
and is there a way that you could suggest that people make their promotional materials better? I think you're probably going to get into that.
Sure.
Because honestly, I've seen a lot of your promotional materials,
Yes.
and they always pop. They're always graphically
Sure.
very strong, and you're the strongest element in them.
Sure.
So,
Yeah.
what do you have to say?
Yeah, here's my theory on branding and PR. And this will be a little bit shorter because I'm not going to give you all my secrets, but I'm going to give you a few. And if you listen to me, it's going to work for you. It's very simple. You want to be recognized. You want to be honest with yourself. Everything I've shared with you right now is basically, I'm just going to condense it into how it'll make sense to you. I'm all about branding, stepping outside of the box. I'm a product of it. I've worked all my life in this business, over 30 years. And I always learned from all my mentors is if you want to learn to make $1 million, learn from a millionaire. If you don't, then learn from a bum on the street. You always have people say, you can't do it. You're not going to do it. It's not going to work. Generally, look at the people who are saying that. It's the ones that usually aren't successful. It's the ones that haven't made it. Learn from the ones that have made it and that are actually doing it. If they're doing it, they're probably, what they're telling you is probably right, or at least somewhat accurate. You should at least listen to what they're saying for a couple of seconds and see if they're on the mark. So create a brand. Have a look. Take a risk. Have a project with yourself for like a month to try to look different. It doesn't have to be that drastic, but step outside your box. Maybe somebody who never wears hats, wear a John Deere cap, and maybe the John Deere isn't a John Deere thing. If you do get TV, you probably be able to use the logo. Maybe it's something similar. Maybe it's your logo. Maybe it's just initial with your name. Or maybe you have a logo. Make it a cool looking thing. Try suspenders, try a Mac look, try something hip or cool or different. Just to see if you get a reaction. You know what I mean? Go with that. It's fun to try. And you may look like a complete fool, but pretend it's Halloween every day for 30 days. And every day, go to your house and wear something you wouldn't. Ridiculous socks, purple shoes, flip-flops with socks. Never recommend that. But anything like that. You know what I mean? I have a great idea for a brand. No one's used it yet. I've always thought it'd be funny. You're welcome to take this. The first person to get it can be branded with it, is wearing a short tie. So you have a tie like mine, right? But it's a short tie. So it's the same big knot, and it's boom, short tie. So it ends literally right about there. So it's literally like that. okay? And that's what you wear. You have a collection of them. That's your hook, short ties. So everywhere you go, you come in, could be a... Now, the funny thing is, if you do a suit up like this, it could be an opening joke, because there it is there. It looks like a long tie. And I'm telling you right now, you walk on stage, ladies and gentlemen, thanks so much. I was in a little bit of hurry getting dressed today. And you'll show this little short tie, and you can have all the jokes you want, you know. And the opening joke for that, I always tell people, is you do this, you go, you know, thanks for, you guys like the suit, thanks. I was a little bit of a hurry. I didn't realize you can't wash ties. And you stand there, and you'll get the laugh, because the tie is short, it's shrunk. And most people will get that in an audience. So, and you can make tons of more jokes. But the point is, you have this short tie, and it's just funny. Aesthetically, you look at it, and it's just funny. You make a couple of jokes about it, and then you move on. Well, little do you know, every time you do a TV show or you do a morning show, you come on and give the host a short tie. They'll wear it. You know, you can start selling short ties. It could be a brand. It could be a little thing people put on. It could be coasters for drinks. It could be, it's so much more with that short tie thing. No one's still, and you can be a good-looking person or not, it doesn't matter. You can be overweight or thin. That's just a branding thing. And when you leave, you go, this is really cool magician, but the funniest thing, God, he did this really cool magic, but he's freaking short tie. He always, this polka dot. And it could be polka dots or it could be all different things. But just having that short tie is just such a funny element or interesting element. And it's something you can be branded. A lot of people use socks to brand themselves. I know a guy in Vegas, he's no longer around, Danny Gans. I didn't know this until like a month after he passed away. He wore red socks, and that was his brand. I didn't know that. I never saw him. It was on his damn feet. It's lovely to brand that with something else, which is nice. But unless you're sitting cross-legged where people can always see your socks, or like Larry King always wears the suspenders, then you got to really think about what you're branding yourself, because socks would not be the ultimate choice, because it's hard to see when you're standing, unless you wore short pants, or it was a woman wearing capris or something, and then that could be something, you know. But if they're not seen, it's not going to work. It has to be visible. So in that sense, really try to find something. The short tie thing I've always decided, and be commercial, be something that, don't be way off. Now, I know there's a few acts in the business, I'm not going to mention names, but they are so far off with their brand. It's great, and in the magic world, we know them, and we use them. And in a magic show, if they're slotted in, they're really different, and they're super trendy and ridiculously cool. But for them to hold their own in a 1-hour show, doing corporate gigs, commercial gigs, Vegas, or cruise ships, they've taken themselves way out of the game, because they're so different. You know, they're too different that nobody kind of wants to book them, because they look different, they're weird, they're just way off. So that's why I mean, you kind of got to hone it back. Like, people don't realize Chris Angel, when he came into the business, he did wear the goth makeup and had dreads and the whole bit, and braided hair and that. Well, once he went on A&E, he had to commercialize his look a little more and be a little more corporate. And it worked for him, and more people accepted him. He wasn't so underground. So you do have to be honest with yourself. Even though you want to be sometimes, oh, I'm going to be different and this is it, you still kind of got to, it's like with my hair, it's ridiculous. But if I wear a suit in that, it's not so ridiculous. I just kind of like, oh, it's a little eccentric. But if I wore loud, crazy clothes that were ridiculous, then it's just too much. Now I look like a clown. So it's a very fine line. I mean, some people think I look like a clown now. So, with photos, make your photos look interesting. I brought some photos and stuff. And what I mean by photos, because I know you mentioned about the ideas with marketing. Here's a perfect example. People always wonder what I look like without my hair, combed or messed up or anything like that. And this is what I would look like if I didn't comb my hair or wear my glasses. You wouldn't recognize me. And that's my headshot for acting if I'm going to do something serious, which I rarely do anymore, because I don't want to get away from what I look like. I've worked too hard with this. It's not worth me going to this. That's what I look like. If I would get out of the shower, no glasses, bam. You would never recognize me. And you try doing comedy looking that serious. I look like I could do a 1930s movie is what I could do, but that's about it. Okay, so that's what I look like. So then I decided to do that. So that's the same person. Now, one's a brand, and one's just a guy trying to look good. You know what I mean? That's the fact. Same person, no different. My hair slicked back and my glasses are taken off. Almost the same outfit. One was wearing a leather jacket. But that's exciting. You know, that to me is somebody goes away and talks about. This one, I look like every other dirty blonde-haired guy with their hair slicked back. I mean, they're wearing a cap. There's nothing to grab onto. Yeah. Now, if I'm famous like Leonardo,
that's like jock number 3 in a
you're
horror
right.
movie. Right?
Exactly. You're right. You're right. The guy that gets stabbed or whatever. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
You're 100%. You're 100% right. So I just had a name for this. Jock number 3. I did not realize that's jock number. Yeah. AKA jockstrap. All right. Great. So that's the difference, and that's why I wanted to. Do this and make myself look ridiculous. Why? Because I learned from Phyllis Diller. I learned from Liberace. I learned from, not directly, but from watching these people. I mean, like Jay Leno, everyone makes fun of his big chin and his hair, and he has a dark stripe in the middle of his gray. That dark stripe he actually makes darker because it has become a characteristic. Naturally, it probably just happened, and then became something. So now, Now, this is a nice picture, and it's good for a headshot. Now, here's the difference. You go get a photo taken, and you want to get in the newspaper. Okay, so here's two of my headshots. This one's definitely more exciting than this one, but it's just me. It's what I look like. This is for acting or being a host, and it's just lovely. Now, as a magician, they really don't say a lot. Now, I do a lot of hosting and a lot of personality stuff, so this is what I use these for. But I'm telling you right now, you look at these, and say I send it to the newspaper and go, hey, I'm in town, I'm really a big deal, put me in the newspaper. I don't think that looks that exciting. I'm just a guy with ridiculous hair, right? Great. Now, I do a really cool photo, something like that, with a blowtorch, and I'm doing my hair in the mirror. Now that looks kind of interesting. That's kind of a cool picture. That's a fun-looking picture. Now that's worth putting in the paper because it's going to catch your eye. So whether people know who I am or not, because don't forget, these photos were all done. I mean, these are recreations of, this one's a recreation of an original one I did way back in 2000. It caught people's eye. And I got in a lot of newspapers with this because it's just different. It just works, you know. And then if you want to go really extreme, we go back to, you know, this. Which one's going to get in the newspaper? I mean, there's not even a question. Now, if I'm famous like Leonardo DiCaprio on that, it doesn't matter what you look like at that level. You're famous. You are a look of your own but those people who aren't, that really works. One's going to go in the paper, one's not. So that's a really big thing. So it's one of those things where you sit back and you want to really be honest with yourself, just because of the fact that, oh, I lost my paper, is you want to put yourself in the newspaper's editor's desk, meaning every day you got to do a newspaper, right? Every day you have to write something. So there's always a space there for you. You have to make sure they want to put you in the paper. So you're coming to a local town, you're doing a charity for the Lions Club. That's first of all, it's a good Samaritan thing. It's a great way to get in the paper because you're there to help and it's a charity. So you write a nice news release. It's really important when you write a news release, the way it comes together. Because you got to write it, if it's about a charity, talk about the charity and how honored you're about helping it out, which hopefully you are because you're doing a charity. Then who you are. If you've won some awards, make them sound really amazing. Even if it's a local magic club thing or big, make it really, you know, special in the news release. And then include it with a really cool picture, something like that. You know what I mean? And you put a picture like this in, it's got action in it. And what I mean by that is another photo that's great is if you're floating something. A lot of my photos I didn't bring with me, but I have me recently, last year, I have me floating a toy train because I was so known with America's Got Talent with the train vanish. So my opening when I did the Tropicana, I bought a toy train, Toys R Us, a locomotive, and I floated between my hands. You know what I mean? And I did it in real time. I mean, here's what's important too. I'm a big believer in whatever you do, don't use Photoshop. Everyone's using Photoshop now, and it looks like you're using Photoshop. And don't do your own Photoshop work unless you've graduated from a graphics school, because now you're trained in it. If you think you're good because your neighbors are telling your friends are telling you you're good, don't believe them. You know what I mean? Because when it's in newspapers and that's when you know if it's good or not. I mean, if you look at graphic arts for movies and that, they're good. Why? Because they're the best in the business. So hire somebody if you need something graphically added in. If you need a Statue of Liberty behind you, or you need an Eiffel Tower, you need an ocean behind you, then hire somebody. Because usually with you doing it, it's going to look like you clipped and pasted some ocean behind you.
Did you do the blowtorch in real time?
Yes.
That was pretty close to
Yes, I did. The blowtorch is in real time,
Yeah.
but in real time at 2 different times.
Okay,
so
right.
What I'm meaning in real time, no. The whole photo is in real time. This whole picture was done without the flame.
Yeah, they may not be able to see it
Yeah,
from
maybe
that.
zoom right in.
Get
Can you-
kind of close on it. The blowtorch is like right up.
Yeah.
The blue flame.
You
Can you
see
see
the
that?
blue
It's
flame.
right up against his head.
Right. Where's my
Yeah,
hand?
right up near
Over
his
here,
head.
hold on.
That's it right there. Yeah.
Right there. Okay? And that's really on. So what we did is, and the way this photo came up is it was actually the cover of Mum magazine in 2000. Not this picture, the old picture. And I was getting photos taken in Orlando, Florida, and I was in LA at the time. And they said, we want to put you on the cover. I was thrilled. And I thought, I got to think of a really cool cover. So I thought, I want to make it about me. So, and I was trying to slowly, I was still doing CDs, but I thought, man, I want to be able to be a personality, not just the guy with the CDs, which was a brand I used. The guy with the CDs, the guy with the hair was my tagline for 10 years. So I wanted a blow dryer with flames coming out of it and a comb. That was my original photo. So that's what happened. So because you can't really fly with propane like that, especially, well, then you could, but now you can't. But when I landed in Orlando, I went right to the Home Depot because I needed the flames coming out of the hairdryer to look real. And the only place I could buy real flames is, this is like a little mini welder. You can, with gas in it. So I bought that. I bought this from Home Depot because I wanted him to take a picture of the flames and drop the flames over the blow dryer, because everything else was going to be real except the flames. But I wanted the flames to look real, because every time you see flames, at least back in 2000, they looked like crap. So that's why I bought it. And then as I got it from Home Depot and I was spray painting, at this point I was in the aisle, and I was walking down the aisle, and I looked at the actual canister and I went, no, it's not a blow dryer. This is the blow dryer. Now that's a photo. And that's where the idea came with. Just by buying, because I needed the flame. And then I thought, oh, I got labels on it. So I bought some red spray paint. And literally in the parking lot outside the photo studio, I spray painted the thing red, turned the flame on. And then when we did the shot without the flame. And then we actually put it on the table, lit the flame. So we took an exact photo of the flame on white or black, whatever we shot it against. And then we dropped the flame in. So that's the only Photoshop on that, because my hair would have went up if it was that close. But it needed to be close enough, so it kind of... So that was how that came. But I try not to use Photoshop, because Photoshop's being used so much now. And I know all you magicians out there and that think you know how to use Photoshop. And yes, to drop text or font on, you do. To have some fun with your own pictures and take some red eye, yes, you do. But if you really want to sell your show and make some money off it and look quality, make sure you have a quality graphic guy so it looks quality. It looks like the real deal, because you'll make more money. You know, whatever you're handing out there, if it looks like it was clip arted together, that's what you're worth. If it looks like it's $1,000, you're probably going to pay $1,000. If it looks like $1 million, you get paid $1 million. So that's really important, because this is your image, you know, when you hand stuff out. Or now it's electronic press kits on email, but you still got to use these photos.
Are you working with the same photographer, or have you worked with a variety of them?
I've used a variety of photographers. You know, I used a guy in Orlando, Florida called Michael Cairns. He's very professional down there, does a lot of stuff in Orlando. Back in Vegas, I used Beckett Studios, Richard Faverty, who does a lot of magicians' photos and a lot of entertainers. I've used a guy named Shane O'Neill, which is my train photo. I have a train, and the train poster's around here somewhere, but that was...
Is it the one that's on the cover there?
Yeah. Here,
one?
you just,
Yeah.
Sure. I'll show you, thanks. And I don't know if you can see that with the glare.
You have to get the thing just right.
Yeah, okay, I got it. So, actually, let me just
Yeah,
do this that way. You'll see it better. And speaking of Photoshop, this photo here, with me in the train, that is all in real time. There's nothing on that that's Photoshopped except for a couple of wrinkles in my face and the actual font on the DVD cover. And my eyes might be a little bit bluer, but that's all that's Photoshopped. That shot was done in real time. I was actually hanging off another train in a train yard with that train behind me. So I really try to go the extra mile to find the place to do it. I have a new photo we just took about 3 weeks ago in the Neon Boneyard, where they have all the old neon signs of Vegas. And I thought, what a cool place if this was my living room. So I called my friend up, who has some old couches his mom has, with the little wooden legs and the paisley-looking thing. So I called him and said, hey, can I borrow your living room set? I said, I'll throw you $100 if you want. I said, no, just use it. And then I went down to the antique district, and I found an old 1960s television. And I said, guys, look, I only need it for one day. I don't want to buy the TV. Can I buy it and then sell it back to you, or can I rent it? I said, look, buy it for the $250, and you come back, we'll give you $150 back. I'm like, great. So I threw that in the back of my truck, and literally in the middle of the Neon Boneyard, if you go on my Facebook, you'll see the pictures, but we set the TV up, and we set the couch up, and all of us on it, and all of us are sitting there, and everything is 100% real except the TV. We got them to put the Honeymooners clip on the TV, because nowhere to plug it in and do all that's not worth it. But that's the only bit of Photoshop. But everything else was done in real time. But whereas most people would actually drop in the background, and it just doesn't have no matter how much technology we have, it does come out unreal. So really try to be in real time. If you want to do a shot of you standing in the middle of a highway with a desert behind you, or a road that goes on forever, find a place in your city, or at least a road that goes on far enough that you can maybe add a bit of the road on at the very end. But really try to keep it as real, because you'll get a much better photo and a really cool photo shoot too, and stories you can tell, talk about forever. So, so that's one of my big things on when you're trying to put a picture together. But also when you want to get in the paper, if you have something you're floating, or you're showing magic in your hands, like burning fire out of your hand, or floating somebody, or blowtorch, those are exciting pictures for an editor to put in the paper, because it's going to catch somebody's eye when they're looking through a newspaper, because none of us are as famous as Elton John or anything like that. So to get in the paper, in a local paper, you'll still get in, but you need to be interesting. And if you're not famous, well, at least have the photo that's interesting, because now they'll print it, because they got to fill up space. So when you flip that over, you'll see the actual photo of you, in the air or jumping in, even for fun. You want to get yourself floating, get a guy with one of your cameras that have a rapid fire shot, or not. Get a cheap camera and keep jumping in the air. Jump and jump and jump. You will get one that where you're in the air floating. And you can do it. It's, make yourself, one more time levitating or whatever, and it looks like you're floating. It's a fun shot. No, it's something cool to look at in the paper. So the photo is more famous than you are. That's great. It's you. So make the photos really interesting. You'll get in the paper. Also, when you write a news release, write it like you're the best thing in the world. Just won this award, youngest one, best one, first time this year, or first time this month, or hasn't been given away, or honored to start a magic at 35 years old, 5 years later wins, aspiring, hobby turns into profession. Any of those key phrases get people excited, Don't be scared to pump your image up and get excited about it, because guess what? If you don't care about yourself, no one else is. You know what I mean? So make yourself sound like a star. Just don't believe it, but be aware of that. Those are two things. A lot of people believe their own hype. So, then also, you want to get on social media. Get a Twitter account. Get a Facebook. I know a lot of people are like, oh my God, I got to get a Facebook, get a Twitter. Here's my views on that. Anyone who knows me well, I live on Facebook and Twitter. I'm a publicity whore. I said it. I am. But here's the way you can govern whether you should do it or not. Because I got a lot of friends in Vegas. I'm not into that. I'm not going to do it. No. It doesn't matter. I'm like, okay. But if you want your business to grow, you really got to see what other businesses are doing. My governor is, if CNN has a Twitter and a Facebook, you should have a Facebook. If CNN's doing it, a reliable company that is that big, and if they're doing it, or Oprah's doing it, or Ellen's doing it, you better do it. Because it's obviously got something. And if it's helping them, it's going to help you. If it's good enough for CNN, it's good enough for you. So I'm a big believer in looking at what other people are doing. If they're on something, go with it. If it doesn't look right or you've never heard of it, go with it. If CNN's doing it or somebody of that caliber is doing it, go with it. It's probably going to help you. And it really is. Back in the day for publicity, you had to mail out one of these to everybody. And I still have them. I do mail them out to the odd time, but rare. Nowadays, we're so lucky. With one click of a button, I can send out a message to 5,000 people. You know how many times it would take me and how much money it would take me to sign this? We are so lucky to have that capability. Now, it's obviously more popular, so it's more saturated, so less people see it. But I'm still telling you, it's a great way, and you should really embrace it and learn about it and get into it. And as much you don't want to Twitter, I think it really, and when you're at an event, people love retwittering you and all this stuff, and it really helps a lot. So I live by it. And it's free. The bottom line is it's free advertising. It costs you nothing. You can make up a Twitter name for free. You can go to borrow a friend's computer if you don't have one, and make a Facebook and put a picture. Just have a profile up there. You can make a Facebook under your dog's name, Fluffy. Because say you don't want a personal one because you don't want people hacking into your family and life. Understood. Make one up, Fluffy. And then you can make a like page that people just like you. And then you make one, Marvin the Magnificent or whatever you want. And then that's your subsidiary page. Put a couple of photos from shows on, and you can block it so you can only write on it. Nobody else can. So it protects you. But at least there's a presence. So when people Google you or find you, you're there. And a lot of people now, when I meet somebody, I go, what's your name? Oh, what's your name? Dan Harlan. Dan Harlan. Oh, really? You say you're good. You're good? Oh, okay. And we have this lovely meeting. This Dan Harlan guy says he's good and he's some magician. I don't know if it's, I'll Google Dan Harlan. Boom, you see Dan Harlan,
Yeah.
And I may not know that you're famous or well-known in the business. That's okay, but it doesn't matter who I meet. I meet producers and directors. Oh, I've done this movie. I'm like, you really done Waterworld, huh? Okay.
Google. Yep.
Bam, and if Waterworld comes out, son of a bitch, he did Waterworld, and it doesn't lie. It doesn't lie, So I'll meet tons of people. There's so many times, and I honest to God, my friends at home know this. I could be sitting beside Tom Cruise and not know it and go, hey, man, what do you do for a living? I'm an actor. Oh, good. How's it going? You been doing well? Yeah, I'm all right. Doing a few gigs. I'm good for you. What's your name again? Tom Cruise. All right. Oh, shit, Tom Cruise. I'm that guy. I don't, and people don't look the same as they look on TV.
They look a lot different
in
person.
They do, right?
Yeah.
So, and I do, but I'll meet somebody that's an Olympian. Oh, I'm an Olympian golfer, and I'm a female golfer that won all these awards. And I don't, I don't watch that much TV. What's your name again? Oh, so-and-so. That's cool. And I get home, I'll put out, son of a gun, that person's really famous in that world. So never underestimate anybody. And take pictures of everybody. If you're doing a show and they say they're famous, take the picture, because just because they're not famous in your world doesn't mean they're not famous in someone else's. And if you put them, perfect example, this is like 9 years ago, 10 years ago, I'm in LA, I'm hosting a show on BSPN Network. It's called Big Screen Preview Network. It's a startup company, it never went anywhere. I was hosting with this girl, I think her name was April, and she walks in with her boyfriend, massive guy. He's standing about 6'7". The guy looks like he weighs about 380 pounds, but solid, like a wall, holding a little chihuahua. So I look at the guy, not even kidding, and I'm hosting, like, hey, please meet you, man. Hey, good. And then, now, don't forget, I don't know anything about this sport. Once I mention it, you'll know who I'm talking about and what it is. But at this time, it's very new. It's only about 2 or 3 years in, at least publicly in. It's been around for a while. So I meet the guy, and I said, by the way, what's your name again? It's like, no, I said, what do you do for a living? So I'm a fighter, I box and stuff. So you box? I said, you box? No, this thing we're doing is called UFC. I said, oh, so what do you, no gloves. And I was like, oh, that's cool. I said, what's your name? I said, oh, my name's Chuck Liddell. And I went, oh. Now, don't forget, this is 10 years ago.
Yeah, meant
so
nothing.
this is his first year out of the gate. I'm like, oh, that's cool. So I said, is it going well? She's like, Murray, you're not going to believe this. Like, I was a contractor. I built houses, and that's what I did for a living. And, I fight my friends. I'm just a big guy. So I just go bang, and, somebody's down. It's not really a fight for me at a bar. I said, but I started realizing there was this avenue, and I was on the TV show, I'm a fighting champion, and shot in Vegas. He said, started picking up speed, and they liked me, and I started to do well. And now I'll go to Walmarts in the middle of Iowa and Ohio, and there's a line of like 5,000 people. I said, for you? There's a line of 5,000 people for your autograph? I said, no, seriously. And he's in his mid-30s at the time. And I'm like, I said, Murray, I wouldn't believe it. I said, honest to God, Walmart. I'll sit there and I'll sign all these shirts. And I said, it's unbelievable. I said, that's really cool. I'm like, huh. So I take a picture with him because I thought, well, shit, somebody knows you. So I take a picture with the guy, and I do my hosting gig that I did with the girl. I think, like I said, I think her name was April. I think it was the girl he was dating. And I go back to Vegas, and I'm driving back to Vegas. And I come into Vegas, and I go past the MGM Grand Hotel. And down the front of the MGM Grand Hotel is Chuck Liddell, all down the whole goddamn front of me. I went, holy Christ, you've got to be kidding me. I said, now I know who you are. Son of a bitch. So, yeah, so that's that, but once again, my point is, a lot of people are more aware of stars than I am. I don't watch much TV. I watch an hour or 2 hours TV a week. I don't have time. And there's so many channels now that people can be a star on HGTV or be a star in Discovery. But if you don't watch Discovery, it doesn't matter. You know what I mean? They're not universal. Very few people are across the board, like Ryan Seacrest, because he's on everything. You know what I mean? There's very few people that have that. So if you're with somebody, they say they're famous, or there's somebody, take a picture. Because when you get home and Google them, it'll help you, because by putting that on your website or Twittering them, you gain your celebrity status by being attached to them. It up yours. If you get a picture with, Toby Keith, just hanging with Toby Keith, well, holy shit, how are you hanging with Toby? You opening for him on tour? Well, no, but we met, but most people are like, holy Christ, he's opening for Toby Keith. They make their own stories up. Let them. If they're going to go, let them run with it. And it increases your celebrity and who you are. Now people start going, I better hire him. He must be really good. He's hanging with Toby Keith. He's got to be doing well. So, never underestimate that, because it really works for your advantage. So, and then I went through the headshot stuff. I went through the Twitter. I went through all about getting in newspapers, getting on TV. When you get on TV, if you go for an advertising, and this is my last point, and then me and Dan, I guess, will have a chat. But my last point is to try to get on TV is be yourself. We go back to that, and I said it before. Don't try to be anything else you aren't. And that's why I have gotten on TV most recently in the last 10 years. Because before that, I tried to be who I thought they wanted. I read the script, or I read the reality casting, and I went, oh, I think they want this guy. So I'd come in and try to be the person, and I never got the role. Then I walked in with this character with the hair and the glasses and just being me. And I'd be a little wacky and a little off, and I'd say what they want me to hear. And they would go with it. Why? Because I was saying what I was thinking. I was being me. And they're like, oh my God, this is great TV. And that's how you get booked. When you come in and try to act like someone else, first of all, we're probably not all very good actors, because we don't do it all the time. We're who we are. So when they ask you, what do you do for a living? And you go, oh, well, I love to go on nature hikes and walks on the beach, and I love to build my own tree fort in the forest with my Boy Scout troop and everything. And you're like, you don't have kids, you're not in the Boy Scout troop, you don't even know how to use a hammer, nor you can't stand hiking, but you're trying to say what they say, and what you really like doing is sitting at home eating popcorn, and jerking off to porn. Well, you say that, guess what? Producers go, did he just say that? Just like everyone at home went, I can't believe he just said that. But
that's going to be the excerpt. Exactly. That's going to be on Magic Leaks.
Yeah, right.
I'm telling you right now,
exactly.
Murray admits to sitting at home.
Exactly. So, but that gets a reaction. I got a reaction from you guys, right? So that's what I mean. When you say that, they go, he did not, that. You know what, I wonder if he'd be like that crazy on TV, because that's who we need. That's TV. And that's exactly what the reaction you had now is what people react like in an interview. So say it. If you're thinking it, say it. You know what I mean? So, anything from dating or do you like your job? No, most people go, do you like, yeah, I like my job. So why? Because you don't want to be disgruntled. I like my job. I like working at Home Depot doing my thing or working at Starbucks or I like working whatever. Instead of saying, I can't stand the goddamn job. I'm doing it for the money and the medical, But most people won't say that. But when you're auditioning for a role in TV, they want to be real. They want someone who's cutting edge. They want that. I don't mean go over the top and be stupid because then that's probably not who you are either. But if you're really having a bad day, actually it sucks. I have a shitty day. I got a ticket yesterday. Somebody pulled me over, and I lost an aunt. And yet this week's really shitty. And they go, wow, tell us about that. Well, and then you can, and that's interesting because everybody was coming in saying the same damn thing. I love my job, love my wife, love my kids, love my car. Everything's perfect. Well, we don't want perfect. That's not going to be good. Because look at news on TV. What you watch news, 10%'s amazing, 90%'s crap. And it's somebody being stolen or robbed or murdered or something. We like that. As humans, that's what we watch. Unfortunately, we can sit around and go, that's wrong. It is. But that's not what attracts the human psyche. Perfect example, I've been in many news releases in the past and recently that I could have made $10 million for the most amazing charity. I might get a 1-inch line. I piss somebody off, boom, half page in the newspaper. It happens all the time. But that's the way humans work. So I don't mean, don't piss anybody off, don't rob a bank. But when you go in for an audition, sit there and be honest with people. Say something that'll get their reaction, but try to say it close to you, that you can relate to, because that way it won't be acting. And and when they come back and go, tell us more about that. Well, and also remember when you go in for audition, have things in your head like, what's your favorite color? Well, try to have something that when you say an answer, what's your favorite color, that you have a story with it. You know what I mean? Like, perfect example, some people, my favorite color is yellow or pink. And they go, why? Oh, pink's a nice color, and I just always liked it. Well, crap, that's not funny. You're not going to get, you go, what's my favorite color? I like blue because it's like my balls. I haven't been laid for a week. Now there's a reaction. You see what I'm saying? So that's the difference. It's not true, but you have something in your head because of the fact that that's the reaction you want. And they go, holy crap, that's funny. Let's write that. That guy's really funny. Now you're becoming memorable. I know you're going to get called, which means rebooked. And then guess what? When you're booked, you're going to get some money on that. And it goes back to the 3 R's. I mean, everything I talk about, it goes back to what I originally said. So remember that. I'm not saying be crass. You don't have to be rude. You don't have to swear. You don't have to be like that. Like, I'm just saying this because it gets a reaction out of you. And I've said these lines many times, so I know it gets a reaction. But you have to be true to your form. You know what I mean? So, like I said, you don't have to be crass or be rude or say anything wrong, but get a reaction or say what you're thinking. You know what I mean? And if you're thinking it, it's probably funny. Because some of us, when you're sitting around, at home and you had a rough day, I've heard a few of the stories when you guys walked in here, and I'm not going to say them, but when you walked in here before we shot, they're pretty cool stories. But a lot of them we wouldn't share because, I don't know if we should share. It's kind of embarrassing or it's kind of rough. But that's the stuff we want to hear. We want to hear stuff that's real because you can't beat real. Like, it's life, isn't it? So there you go. So that's my lecture on all my notes, my PR, all that stuff. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Well, thank you so much.
Give it up! Give it up for Murray! Yeah! Hey, man. Come on over here.
Right.
Have a seat with me.
I would love to have a seat with you.
Speaking of being real.
Yep.
Let me,
here we are.
Put my brand new coffee mug.
I know. I like the coffee mug. It's very nice.
Here.
Speaking of branding, make sure I got my mic.
Coffee mug.
Yeah. Get the right coffee mug, see? I'm telling you.
Let's talk about your hair.
Let's do it. Let's do it.
All right. Speaking of the elephant in the room.
Yes.
How much product? What do you use?
I always use the cheapest hairspray because I go through tons of it. It's like Tresemme. People don't realize to get a look like this takes forever. It really does. Yeah. You don't wake up looking like this, honest to God.
One would hope not.
Yeah, exactly. You're right. Every morning my wife's like, oh my God, he's been attacked. No, it's something, it started way back in the day when I was worried about losing my hair. True story. And I always have thin hair because it's blonde. And I was really receded. And I never had thick hair like my friends. And I was always worried about losing my hair. But I thought if I thicken my hair up, it'll be thicker. Like and that, years ago, that look of the Caesar cut was coming in back in the early 90s, mid-90s. And then the Rod Stewart thing and everything like that. So what was it? You see what you say there?
I haven't. Oh,
yes,
just focus. That's
nice,
great. No,
up.
keep talking.
And,
everything's fine.
And so
the trouble with tribbles.
Yeah, right. So basically, I started to increase the height of my hair because more people talked about it and everything. Yeah. So I said, let's go for it. So we kept doing more and more of the hair, lifting it, and people started making more fun of it. And then when I really started was going back to that Lawrence Welk show with Marvin Carroll. It was a big turning point for changing my act. And I realized, because it was the Lawrence Welk crowd, and if no one knows what the Lawrence Welk crowd is, he had the longest show over 39 years on public broadcast. And it was a big band show, and back in the day, older people would watch it, but it was great music with saxophone players, accordion players, big bands, really classy, very 1960s, 70s shows, not cutting edge, not Elvis Presley, the Beatles. It was very before that, but he continued right through that, through the 80s. But it had an older clientele, and the theater I played, because he was no longer around, the show wasn't around long, was older people. So when they were walking out, and this is when I first started messing my hair up, the old guys still carried a thin black comb in the back of their pockets, and maybe some of your grandparents still carry it, but the guys would carry this thin black comb because they'd properly comb their hair. As they were walking to the theater when we were doing autographs, they'd walk up, at least 1 to 4 guys every show, and we played there for 2 months, would walk up and go, "Hey, do you want this?" And it was a black comb. Yeah. And it was a joke. To them, they thought it was the funniest thing. To me, it was like the 100th time I heard it. I'm like, oh, here we go again. But that's when I knew I had a good idea, because it bothered them, and it made a joke, and they also knew they could joke with me because they were. And I realized I've got something here. That's something that's going to stick. And so I kept raising my hair and made it bigger and more ridiculous, and that's it. So, yeah. But I do use a lot of product, and I put hairspray and gel. And if I do shows like this, which is a longer show, I put like really, really strong hairspray so it stays up. And the funny thing too, it really moves, because I remember I was going to a gig once, had my hair like this, and one of the cars I drive is a '73 Stingray, and I love classic cars. And I had the T-tops out, and I was driving. Well, the wind's going past this way, right? Funniest thing. So I just did my hair. Yeah. We're going to a gig. I just did like a meet and greet. I'm not performing really. So I'm driving there. I'm with my wife. I get out of the car. Funniest thing. I go to the restroom to use it. I look in the mirror. This side of my head is blow drying straight up. Straight up. This side's all fluffy. And so I walked out to my friends. I go, "Hey, you know what? Can you decide what side of the car I was sitting on?" I had the window down. And they were like, "Oh, that is so funny." It's like an SNL skit. Yeah. It was just the funniest thing. I thought, oh my God, what a cool idea. So anyways, that was a funny story. But yeah.
So the hair kind of developed a little bit later. Like I was kind of curious, because you grew up outside of Vancouver.
Yeah.
In
Burnaby. Yeah.
Burnaby.
That's right.
Vancouver's a pretty cool cosmopolitan city.
Yeah.
So this look probably would go over okay.
Yeah.
But so.
Yeah.
But at least it would be,
Yeah, of course. Accepted, yeah.
Accepted, right? But it wasn't something that you had like growing up as a kid.
No, not at all.
Developed like later as you started to get out.
Yeah. And what really developed it was I decided to go out for Halloween, like we all do as kids. And I wore my hair down long, kind of like, I guess if you took out a hair ponytail.
It would come all the way out.
My hair would come down to here. It was long, kind of shaggy. Brad Pitt started out with that kind of hairstyle way back when he first started as a model actor. It was shaggy, so I kind of did that. We all kind of copy people on TV. It was shaggy. And for Halloween, I didn't know what to go as, me and my buddy. And he had red hair, kind of long and shaggy. So I said, why don't we just blow dry our hair straight up and go buy that spray paint for your hair you can find at the drugstore. They have orange and green. You spray it in your hair. And we'll all wear black jackets, black suits, and on the back we'll put an upside-down triangle, which at the time and still is the sign of Guess jeans. And it'll be Guess, because we didn't know what the hell we were. Now, that's a great cut. Not even So I literally blow-dried my hair, and at this time it was really long because I had this hanging down, used hairspray, and it was spiked way up, and I spray painted orange on the right side and green on the left. And at the time I didn't wear glasses because I was only 16 or 17. And we went out, and that was it. And it was a fun costume, and I kind of looked really cool. I kind of looked like Fido Dido, kind of looked like Max Headroom, all those people back in the day. And a lot of people were like, "Man, you look really cool with the way your face is structured and the hair going up. It's actually kind of a cool look, And that was before really the punk scene, and that was really in, and I was never into being that trendy. And so I remembered that. And then 2 years later, we were camping after high school, like graduation, with like 3 or 4 guys and 3 or 4 girls, just about an hour out of Vancouver. And I woke up in the morning to make some coffee, over the campfire and that. And I had my sweats on or whatever, and my hair was all over the place. And one of the girls said, "Your hair looks really cute, messed up." And this was like 8 in the morning. And I figured, well, if it looked cute at 8 in the morning, it probably look cute at 8 at night when I'm doing a show. And I thought, wait a minute, this is something. So then finally, I saw the Rod Stewart on TV, and that was when I went, you know what, I'm going to go for this. Because, when you go for such a drastic change, it's scary because you got to change your press materials and promo. It's very expensive. So before you know what your look is, enjoy the look for a minute. Don't start changing things quickly, and then you can get it. Now it's a little easier because everything's digital. You can take a digital photo, put it online, and play with it. Back in the day, we didn't have that. So you had to get press materials made like I showed you, and that's expensive. So it's a big mistake if it's not the way you want to go.
Yeah.
So,
did you get any initial resistance that made you rethink it?
Yeah, there was times where, I always changed my hair every 6 months just to try funky things out. Slicked it back, then I'd wear it down, then I'd color it, streak it a little bit. And yeah, there was times where I thought, man, I don't know if this is bookable. I don't know if a cruise ship will take me. I don't know. And the reason I say cruise ship is because right now the cruise ship world is the vaudeville of our era. It really is. And it's the only place you can make really good money doing what you love, seeing the world, So in our world. So I thought, hopefully it's going to be accepted because, if it's a classy client, are they going to take this seriously? And I was young then, so they thinking, is this just some punk-ass kid trying to be weird? And so I really had a hard time. But then when I got the suits and that made, it was an interesting contrast because I had the suit, which was professional and classy, and this crazy hair. So it kind of went together and kind of worked. So yeah.
It's part. I think that's important. It's part about when you're a performer. It's about making an artistic statement that's still professional.
Oh, completely,
right?
And to be different. You do, because if you go too far to the left or too far to the right, you will alienate some people. Now, once I mean, there's Marilyn Manson we all know of, and now Marilyn Manson, he did go Main Street when he started doing some cover tunes of other bands and make them really sound cool, but he's still, he's almost a cult classic, but then he became Main Street with a few songs, but then he still became Marilyn Manson. But he kind of wavered in and out, and he's extreme on that level. But then you have other artists that, like an Alice Cooper, who he dressed ridiculously, but then he also had another genre, and that was shock rock, you know what I mean, which worked well. And I've worked with Alice. He's become a very good friend over mine the last 3 or 4 years. I do his charity in Phoenix, and he's fun. He's no different than you and I sitting right here in a suit and a jogging suit. He loves golf, and he's super casual. We're having a coffee or Pepsi or whatever, and he's talking away. And I remember I was doing a show in Phoenix a couple of years ago with him. He's backstage in jeans, not even jeans, but like a jogging suit and that, with his wife, hair's out, but that's it. He in a ponytail, and he's got his Pepsi, and he's talking. Hey, Murray, how's it going? Good. I said, it's going to be a good show tonight. And I hosted the show. It was like a 3-hour show. There's Judas Priest there, and Twisted Sister, Dee Snider, everybody. And Dee's back there, too. He's got his jeans and his shirt on with his hair pulled back. He's super just laid back like this. It's like, hey, man. And then Dee's like, I better go get ready. So Dee Snider from Twisted Sister, anyone who knows that, he had big blonde hair and that, with another guy that looked like the same. So he went back to change, and Alice was like, oh, God, I guess I'm on about 50. I better get ready. I was like, yeah, okay. So he just wanders off. He just saunters off with his coffee, real like a guy next door. So I'm standing there 20 minutes later, and then I hear this tap on the shoulder. I said, do you know where my other band members are? Because we're going on in 5 minutes. I turned, almost scared the shit out of me. Had the makeup and the blood down the face, 3 belts on, 2 pairs of jeans, chains, hair was out here, blood down the side, black leather gloves on, and with his staff. And then I looked to my right, and then Dee Snider came out, and he has these big platforms on, tight black jeans, this ripped shirt, hair's blowing out. I'm like, holy Christ, I'm in a movie, a zombie movie. And it's so funny because they're all super casual, talking about their golf score and their kids. Yeah. And then literally, ladies and gentlemen, Alice Cooper, and he goes out there and just starts ripping it up and acting mean, and that's his gig. And then he walks off stage and goes, yeah, that worked out pretty good. And he's back to his kids and singing, normal songs and playing with his grandkids. So it is, you got to know where you're at. But he branded himself right to the borderline as well. But he pulled it back enough so it was cool and hip. And now he's really in. He's almost nostalgic now. He's almost like the Aerosmith and all those guys, or Santana. They've almost come back around because they are cool, and they almost make fun of their own selves now. Because
but that's one of the things that I think that they embody what you had mentioned about not believing your own hype.
Oh, of course.
It may have started out very close to real for them, but they knew that it was an act, and it was marketable, and it becomes marketable, and it's different from their real life, and then they don't believe the hype of this creation.
100%. Yeah, because you got to understand yourself and never believe your hype, because you do have to make yourself better than life. And before we all walk on stage, and I'm really a shy person indirectly, believe it or not, but I hide behind the hair, the glasses, and the suit. I do. When I have it on, I'm confident. I know the brand. I've had done it for years. And when I walk in a room, they go, oh, my God, there's the guy. And it hypes me up a bit, and away we go. But at home, I'm in the baseball cap. I don't shave for a couple days, ripped jeans, the whole bit, because that's me. That's really me. But it is a brand, and I'm well aware of it. But it works, and it helps me, and everyone has their certain thing. And before I walk on stage, you got to think you're the funniest and you're the best for a minute, because sometimes you'll collapse on stage. You got to go out there really giving it your best. Yeah. You know what I mean? It makes a big difference.
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
Tell us a little bit about, actually, let me just address this one question, because somebody must have tuned in a little bit late. Rich Gilbert wanted to know if your eyeglasses are real. Yes, they are.
Yeah.
You had talked about that.
I did, yeah, they are real. I get asked that a lot, because a lot of people wear glasses for aesthetics now and all that stuff, and they are real, and I need them for distance, for when I'm driving, stuff like that. But yeah, and then I just decided to make them more of my character. I have about 6 or 7 pairs that are different lenses and rims and that, but when I'm at home, I wear just almost frameless kind of glasses. But when I'm out, it's always with the black frames.
Yeah, cool. Let's talk about behind the scenes.
Sure, let's do it.
Okay,
yeah.
because we talked about how to get there.
Yes.
Right? You've given everybody a great idea of how to be identified, how to be a brand, how to be remembered, how to get yourself press.
Yep.
Eventually, if they do all of this stuff right, they're going to land some pretty big gigs.
Sure they are.
They're going to get something in Vegas. They're going to get something on TV.
That's right, of course.
So tell us, what is it really like? Be honest. When you're in Vegas,
Sure.
they send a limo to you.
Yes.
The limo picks you up and takes you, to the stage. They
Yes.
drop you off right at the stage there. You have handlers that put your clothes on you.
I wish.
Yes, right.
Sure.
They make sure all of your meals are taken care of, and they give you whatever beverages you want just as you walk onto the stage, and all your props are already set for you, right?
Yes.
Is that how it
No,
works?
completely wrong. Sounded good, though. I was starting to believe it. I thought, yes. It's like a good massage. I'm like, oh, that sounds great. I'm like,
that's what I'm paying for.
The hell are you talking about? Yeah. No. Yeah. Now, my
And then you get behind the curtain.
Exactly. And it's you serving yourself.
Yeah.
Unless my name's Celine Dion.
Right.
And yeah, unless you're Elton John or you are a legend, you're still doing a lot of your own stuff. You are, you play the game, you walk the red carpets, you pretend you're a star and you're a celebrity. It's such a weird word, that word celebrity, because, I use it now, Murray Celebrity Magician. Once again, it's a branding thing. Where I came up with it is I wanted to be the first one to use it before anyone else, because everyone's a celebrity chef, celebrity tennis pro, celebrity golf instructor. I thought, holy smokes, there's no celebrity magician yet. I'm going to get it. And the reason why I took it is because when I went on cruise ships or I did resorts, I would have all these TV accolades. And if there was a celebrity more powerful than me, a Phyllis Diller, or whatever, they'd call that hour Celebrity Showtime. And it would be Dick Van Dyke's brother, doing comedy, because he does comedy as well. Right. And Jerry Van Dyke. And anybody like that. And I thought, well, I've done a lot. I'd be kind of cool if I had Celebrity Showtime, because it increases my worth. And sometimes I'd actually suggest, and they'd print it. But sometimes it wouldn't. Well, if I brand myself Murray Celebrity Magician, well, I've handed to them. Whether they like it or not, they got to print celebrity in there. So it's Murray Celebrity Magician, and then it goes as seen on all the TV shows. And if people haven't seen me on TV yet, they go, well, he must be a celebrity. I haven't seen him, but it says he is, so he must be.
And he's been in all this
stuff.
Yeah.
And then when the curtains go up, you already got a bit of a clout. And now, indirectly, you gotta be equal to the clout as well. You can't walk out and fall flat in your ass, too. You have to maintain that. And when I do walk on stage, a lot of people go, oh, my God, that is the guy from that show. Yeah. That is the guy, because a lot of people don't remember my name. They go, yeah, or people walk up to me all the time and go, man, I've seen you on that. So, yep, that's me, and I'll just keep walking. And they go, yeah, that is him, and they still don't know my name. But that's what works. But no, when you are in Vegas, you still are working hard for yourself. You're trying to make ticket deals with brokers, You're sharing your showroom, not just with your show. It's not your theater. Yes, there are those dream gigs. Even David Copperfield, the MGM Grand, shares his theater with Tom Jones, with other acts. When he's not there, they come in. He can't always leave his stuff there. It's got to be loaded out and loaded in, because when he's not there, it's not his theater. Most gigs are shared theaters. I'm in my theater, but there's 3 other shows after me. I have my show, then there's either Roseanne Barr or Gallagher. And if they're not there, it's 2 comedy club shows, because the Laugh Factory from LA produces my show at the Tropicana Hotel. So yeah, you're always sharing. So you always got to, have respect for your space. That's why I said pack small, play big. Know your areas. Don't ever think you're too big, because you're not. There's always somebody bigger than you or equal. And have respect, because you'll go further that way. But yeah, you got to do your own stuff. Yeah, you get a nice hotel and you see your poster up and you see all that stuff. But even when you're at a hotel, all of a sudden you come to work one day and your poster's there. Next day it's gone, and they got a new restaurant up there. Like, well, how the hell did they I got a piece of steak where my face used to be. How the hell does that happen? Well, the restaurant came in, they're spending more money, they need revenue, and guess what? You're gone. You're right. And alcohol to go with it. Yep. Because alcohol has a huge markup on, 400 to 800% markup. We all know that, but it's true. So you're competing with everything. And then one day your ad will be somewhere else in the casino. I'm like, why is it by the restrooms now? And that's the game you play. And when you aren't Elton John or you're not Celine Dion, I'm sure they have their own issues as well at that level with other artists of their level. It's still a lot of work, and you always got to stay on top of it, you know what I mean? And you always got to shake hands. You always got to go to press events. You always got to be out there,
Yeah, how much, okay, I know kind of what it's like in TV, but how much creative freedom do you have? Is it 100%, or do you actually have to take a lot of suggestions from people producing
for Vegas
live show,
show or live show? For Vegas, yeah.
For Vegas,
For
yeah,
Vegas, no. I do have 100% creativity
great.
and whatever I want to do. Although there's the odd bit that will be taken out because the theater, they don't want a large mess all over the place.
Right.
I used to do a bit with a frying pan and egg. I'm going to produce a dove, and I throw the egg in the air.
I know that
and
there were
it.
back when I was living there, there were certain reasonable requests. Like you couldn't have a gambling themed thing in
Yeah,
your
because
show.
you don't want to make fun of gambling because that's how they make their money.
Right.
And all that stuff, just because if you do a gambling thing, so say you're doing so I can explain this to the viewers. Say I do a thing where I'm going to show how I cheat people, and it's going to be on poker. So I deal poker hands, ace through 7 or 9 or whatever, or a rush or a royal flush or whatever it is. And I do that, and I show people that, and I go, see, that's how easy it is. Good luck in the casino. Now it's already programmed in their head that the casino's cheating them. Yes, the casino's cheating you. That's how they made their money. But not in that way.
But they're doing it honestly.
Yes, they're doing it honestly, and they're doing
yeah,
it legally.
Yeah.
And in their own manner that is explained in rules when you play Texas Hold'em or Blackjack or you play the slots. But by doing this, it makes people second guess that, and that's where they have issues. So yes, you do have to, those things, yes. And certain, like when I'm in the casino, I can't really gamble at the Tropicana. I can, but it's against me because of the fact that I work in the casino. If I were to win big, well, now it looks set up.
Yep.
And now and I don't gamble there as well because when you work in the area, that gambling that's why they're there. You'll end up spending your paycheck. It happens all the time. It's one of those. If I'm on vacation with my wife and relaxing, we'll go for a gamble for $20 because it's fun. And we were in Laughlin last weekend seeing Reba McEntire perform, and so we stayed overnight, and we took our $20 each and played blackjack for like an hour, had a couple of free drinks, and we love it. Well, yeah, because we're not working there, and if we worked there, we wouldn't be gambling. It's just a rule,
And then, of course, there are strict rules on using music.
Yes. Oh, yeah.
So that's something you have
Copyrights.
to deal with. Copyrights. And
especially for
ASCAP
television.
and,
Live,
all
you can
that
get
stuff,
away with
yeah.
it, and you can get away with it, not legally, so I'm not saying to do it, but you can get away with it because there's not people patrolling you all the time.
But if they
Yep.
do, then
Yes.
they take
It's
into
cease and
account
desist,
how
yeah.
many seats.
That's right.
How often
How
the
many
show
tickets.
is up. What the ticket
And they'll
sales
fine
could
you,
be.
yeah.
And they go for the potential.
Oh, yeah.
Not for what it might.
Oh
really
no,
be.
they take you to the bank. Oh,
Yeah,
for sure. So you got to be, and on TV, you got to have the rights because if they air anything and you don't, you're in trouble as well because people worked hard to write the song. They worked hard to record it and produce it. We forget that. It might have taken as long. It's just like somebody stealing a trick from us. We get upset when somebody steals a trick you invented and it's not on the market. Well, can you imagine somebody wrote this amazing song and now it's being used in a massive production show that's selling 500 tickets a night in Vegas every night, 6 days a week, and it's their song they're dancing to.
They're going to want something.
Of course, why not? And they should.
When you're on TV, seems like you actually, I've talked to a few people from America's Got Talent, magicians that were on there, but it seems like you actually had a pretty good time,
Yes.
and got to do some things that you suggested that were interesting.
Yes.
Some other people had experiences where they were coerced into doing particular things, or that were against what they wanted to do. Did that happen to you at all?
No, they suggest what you want to do or could do, but at the end of the day, if you don't want to do it, you don't need to go on. You can even go, I'm going to go home, thanks. But you got to remember too, if you think like a producer, and we go back to what I said in the lecture, you will get further.
Yeah.
Most of us don't. 95% of most magicians, we think of what we have in our closet. Because that's what we got. We don't spend any more money. What can I do? Well, I do this thing or I do that thing. Okay, but as a producer, that's not even close to getting you on TV.
Yeah, it sounds to me like if they would come to you with something that they wanted you to do, you already had a better, more interesting alternative idea.
I one-upped it, yes.
Right.
If they suggest a few other things, I'd be like, well, here's what I'd like to do, and this is what I'm going to do. I'm not going to. Exactly. It's true. I got a tiger or whatever, yeah.
I got a tiger, I got a
or
camel,
a train or whatever, yeah. And they're
right,
like, oh, you can do that? So yes, and I had the confidence. I went, yeah, you know what I mean? So it's those ballet lessons. Stood tall, yeah, I can. I hung up the phone and went, holy crap, how do I do it? And I spent the 2 or 3 weeks trying to figure out how to do it, you know what I mean? And it's like going back to Marvin Roy, what he taught me. Murray, pick up the phone, say yes. Hang it up, and figure out how the hell you're going to do it. If you say no, you've already shot yourself in the foot, and you've already canceled your booking. They're going on to the next person to phone. If you say yes, then you're in. You can always cancel later. That's not a good idea either.
Not a good idea.
Not at all.
But it's possible.
Yes.
And then and I'm sure that he said this and you already know it,
Sure.
and just for them, that it's never just you alone. When you say yes to something, if you can't figure it out, you've got friends in magic.
Course
you can
do.
call this guy or that guy and everybody can
Always.
help you.
May phone a friend, help a friend, ask somebody, go, I got this idea, here's what I got. You got any other suggestions? We all love sharing our, and if you got a couple of good friends, and it could be a random, it could be your mom shooting you an idea. My mom shot me a few ideas that were, I was just like, did she just say that? That's it, there it is. 'Cause she's just, rattling off things on the phone, or my dad, So it's very, there's always a source. And there's always a way to do a trick.
Right.
It just depends on your location, how much time, how much money you have, but there's always a way to do something. There always is.
Yeah. Are you at liberty to talk about how some of the big things worked? Can you?
I can talk a little bit about how some of the big things work, but I don't want to give away the secrets of how they were done.
Right.
But some of them, I don't mind sharing a little bit on the workings on getting them on that stage or TV.
Yeah, well, somebody did ask for the,
Sure.
just some of the behind the scenes on the big ones. I think we talked enough about it already. I don't want to belabor the point.
Well, the train trick, just to share that a little bit, the way the train trick worked, just quickly, I pitched the idea. They said yes. I went, oh God, how am I going to? I had 14 days to come up with a train, find a trick, and do it right. 14 days. That's it. So I made some phone calls, tried to find a train, finally found one, had the builder got it. They were rebuilding the whole train from scratch, really. When they were rebuilding it, we had 10 days before it was going to air. I didn't even have a train, though. I just had an idea.
Yeah, and they were rebuilding it. Do you know how much weight they got it down to?
They got it down to 2,500 pounds.
That's pretty light.
Yes, because the stage wouldn't hold anymore.
Yeah, sure.
They had to. That was the size. If it couldn't be under that, we couldn't do it because it was a sound stage.
Yeah.
And we weren't doing it on cement. So, and we couldn't do it on cement because all the lighting was built onto the stage, and they needed the vertical lights as well. So it wasn't possible. And the door to get it in and everything. We built it as big as the door, and we reconstructed the whole thing for the theater. And literally, and I hired Don Wayne to help me. Don Wayne, for people that don't know, helped Copperfield with the Vanishing Statue of Liberty, Walking to the Wall of China, the jet vanished, some of the biggest tricks ever. He's an extremely brilliant man for that stuff.
Sure.
And he's freelancing now. I called him. He said, I'd love to help you. Brought him in for 2 days. I was in the parking lot till 10 o'clock at night, until it was CBS Studios in Hollywood. The train finally came in. Train gets there. It's on the back of 2 flatbeds that brought in with welding gear, 6 guys, everything, because they had to still build half of it while it was there on set. We're 6 days away from shooting this thing. They're still welding it and trying to put pieces together in the parking lot. We build the truss to cover the train with. They didn't even have that built yet because they couldn't travel. It was so big. I get there. The smokestack's canked over. I said, what the hell happened to the smokestack? They misjudged one of the overpasses, knocked the thing right off. So the thing was like this, yeah. But it's, welding, so it just added character to it. So I had to straighten that back up. We get there, we're in the parking lot 3 days before we actually had to do the actual trick, covering the train up, trying to figure out how to vanish this thing. We had no idea. I mean, I written up paper.
This is 3 days before.
3 days before we're going live, 22 million people. And I thought, man, please don't let me be that YouTube clip. You know what I mean? Because, and I literally, we were there till 10 o'clock at night, and we had to reset this thing, had ladders. Literally we're at Sharon, Piers, and Howie Park. We had the train laid in there, and the parking lot right beside the CBS studio we were using, which doubles as the American Idol set. They use it 6 months American Idol, 6 months America's Got Talent, because Simon Cowell owns both shows. And the theater behind us, they use Think You Can Dance and Dancing with Stars on the back end, 6 months, 6 months. So we're out there practicing. I just think it's cool hanging out in the studios, till 10 at night, because you're right there in Hollywood. You're living the dream for a minute. But we're practicing this, and I'm like, man, this train thing. And then when we tried to get rid of the train, it would suck the cloth away with it. So when the train we were trying to get rid of the train, the cloth went with it. So I'm thinking, holy Christ, I'm going to be in trouble. And there's no wind outside, so I can't even blame the wind. So I got dancers helping me. And then literally we rehearsed the day before the shooting live. And we go in, I go, man, I hope. Then we finally get a hold on how this trick's going to work. And it took about 17 people to do the actual trick. And we set it up on stage, and we're rehearsing it. And as we're rehearsing it, when I go to pull that cloth, it's still there. And I'm like, man, if this thing doesn't, when I pull that cloth, if I turn and see a train, we're in trouble. And when you see me in that clip, and I go, ladies and gentlemen, I said, Dad, this one's for you, because I did the trick for my father, because he worked on the railway all his life. The train was his replica, exactly what he worked on when he was 18. And I turned, when it was up in the air, and I was going, I pray to God this is gone. And I go, Dad, this one's for you. And I grabbed that cloth, and I gave it 2 extra seconds. So I thought, man, it better be gone. And when I pulled, I looked back, and it was gone. the expression on my face was as much excitement
Real
as the audience.
exhilaration,
Yes,
legitimate.
Because like Christ, it's gone. Because it was the first time I ever saw it real. Every trick, it was the first time.
So it was
Yeah.
magical for you too, because it
Honest to
actually
God.
worked.
I'm like, holy shit, we pulled it off. And I just could not believe it. And same with the tiger trick. When I did the tiger trick, I had the girl and the tiger in the same chamber at the same time every time I did it. She was never in danger. But when I did the trick, I wanted that curtain to come down, and I wanted to literally, the minute the tiger was there, to drop it. I wanted to be that quick. Yeah. And every time I did it in the rehearsal, I always caught the tiger and her at the same time in the trick. And so the producer walks up to me, Jason Raft. He's the executive producer. He walks up to me, and he leans over, says, Murray, come here. And he never comes down to the theater, because they're never supposed to really be around the acts. He's the executive producer. He doesn't want any emotional attachment, nothing. He just,
This
we lost
is
from
probably rubbing. It's probably
Okay.
rubbing. I'm just
All right.
watching it do that, so I'm just
we're
going to
good?
get it out. Yeah,
All
I
right.
think it's good.
And
Yeah.
so he literally comes up to me and goes, because it hasn't worked once yet in rehearsal. Like it's kind of worked, but the trick really hasn't worked. He leans over to me and he goes, look, this is great with the tiger and the girl. He said, but if it doesn't work, the trick, we can't move you on. Trick doesn't work, you can't go on. There's no way you can move on. Just so you know, letting you know. Trick doesn't work, not moving on.
Yeah, that's
I'm like,
kind of your job
yeah.
as a magician.
Yeah.
To make the trick
So
work.
he leaves. Now, don't forget, they paid the money to bring the tiger in. They paid the money to ship the illusion in, all this stuff. And I know that. I'm thinking, holy Christ. So we went back out there, and a couple times the cloth, it's a double bump cloth. So the bottom drops and the top drops. So it's a double drop. So a couple times the bottom would drop, but the top got caught. It wouldn't drop. Well, even the trick would work great. But if the top doesn't drop, doesn't matter.
Yeah, mechanically.
Nobody can see that goddamn thing.
Right, sure.
So I literally stayed in the parking lot, and I must have did it 80 times, over and over. My crew was resetting it, and they were like, Murray, you're becoming obsessive compulsive. I said, I have to. I said, if this doesn't work, I've got a massive failure on my hands in front of a lot of people, and this could be a really big career-changing thing, which it was. It got me a show in Vegas. But so it's showtime. We load the tiger. Oh, and we got PETA there as well, the Humane Society, because
Right,
the tigers,
of course,
and
they
they
gotta-
almost
they
didn't
gotta
let.
watch the whole time.
They almost didn't let the trick happen. That night, we didn't know until. So they called me and said, Murray, if you can't produce the tiger, this is the night before. If you can't produce the tiger in it, what about producing like David Hasselhoff in it or Nick Cannon? Well, David Hasselhoff got kicked off the show the year before, but I thought, well, I said the trick is the tiger. I said I'm changing a person to a tiger, changing a person to a person. I don't need this big apparatus. I can do it any which way. And I said, but David Hasselhoff, because he was left the year before and he had a lot of press. I said, well, he wouldn't be bad to bring back because, he has a lot of controversy. I said, that's not a bad option. I said, but the trick, I don't need this box with all this crap because the box is designed for an animal.
Yeah.
I said, we could have done this a lot easier. So I said, well, the Humane Society is really against with what you're doing. And I said, well, we changed it. We had to bring in air conditioners units for it. This box was more equipped than a New York studio apartment. It was more comfortable. It had great air conditioning. It had everything. Because this tiger had to be at all, it could never be panting. It could, all the stuff we dealt with. And my trainer is used to the Humane Society. He deals with them all the time. But I'm freaking out thinking, oh man, this is it. So we go back literally 9 o'clock that night. We're sitting back at the hotel having a drink with my manager, my publicist, everybody who's there. My mom's there. Get the phone call. And I get the phone call going, hey, Murray, if you can't do the tiger trick. I'm like, what do you mean? If I can't, we shoot tomorrow. We shoot in 24 hours. Would you use David Hasselhoff? I said, no, that's the trick. I can't do it. I'm done. I said, if I can't do it, I can't do it. Done. I'm not going on the show. Done. I'm sorry. I've worked too hard. At this point, I'm exhausted. Next day, we're still there. No clearance from Humane Society yet. 4 o'clock comes. We do our tech rehearsal because we go live at 5:30. The Humane Society is there again with us. We got air conditioners in this thing. We drilled vents. We drilled holes in this illusion to make sure it could breathe fine. It could always breathe fine, but we had to do it for the Humane Society. I would never do a trick if it wasn't good for the animal. If you know anything about me, I love animals. Me and my wife have a charity together called Begging for Magic for our dogs and a pet charity. So anyways, we're there literally 4:20. My executive producer comes over to me and goes, guess what? And we have to shoot at 5:30. We go live because that's to be ready for the East Coast. 5, we go live because that's 8 o'clock here. So they go, guess what? They've just approved the tiger. We're good to go. I did not know until about 48 minutes before if I was going to do the trick. Wow. So now I'm scared the trick's not going to work.
Yep.
And secondly, I was scared to even if we're going to do the trick. And I'm so exhausted at this point. I'm like, I don't even want to do the damn trick anymore. Because I'm exhausted. I'm just done. I'm done. So finally, hair's done, the makeup's done. We get everything done. Fine, great. And then it's go time. We wheel a prop in. The Tiger's loaded in. We got the handlers. We got tons of people. We got like 60 people around this thing. The Humane Society's walking up there. Literally, the Humane Society is like inches from the edge of the stage. I got my guys. They got their guys. We got handlers. We got everybody. And it's the 30 seconds to go time. I see the judges. I walk out. They're like, hey, Murray, good luck. And I was like, one more breath, I could just pass out right now. I might fall over right now. It might go time. I might just land on my ass. And I'm just praying to God it works. And then the music starts. And it's I, the Tiger, which I used. Which that song is not a song you ever use to calm yourself down.
No.
It's like, dun, 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 dun. I'm like, holy shit. So I'm like, are you kidding me? And I'm like, of all the songs I could have chosen, it's the last song that puts me at ease. I'm like, holy Christ. I feel like I should be running up some stairs boxing. And so I go into it. I'm just keep thinking, Murray, speak slow. You know, you got a microphone. Just take your timing. Just give it that extra bump for that curtain. It's going to be fine. And I thought either it's going to be fine or it's going to be the biggest disaster of my career, and it'll still get a lot of hits on YouTube, so I wasn't worried. So we did the thing, I did the talk, and I dropped and I put a second pin, if you ever watch the video, on. The Humane Society makes sure I did that because the first pin didn't hold the thing in right, and if the Tiger went like this once, it would just open. It was that easy to open the back door. So I had to put a different pin in, so it took more time, but I had to put that pin in because it saved if that happened. So I did that, and then I dropped the curtain, and then I went, ladies and gentlemen, you know, I said, Harry Mandel, I said, this trick's for you. The girl's for you, the Tiger's for me. And when I dropped that cloth, you see me look at the Tiger, and the cloth dropped, and the Tiger was right there standing. I couldn't have done it any quicker. And my look back at the audience, I'm telling you, the audience all stood up. I'd never seen that in my life. And I looked back at the audience, and that look on my face was the exact look of the front row of the audience. They were just as happy as I was. Like, thank Christ it worked.
Yeah.
And then I was like, and then as I was ready to point, I was like, I hope to Christ that girl is behind her. And I went, you know, and the girl's for you. And then she popped up behind him. And at that moment, I literally I could have collapsed. I was like, it's done.
Yeah,
I'm just hope to God the camera's got it. And literally, it'll never happen again in my life. I had my cell phone on me. And I walked off stage, and don't forget, we shot at 5 o'clock. So it airs live at 8 o'clock here, but it doesn't air till 8 o'clock Pacific Standard Time. And my phone didn't stop beeping from text messenger Facebooks for 4 hours. Wow. I've never heard that in my entire life. I set it down, and it was just beeping and beeping from messages. From agents I didn't like anymore, and they didn't like me. From casting producers that liked me and didn't like me. And a lot of them were calling me and going, we have never seen that trick done that well since Siegfried and Roy, because they made that trick famous. That was their trick. And I was just honored that I got to do a trick like that, because it's not in my repertoire. I don't have a big trick like that. I don't have a tiger. I don't have any of that stuff. It's not. I'm not a tiger guy. Right. I just thought it would be a good idea. Why? Because I was thinking like a producer, not like an act. Yeah. So I rented the people. I hired the right people that knew what they were doing, and I made it my trick.
How else are you going to entertain millions of people?
You're right.
Millions of people. What are you going to do?
It was literally, it was 22 million people saw that, and then of course it goes viral, and then of course it went to England and Europe the next year because they re-air it, and I think to this day though, when I am 80 looking back, I will never be able to do a magic trick that well again. It was that well done. Even if I were to repeat it, everything worked, you know. Yeah. But it had the option for going south quick. Sure. I mean, everything. From the tiger, from the curtain, from everything. You know, from Humane Society, So it was a fun trick. But yeah, that's the real thoughts of behind the scenes. You know, nobody ever sees that. And that's why when I watch people on The Voice, American Idol, you know, they're standing there and they're going to be voted off. You got to understand the pressure they're going through. You know, whether they're a good singer or not, they're standing there and they're freaking out because it's a big deal. That audience is there. Those lights. You got some real big stars from Mariah Carey's to, you know, everybody in the audience. You know what I mean? Sitting there as judges, and it's nerve-wracking, man. It's something you will never experience unless you've done it, you know. So it was good. I'll never do it again, but I'm glad by doing it, it was a really cool experience. It was my world of Star Search that you look at, like the Britney Spears and Christina Aguilera that did Star Search that really helped their career. That in my world, when I'm old and look back, that was my Star Search era. That really helped me, you know. Get a show in Vegas and get on Pawn Stars and everything. You know,
yeah, well, that's fantastic. I don't want to take too much more time.
There you go.
Very, very quickly.
Yes.
I love that. Not only are you appearing as an expert on Pawn Stars.
Yep.
In addition to that, you're also hosting events for them and hosting other things.
Yes.
And you don't have to do any magic.
Not at all.
It's
None.
like, welcome to my world.
Yes, right?
You know, it's
You're
great.
right.
It's
Isn't it?
great, isn't
Yeah.
it? You know, but
It's lovely.
But it takes an actual personality and somebody that really cares about, you know,
Yes.
entertaining and listening and talking to people.
Yes.
And it's great. And I think
Yeah.
I think it's fantastic because it sets you for the future as well. You know?
Yes, you want to build for yourself. You want to build a brand that you are the product. Because if you're the product, then they can only hire you. And you want to create your personality. You want to create who you are, what you can do, and then you're viable to be a personality, not just be a magician. Don't be a magician. Be an entertainer. That's my biggest point of this whole lecture. If you can get out of it, be an entertainer, not just a magician, because you'll go a lot further.
Yeah.
And you'll be a personality, and you'll be loved and liked, and you can do a lot more things. You won't pigeonhole yourself.
Yeah.
So.
Well, I think you've given everybody some really great advice and great things to think about.
I hope so.
I hope it helps everybody.
Yeah.
You know, just get better and better at doing what they love to do.
Yeah.
You know? And thank you so much.
Oh,
for
hey,
hanging
thank
out
you.
with us.
Hey, thanks for having me.
It's been
This has been,
really terrific.
Thank you.
Thank you for tuning in. Thank you so much for supporting Live Magic.